I'm a nerd.
Nerds.
Nerds.
Nerds!
I'm not kissing a nerd.
What is a nerd?
Nerd! Holy crap, are we nerdy?
That one with the dog on it.
No.
It's like a boxer, and it's just on it, and then it's just like jumping all four legs at the same time, and then it keeps rolling.
Hey, go ahead and talk into your microphone.
I'm talking into my microphone.
There we go.
I'm sounding a little weird. I don't know if that's...
I think it's because it's the handheld.
It's the handheld,
it's
or the lapel. It sounds like it's different, but you come in clearly the whole time. So.
Yeah, no. I feel like my headphones got turned up a little too high.
Turn it up.
Not so much the microphone itself.
Turn down his headphones, yo.
Turn it up.
That's a lot better.
Yeah, turn down my
Yeah.
headphones too, because I'm like,
Turn down my headphones.
my eardrums are bleeding.
You and Chris are on the same one, so.
I'm soothed now.
Okay, yeah, that's fine for me.
Oh, wait,
It sounds like
Chris
he's
is
in
not
the
using that one.
sound room and he's piping
Yeah.
into the.
So we'll just. I think we should just make
Something else
Sebastian our
that's
producer because that's what he sounds like. Hey guys, could you try actually talking for a little bit?
Can you stop
Welcome,
sucking?
producers, Sebastian. Doesn't sound.
Get back to work.
No fun allowed.
You can use the smaller stand. If
You
you
gotta
want.
do what you gotta do.
That's what she said.
Gotta get the Futurama demotivational work posters.
This microphone. Oh, it's fine.
Here, do this. Let me see this 1 second. That might be the same thing.
They're all the same holders. It's that mic because the mic doesn't have anything around it.
Falling apart.
It's fine.
It's okay. Let's
You
get
good?
going.
It's fine. Blah blah blah.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, so how are we doing this? Are we gonna do each person 5, or are we gonna do 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 3, 3, 3, 3? Let's say movies. Are we gonna go? What did Shauna give you your top 5, or what's your number 5? What's your number 5? What's
I
your
was
number
thinking
5?
everybody give your top 5.
Okay. No, we can do that.
Yeah, we could
That's
start.
what
We
did
could
last
start.
year.
We could start with the category and then go around.
Yeah, that's what we did last year. I just wanted to make sure that's what it was before we get started.
Okay. Yeah, and then at the end of it, we'll discuss that for everybody's top 5 compared to what the top 5 grossing or whatnot.
Well, last year that's what we started it with. We just let's talk movies.
Do you want me? You want to start
We
with?
just start. Last year we did like movies. We're like, let's just talk about the top 10. This is the top 10 grossing movies, just as kind of a
Right.
recap. And then we went into because it was only the 4 of us last year. It was me, you, Ethan, and Travis. And
Yes.
So we just did that real quick.
Thank you.
Because we didn't. No, didn't we do our?
We didn't.
I thought we did ours at Tune In.
I was wondering because the first.
I swear I did it also because I remember saying.
No, because we did it the last week, and then the first 2 weeks of January we were at Tune In because one of them was the X-Men.
One of them was the Secret Wars Convergence.
Right.
one.
And then the other, because that's when you guys came up with the
'Cause
whole
we did
X-Men.
4 of them or whatever.
Yeah.
There, and then they
Yeah.
fired us. And then they said we were no good.
Pretty much.
Who fired you guys?
Well,
Tune In Studios.
Beginning of the year, the yearly recap. Remember, we started the year at Tune In Studios. Rich was doing work for Tune In where was it? It was like
Venice Beach.
Yeah, Venice Beach. And so they said they were looking for content.
It's like a startup.
They gave
company
us
that was-
they gave us time in the studio on Monday.
Monday night.
We did Sunday night. We did Sunday.
We did a Sunday one day because they had the holiday party was Monday night.
Right.
I think that was the last one we did. So we recorded with a sound engineer. We did 2 episodes the 2 times we were there, and I think we did the one that we were there Sunday morning. And then all of a sudden they wouldn't they didn't give us the files for the
that took
last show we
forever.
did. And then they're basically ignoring Rich and then finally said, "Yeah, you guys can't record here anymore for all intents and purposes." And Rich could never get an answer out of him. Then you saw them again, right?
I finally had to go back in there and do some other things, and they were like, "Oh well, we went with a different direction, and we're not really doing the podcast anymore straight from here."
Kind of what we figured was that they didn't have the authority to give us the time in the booth.
Oh,
they
and
did
then
it. And
somebody
then they're
finally showed up and went,
someone was
"What are you
like,
guys doing?"
Yeah, you can't, because we weren't paying for it.
Okay.
It was basically they had the right to put the content on TuneIn in addition to us putting it on iTunes and Spotify and Bitmap and all the other bullshit that we had.
Bitmap.
Whatever. I was thinking of Blip. and then
were on
they
blip.
and then they just dumped us completely. That drive sucked ass, but God, that studio was gorgeous.
Oh, that studio was so much fun.
It was so good not to do it. It sounded fantastic.
Yeah, well, we had somebody mixing it, and it was just, it was
Oh,
gorgeous.
Good times. So if anybody knows the studio,
So
I don't know if we would have lasted the whole year at that drive though. 'Cause that
I don't.
was-
Yeah,
Even every other week just got to be like, dude, this is like an hour and a half just to get down here.
and that was even carpooling. Yeah,
Was it like Santa Monica or something?
no, Venice Beach.
Even farther.
Yeah,
Yeah.
much farther. It was not a fun ride,
Yeah.
especially in the back of your Camaro.
It
That was
Go over a bump.
wasn't that
'Cause you
bad.
were in the back, weren't
Yeah.
you? Yeah, I sat in the front.
It was you. Yeah, it wasn't.
Ethan was in the back. Travis met us because he kept calling
That's
me
right.
trying to figure out where the hell we were. And like, we're the bright yellow Camaro. You can't miss us.
So
That's
who was
right.
in the passenger seat?
I was.
He was.
Oh.
Yeah, but it was still that studio was so much fun. And then they were like, "Oh yeah, if you guys want to drink, here's some beer and all this." And we were like, "Okay."
They had like house beers there, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Here, take a beer." Okay, yeah, sure.
So yeah, I mean, it was cool. At least it was a cool experience to have.
Mhm.
Assholes.
And then they fired.
Assholes. So welcome, Nerdables, to episode 117. This is our 2015 wrap-up show. I'm joined with Shauna, Chris, Mikey, Ethan, and Sebastian to my right.
Who I think Mikey and Shauna look like they're just praying. Oh, they both have their eyes closed and their heads bowed.
They're thinking about their lists. They're trying to commit it to memory.
Shauna's got the hood up, so she looks like a shaman.
Like Shauna the Shaman.
A mage.
So I guess we can
Shamanin?
we can say that we've left the
Shamanin?
year of Star Wars. Hopefully now. I mean, does
Oh
anyone?
no! There's still 2 years until the next movie out, so we have to talk about
No, no.
that.
It's
So
2
the,
years. What are you
so
talking
the
about? 2
year
years.
of Star Wars is 2 years.
Well, I mean, for like the episode 8, I know. Yeah, Road Squadron's what?
Episode
next
8
year.
is next year,
I know. I'm saying
2017.
It's a year,
okay.
It's a year and a half.
technically it's a year, but as of
No, technically
Couple
it's a year
days
and a half
ago.
because it's May of next year.
Technically, yeah, it's May. Yeah, so it's a year.
That's it. When we're done with Rogue One, we only have 5 months until Episode 8 opens,
Yeah.
oh man,
and then
how are we
got-
going to fit all that speculation
year.
and talking?
No,
in 5
No, we're
months?
just gonna talk about numbers for Star Wars destroying every box office record that exists. And we're like, do you think it'll catch Avatar? Yes. 'Cause
Oh, they've already said it has. Or it
I don't
is.
think it has yet, but it should this
It's
coming
going to,
week,
yeah.
and it's going to because really,
Nothing
this is our
else-
wrap-up show. We're going to wrap up the biggest movie in 2015.
Yeah,
It's going to be in theaters for another month.
at least. And
At least.
these numbers are before it even opened in China.
The early numbers are. It opened in China now because it was a week later.
No, I thought China doesn't open until the 5th. They just had the Singapore premiere last week.
They had the premiere in Hong Kong too, so
Right.
yeah.
So
I mean,
now,
it's
because
either-
I thought the 5th was the day it opens.
it's
Oh, that
either
was the
last
Friday.
week or this week. It should have been premiering in.
Yeah, I thought it
In
did it like
China.
right after Christmas. Anyway, one way or the other, it's going to make a lot more money
Yes.
because there's nothing else to see except little art house films.
Right.
You saw it on IMAX today, right?
I did. Oh,
How was it?
It was amazing, and even
What's the poster?
the poster is it's like the first one with the same color scheme,
Mm-hmm.
the red and the orange and everything, and it's got Phasma and stormtroopers over the wreckage. I have a feeling that all 4 posters fit together as one mural,
Maybe. Anyway,
which would be kind of cool if they released that. But no, the IMAX experience, it was even seeing in 3D was really good. The 3D brought out all of the background stuff. So seeing it for the 4th time, I got to really kind of experience the background stuff and the Easter eggs. And after reading the novelization and hearing about all
hopefully it comes out soon.
all of the script stuff down that's come out, that they've said that was in the script that either didn't make it or
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff in there. There's
Yeah.
that article that I thought I shared it, maybe we didn't, where they're like, well, if you go through the visual dictionary and
Yeah.
the cross sections, here's this, and this important stuff. I finally saw it a second time. I saw it with Eric on Monday,
yeah.
and I liked it better the second time, like you did, because I wasn't like all wrapped up in okay, wait, what like that
Right.
expectation versus reality, and you're about halfway through a film like that, going, do I like this? I think I like this.
That's how I felt
think-
the first time.
Yeah, the first time, like I think I like this. Do I like this? But I will say, the non-chewy hug again just takes me right out of the film.
Well, I tell you what, because today I'm watching it, and I wanted to see where Chewie was in compared to Leia, and There's one shot. He is standing. Half of his body is off of camera, right next to Leia as she's looking onto Rey, and it's like they literally are within inches of each other.
But in the long shot, he's in the group.
And,
That's
but
the problem.
well,
in the,
then
long shot, he's in the group of people.
But that's after they pass.
I
They
know, but
literally
I'm still-
pass each other.
I just, no matter, I'm sitting there watching it, and it gets to that point. Eric and I hadn't talked about our experiences when we first saw it.
Yeah.
So we go and we were talking about a whole bunch of other stuff. We get in the film, we're watching the film, we get to that point. I slap when he's like, put my hands up there and go, Gah! And he looks at me and he starts chuckling. And when we got out, he's like, that scene bugs you too, huh? And I'm like, you got the same thing. And he's like, first time I saw it, immediately in my head, I'm like, huh? And his wife turned like, why didn't she hug Chewie?
Yeah.
Why didn't she hug Chewie? I don't understand. So it was just, and I'm sitting there going, this is going to bug me every time.
I'm telling you,
I see this film.
if I had one question for J.J. Abrams about the film, that would be the
That
question.
would be my first question for him. I'm like, I would ask, like, why did you not shoot? I know why he didn't shoot. He's like, well, I want to have the moment with Rey. But the problem is, the second time I saw it, it was even worse. We'll get to our list in a minute, I swear.
Yeah.
The second time I saw it was even worse because you can have that moment when she leaves to go
Exactly.
find Luke. She can put her arms around him and go find my brother.
Exactly.
Go find my family. Go find your family, too. Go to, and like, you could have had, you still could have had that piece.
Yeah.
What they wanted just a little bit later, and to me it makes more sense because she's going to do what Leia can't. Leia's like, I'm not going to leave the Resistance to go find my brother, even though I know where he is. You're taking my place
Yep.
to go find the person that I think can stop my son, kill Snoke, destroy the First Order, and maybe bring the galaxy back to peace.
And all of that's there at the very end of it.
And instead of that, they're like, no, let's cheat it and put it at the point
Yep.
where Han means so little to her.
Yep.
I mean, he means a lot, but he means so little to her. By the way, spoilers. It's just like
At
who
this
hasn't-
point.
who
At
hasn't
this
seen
point,
film?
yeah.
Well, I saw a bunch of the Star Wars sites that on January 1st we're lifting the spoiler ban.
Yeah.
So like the publishing page came back, and the Force is strong with this page or whatever.
Well, they
Like,
started putting up character stuff too.
Yeah, well, they basically said if you post on the page a spoiler in the thing, we're not going to ban you,
Right.
like we did before. Because at this point, we're like, look, we're giving you the warning, and they gave it for like the day after Christmas. They're like, on January 1st, we're letting everything go. We're putting the page back to whatever you want. So, anyway,
No, yeah. So watching it, there's a lot of little nuances that you could see, and I'm after reading the book, reading the visual dictionaries and everything. I almost guarantee you they purposely left stuff out so you would go to those other medias.
no, I'm sure they did. The second time I watched, the other thing that I did was I paid I paid special attention to all of the dialogue that dealt with Kylo being Han and Leia's son. Mm-hmm. And I'm changing it to go like, okay, he doesn't have to say anything.
Right.
You're pulled to the light because of your family. Even the very first occurrence that he has with Max von Sydow's character, appearance that he has with him, and he says, you can't escape the legacy of your family.
Right. I know who you are.
Everything
before.
there is just Luke,
Yep.
and then you drop that bomb, and it's like, oh my god, oh. So it's really because I enjoyed it so much more, and yet I have these two huge problems with this film,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, and it drives me crazy.
When Kylo is interrogating Poe, and he makes that little comment about he makes a little reference to him knowing him almost. I swear, and I heard it this time plain as day. He says Ben, and it's very very faint at the end of it, and I hadn't really noticed it, but this time I caught it, and I was like, I swear he says Ben.
I definitely want to go see it again. I want to try and see it in IMAX before it disappears. Did you see it again, Sebastian?
No, I'm waiting.
You're still waiting?
Yeah.
I always love that every time he does that, Sebastian looks at his watch.
I'm still waiting. I got
I'm
time.
still waiting. I got time.
I got
It
time.
is
Well, there's
9 o'clock.
4 hours left in this day.
8 o'clock on Sunday. I'm thinking 3:55 on Wednesday.
The only thing I think that I might want to see it again, but I'd want to see it.
You think you might want to see
well,
it again?
I would want to see it again. If I go see it again, I would go see it at
You
the
have
Chinese.
to see this more than Guardians.
I'd go see it at the Chinese theater because it's
Why
a,
would I-
it's a 70 millimeter and non 3D.
I wanted to go to. We were trying to find a day to go to El Capitan, but it never worked.
Yeah,
I still want to try.
but
Anyway.
El Capitan is. I mean, go to the Chinese theater on Hollywood Boulevard where the original.
No, I know that was kind of our first plan, and then we found out all the stuff that's at the El Capitan.
Yeah.
So we were like,
oh yeah,
I don't
that's
wanna
true.
go there.
That's yeah.
Yeah, they have that whole exhibit.
Laserium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still want to go see it again, so let me know whenever you guys want to go.
Well, yeah, we should do it and go to El Capitan or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking Star Wars because obviously that was the big thing of 2015. From the time Celebration happened all the way up till now,
It wasn't the only big thing.
It was the major. It became the
that
big
and
thing.
Bruce Jenner became a chick. I mean,
And
this
Donald
is
Trump.
too-
You know, those were the three big.
This is the greatest of year that's ever existed in the history of years.
But here's something: everybody's talking about the $1 billion that Star Wars the film has done. No one has even mentioned that there's 3 Star Wars video games out, and between the 3 games, it's done $1 billion this year. The Old Republic game, the Disney's Infinity 3.0, and Battlefront, which Battlefront has done now $660 million.
Now because they have Sebastian's money now.
My $30.
They have his $30.
$660 million.
Well, you saw. Remember the numbers like last year for the latest Halo and stuff like that. The
Well, it still pales in comparison to something like GTA 5, which did $1 billion in 24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like
But
those
think about it,
Call
though.
of Duties and stuff like that. Those games, when the numbers started really seeing what you can do in a day versus a movie, because obviously anywhere from $10 to $20 for a movie ticket, $60 out the door. You just need 100 million people to buy a $60 game worldwide, and you're going to do that.
But if you look
these
at
big
this,
games.
if you look at this, just between if you look at close to
The hell
November,
with that. Think of the money they just made from
Disney-
Target, Walmart, and Toys R Us.
yeah, Disney has already. I mean, they haven't put those numbers in.
And we haven't even talked about the numbers that they're doing in grocery stores selling BB-8 oranges.
right. Right.
It's one of my favorite memes. Disney needs to calm the F down.
I still want them to put out a BB-8 soccer ball.
I'm sure there is.
I could.
I'm sure somebody.
bend it.
I'm sure it's in the middle of
I'm gonna bend it.
I'm
But
gonna
it's gonna,
bend it.
but it's gonna have the head also, so it's just
It's a
all
set.
lopsided
You get
soccer
2
ball.
of them. You get
It
2
just
balls.
stops.
You
No,
get a
you get
smaller
you
one.
get it the way it is, so that when you kick it, it just stops.
Well, no, here you go. The net that you put the ball in, and then the plastic clasp that holds the net sealed with your ball in it is BB-8's head.
There you go.
Aw.
There you go.
Why don't you just have the net be the one that's on the side of that dude's little
Yeah, I was
cybernetic
thinking that
thing
Oh yeah.
when he first captures the droid?
So, but I mean, it is a big deal. I mean, Disney has pretty much made back the $4 billion that they've already.
No one thought they wouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew the movie was going to be huge. We said this. I don't think there's any way it's not going to be the biggest film unless it sucks. If it came out on Friday and was like, this movie is hot garbage, then I don't think it would have done it.
Which
as soon
have
as
you
it
noticed?
came out,
See,
everyone
I
was
don't
like,
know if that's true because
I don't think it would have done this.
The Phantom Menace was highly acclaimed when it first came out, and it made a shit ton of money. And it's not until
not highly acclaimed. You said highly acclaimed when it first came out.
it was highly acclaimed when it first came out. You can go back and look at reviews, even fan reactions. The
The-
film was very.
the
It wasn't until
initial-
like 5-6 years later where everyone sort of the collective endorphins wore off, and they were like,
Well, it's also different
"Movie's
times.
Not very
it's,
good.
it's well, it's also that the dissemination of those opinions is so different now.
and inflation. You
It
have
was
to-
and it
movies
was
you have to count for-
instantaneous.
Yeah.
And the thing with here is there's even this backlash now. I've seen it all over Facebook. It's like, why can't you people understand this is a terrible film? Oh,
It's getting
so
worse.
much bigger.
I mean,
oh
it's
yeah,
got-
it's,
Well,
because this is that age of cynicism where everybody thinks that everyone else's opinion has to be yours.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't like this movie, it's not that I don't like this movie. It's that I don't like this movie, and nobody in the circle's allowed to like it either.
Right.
I would agree with that, but I also do feel like for me that immediately after something's like it's going to be a lot of people in 10 years not going to like this movie as much
I have a feeling
as they do now.
when 8 comes out, you'll see that backlash more.
Of course, yeah. Because I mean that's the thing is, and I've
Unless
read
8 really sucks.
I've read a lot. I mean, I've read quite a few of the reviews, especially reviews from people who've been really consistent over the years, for me at least, in how
Right.
they read products. And, straight away they were like, eh. And I was like, okay, I get the feeling that that's how people are going to feel later on.
But see, here's the big thing. The
And that's-
biggest
you know.
complaint I've seen with people, though, or heard with people, is it's too much like Episode 4. It's nothing original. It's just all going
It's
back
a
to
valid complaint.
It is a valid
So when you
complaint.
get to 8, and they're actually now they're past of the reimagining part of it, and they are telling the actual story, because that's what it felt like. This movie felt like there should have been something before this to explain some of those, why, how Ray got to
Well,
the
see, that's
planet,
the,
and
that's the other
all
problem
gonna
I
be
have
done.
with some of the criticism for it. Is like, well, why does this happen? Why does this? It's a movie.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to comment like, how does Ray just instantaneously? It's a movie.
Yeah.
She's a mystical Jedi person. It's not.
Well,
I'm not.
no,
look,
look-
I'm not watching Black Hawk Down.
Yes.
If I'm in the middle of Black Hawk Down and all of a sudden a soldier who doesn't know how to fire a gun picks up an M60 and fires it one-handed and kills 300 people in one shot, which is Commando, by the way,
Right.
I'm going to question that film because it's supposed to be some basis in reality.
So
There's
See,
no basis in reality.
I don't know if I buy that, especially because when you look at the contrast between Rey and Luke's journey, Luke is kind of bad at everything until you get to the final. Especially in the first movie, he has to be saved.
she's the cross between Luke and Anakin. Anakin was so
No,
good at everything he did.
He was
in the
so
very
good at
beginning.
everything, but that's also why he wasn't a very compelling character until you watch the Clone Wars. At least Luke had to be saved by Han Solo. Had to be saved by saved from the Sand People by Ben. He goes to the bar. He has to be saved again by Ben.
I
Han
think
Solo
that's what the
has to
cool-
save him and it's not until the very end. And then even when he's lightsaber training, he can't really use the training droid. He can't fight against the training droid very well.
Right.
And then you have his one victory against the Death Star, which is a mild use of the Force. Just,
That's a pretty big victory, though.
but it's a 90. But I mean, that's the
Look,
thing.
hey,
But
Gold One tried it and almost got it.
he did, but also his use of the Force was turning torpedoes 90 degrees. It wasn't suddenly being able to know how to use the Jedi mind trick, which is something only Jedi Knights are supposed to be able to do.
But see, that's what I liked with Rey was that
Even in Empire, he can barely pull his own lightsaber out of the snow.
The thing that I would say is you're reading way too much into it. It's a character. That's the trait they give her.
See, I don't
It's
see.
a trait that's
I
given
don't-
to
I'm
her
not-
as a character.
No, but I'm not. No, it's a terrible trait that they give her as a character.
You
because,
think it's a terrible trait, but
but
it's an
because
honest trait.
But it's
look
be-
at-
but
look
it's
how-
but here's the thing. It's not the fault of it's partially the fault of the writing because it was done before and was done more successfully as a character having an arc to grow. This character literally has no arc of growth. She is perfect at everything she does throughout the entire film, apart from the moments where they need a joke. Like, she gets onto Han's freighter and suddenly knows how to work the doors by going under some grates. There's a lot of... Again, she's perfect because they wrote her that way.
But
for me, the bigger issue...
to me, it's just she's very mechanically inclined. She's the way Anakin was. Anakin could pick
But
up
again,
a
that
part
that also made him uninteresting too. And I guarantee, decade from now, people will level the same complaints against her that they did against Anakin Skywalker, being, oh yeah, he's a human being. He's the first human to compete in pod racing and win the Boon to Eve thing. But he's also naturally mechanically inclined. But at least the excuse was he was born of the Force. Versus this new character, we don't know a lot yet. But that's because I attribute J.J. Abrams to being like the Thing from John Carpenter's movie. He is essentially copying the original trilogy in one film, but it's an imperfect copy. And there's a lot of people who, for me, I go like, yeah, that for me that makes it. If you can't do something on your own and be creative and do something that you need to do the film, he played it safe. And safety is not bad. Safety made them $1 billion. But from the standpoint of film, you can have your cake and eat it too, because it's a visual medium. If you can't use your visual medium to have expository dialogue, which the film has none, and is a massive complaint from a lot of people. Again, the biggest complaint about expository dialogue is, what the hell is the Resistance and what the hell is the First Order? They don't tell you. Something as simple as 3 lines when they're like, oh, they're powering up the Star Killer base and they're aiming it towards the Senate. What's the Senate? Who's the Senate? What?
that's where the problem was with this movie.
But that's for me is like there's a different. Yes, you can enjoy bad movies. We all have our guilty pleasures, and I mean, for the most part, there are a lot of people who, despite the prequels being not good films, they still enjoy them. And I've said it before. I don't level my criticisms of the prequels like everyone's like Metachlorians, boo, and I go, and Metachlorians are interesting. You just got to do something interesting with it, but they never did.
Right.
They were a throwaway line that was never.
Well, it was a need for...
It's for an explanation for something.
You have to,
and they never
had to do something with a level.
If they came back later on...
It's the same thing as parsecs.
Yeah.
No one ever tells you what a parsec is,
Yeah.
whether it's an actual unit of time or distance. It's just they needed
It's
something for that line. It was the same thing here. How
Yes.
do we show that he's more powerful than Yoda?
There's a
There has to
Metachlorian
be-
count.
yeah, there
and
has
they're
to
little.
be.
If they had used the Metachlorians instead of being a parasitic symbiont and just used it as a unit of measure,
Right.
Everybody would have been fine with it.
If they had just said he's more powerful
Right.
than Yoda.
Yeah.
These readings say that he's more powerful than Yoda.
Yeah.
Whatever
that's all
that
you need
means.
to do.
Yeah,
but that's
But,
neither
but, those,
here
but
nor
those,
there.
Here,
those are my criticisms of at the movie, is that it's not a good movie. It doesn't mean you can't enjoy it.
But see, and
but
here's the other thing.
I will agree with Chris that tends to be a lot of a lot of like the backlash tends to be, at least how I've perceived it, is this movie really isn't good, and a lot of people I think are angry because they see people as giving it a free pass on the sole
yeah.
basis that it's Star Wars. And
we've done that
they did that with Phantom Menace.
Yeah, we've done that to an I've exaggerated that here in places of Rich's love of Guardians. I don't love that film nearly as much. I take it to a comedic level in the fact that, like, oh, it's a terrible film. But I know why he loves it.
Yes,
I'm glad he loves it.
Yeah.
I'm glad he
And
loves it and he watches it and it's great. It's just not something to me. I'm not sitting there looking at it going, this is a terrible, terrible film.
Right, and
I don't
bloggers got to
understand-
blog,
I don't
though.
understand.
They got
why
to
everybody
get
else
their
likes it.
clickbait.
There's not a lot. I mean, there's few films that I don't understand why people like them or
Right.
defend them.
Right,
There's
and
one or two.
Yeah,
Sucker Punch.
and
comes to
I
mind.
also go like bloggers got to blog. They got to make their
Yeah.
clickbait, and a lot of the criticisms that I've seen from really good film critics, that and not even famous ones, just again bloggers on the internet who can temper their dislike of the film with reasoned arguments. And when I dislike something, if the hyperbole switches turn off, I at least want to be able to defend my position. And that's the one thing that I've noticed. Like Max Landis went on the internet and he's basically like, I thought the movie was really fun, but he called Rhea Mary Sue. She is, and I'm sorry. And that but I mean, people started calling him a misogynist and he hates women. And he's like, no, here's my points. And they made a YouTube video. He's like, let me explain to you why I think this. And he's like, and his pull, he's like, no, it's not necessary. It's not a bad thing that she is.
There has been a trend of taking female characters and not allowing them to be fallible. in
right.
any
And
film.
Yes.
This goes back to my
It's-
father
yes.
yelling about sitcoms in the '90s, going,
Yeah,
"Oh, it's
all
stupid
the men are
dad.
stupid,
It's all
yeah.
it's stupid
Yes.
dad.
Look
it's
at the
dad,
Hunger
dad."
Games.
All of it. It's all of it's to say. It has been this point where if you get to the point where you're scared of someone saying, "You can't do that,"
Because
she's a woman, he's black, he's a Latino, she's Jewish. You can't say this. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't. And that's sort of the problem with it. Chris Claremont used to get in trouble for this for the X-Men,
Right.
where all of his women characters were the complete opposite of the damsel in distress. They were all extremely powerful. They were well put together in terms of they had all their S together, and they were leaders and they were fighters and they were everything was perfect. And everyone's like, there's no drama in this
Right.
in any case.
Right.
You always know Storm is perfect, Jean is perfect, Rogue is perfect. Everything is just perfectly level and everything's great. And he was, at the time, that wasn't prevalent in pop culture. He was one of the first, and once that became prevalent in pop culture, like, well, look what Claremont was doing that since 1983, where all of his damaged characters were the males. It was Cyclops, it was Forge, it was Wolverine. All of the damaged characters, all the characters who couldn't live up to their own expectations, were all male. The females were all perfectly fine.
Right.
Right, and that's the thing is like, and a lot of people I think because there is a need right now, or at least there's a call from a lot of people for things like diversity and characters and stuff. But for me, as somebody who loves film and loves storytelling, I feel like there's a lot of people, especially with the race situation, especially for someone like Max Landis. Yeah, Max Landis is a total dick. But he's a dick who can put his money where his mouth is and pump out really good stories.
But see, here's kind of the
something
shame.
something like where Superman. He's got his current book like the Superman, the
American Alien.
which is really great. And that's the thing is like, and I feel like there's a lot of people willing to forego good storytelling to satisfy a need for representation. And I don't fault the actress Daisy Ridley, who was great in the movie. I don't even fault the character of Rey, because we still have 3 movies to learn about the character, and they can give explanations, as many as they want for why she can do that, whether she was trained by Luke or some familial thing, or my own explanation was, hey, psychic links are two-way streets, and she learned a lot about the Force from Kylo Ren just by being psychically linked with him.
They've already established in the Star Wars universe that the more, and the Heir to the Jedi did this, the more you allow yourself to feel and allow the Force to flow through you, the stronger your connection is. We saw in that novel, Luke became more powerful than he was in Star Wars. And when you look at it, we don't know what happened with Rey in her early childhood. She could
have been erased from her mind of certain
Yeah, exactly.
abilities.
Exactly.
That's the best do
Yeah.
that. 'Cause I,
There's
I
other
have the
things-
same complaint with that.
and
That
I-
she knows all that shit so quick.
And
Yeah,
it may be-
exactly. And if they come up with that explanation, that's
and that's
totally
the thing.
fine.
It may also be this idea, and this is what they talked about in Lost, where they just put out a whole bunch of things and said, "We know we got time."
Well,
Right.
it's J.J.
Yeah,
Abrams'
J.J. Abrams
imperfect
was like,
clone
we're gonna
is
do,
literally
we're gonna
what
do
he did
whatever
with
we
this
can
movie.
do, and we know other people are going to come in. This is comic books too.
Yeah.
People come in and find little tidbits and then rewrite those backstories.
Yeah.
There's going to be people that are working on 8 and 9 right now who are going, okay, we're going to write that Ray is this and Ray got brainwashed and all these sort of
Oh
things.
wait,
Right.
people
And
didn't like
even-
this. Let's,
even-
we can
even
have
with
a
some-
It's
Someone-
not even a different didn't like this. It's something of taking a film
Yeah.
and writing different pieces of it that make it.
Yeah, that somebody
Just
else can
filling
come
up the
later.
gaps. Filling
Yeah.
up the
And even
gaps
someone
that-
like Poe Dameron in the movie, who's basically he's the I have called him he's the male equivalent of America. He's a Gary Stu. He's perfect. I mean, he can target little tiny ant-men from high up in the sky using his X-wing. He's doing 90-degree bank turns. He's an impeccable pilot. And again, he's like again, unlike the original films where Luke gets hit a couple times and you get to watch people fall down left and right. He's a lot of the characters in the movie, especially the characters that you focus on, a lot of them are too good. And for me, I feel like you shouldn't sacrifice good, tried and true storytelling mechanics. And I mean, a lot of people love 80s movies and characters like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone play basically like, invulnerable supermen. But there is also, I think the movie-going audience sort of saw themselves rise above, or they believed themselves above those kinds of characters, and you started getting a lot of really compelling characters who were flawed human beings, and television sort of pushed that a little bit further. And then you come to especially in the context of Star Wars. When you look at the original trilogy in and of itself, they are not perfect human beings who are good at everything. They are very flawed characters.
Look at the first film; they screw up all the time.
They do,
Yes.
and if you look at it,
the breakout of Princess Leia is
a failure.
fraught with failures.
she
and
saves
stuff.
them.
yes,
It's,
and she
as you
does
keep
save
going, the good guys do everything right, and the bad guys do everything wrong. It's 80s cartoons.
Okay,
it's
so-
GI Joe's perfect. Cobra can't do
them.
anything.
Right.
So I want to move on from this,
Yeah, no,
and
that-
I am going to take the last word on this because I have seen it 4 times. And yes,
La-di-da.
yes, I agree that Ray has a tendency to be perfect, but
And it's not just her. There's many characters
Yes,
in the movie.
but they've done a good job
to
where-
not misunderstand me, that a lot of the characters in the movie are written that way because we got to get a movie out, and it's J.J. Abrams, and I don't believe he can do that.
But
that's
she-
his failing,
Right.
not necessarily other storytellers.
Okay, so with Ray though, she is fallible. She does, she does have tendencies to, like when she first picks up the blaster and everything, and she first fires it on the stormtroopers. She misses the first few times. Then she starts hitting people. When she's fighting Kylo Ren, she's all over the place. She gets lucky with him as she gets more in tune with the Force. She starts to, and she does get some lucky blows in there. Finn gets some lucky blows in
Right,
there.
and for me, even that's utterly ridiculous. Cause,
But here's the thing.
I mean, that's the thing, and it's also as someone who's done martial arts, knowing staff fighting is not going to transfer over as a skill into sword fighting. And even for Finn, at least the takeaway for a character like Finn is like, okay, he's in the military. It's entirely possible they trained him with batons or
He
saber.
used a broom.
He did use a broom.
He
He
Yeah.
was in
Moving them up, so-
sanitation.
But,
So-
but at least there's the idea of military training versus, again, someone who's like, oh, she can just because the MacGuffin requires, because the plot requires her to suddenly be Jedi Knight level of power, she can.
But the
force-
other side of this is Ren isn't that powerful either. He has
he can
his-
stop laser bolts in midair
has
and
his
brainwash
things.
people.
The thing is,
He's not. He
he's
doesn't.
got definitely a different power set, and he
Yes.
proves to be very powerful.
And he
But
only
he
becomes
also took a
infallible by
blaster
the
bolt
end
to
of
his
it. He did,
stomach.
but that's also the only time his character becomes fallible is when he's wounded fighting. The entire way through the movie, he's not actually.
See,
he's
I
not actually
disagree.
very poor at his job. but-
I disagree with you. He is very fallible. He is very. He is a. And I've said this before. He's a petulant child. His emotions.
well,
His emotion.
emotional faults aren't
But his
necessarily a mark
emotions-
against his ability to do his job. Which
But
he
if
was
you
doing
look at
very
it, his
well.
emotions take over, and his emotions cause him not to be fallible with his job. Because Snoke says it a couple of times to him, and even Hex says it, where your emotions, you need to pull back.
Right.
You need to separate yourself from this because you are way too emotional on this, and he's screwing up literally because of this emotions.
But,
with-
see, but here's
so
the
here-
thing.
but here's the thing.
But this dialogue in the movie, he doesn't really screw up though. He actually does his job.
He just makes poor decisions.
He makes
makes very poor
he makes poor decisions, but the
How's he not screw up his job? He tells him that they don't need to get the robot anymore because he has the girl who has
and he pulled the plans out of her head.
which he actually didn't pull the plans out of her head because she was able to stop him.
Regardless, again, his character does a lot, and he does it really well. His anger issues aside, he still pulled out first half of the map from Poe Dameron. He didn't even need the robot for that. And that shows he's capable of doing it to somebody else.
But he didn't pull out the map from Poe Dameron because
Yeah.
Poe Dameron never saw the map. He only got the information that BB-8 had the map. That was the only.
No, okay, that's very, very true.
So here's the thing. With this movie, I hate to say it, but you do have to go back and read the book and everything because there's so much with their inner monologues that helps to define their characters.
Right,
and to
but
help.
that's not in the movie. It doesn't count. That again.
But see,
that's
wait,
that's
you
us,
have
that's
to-
nerdiness. Us, not
with Star Wars,
moviegoer.
but see, with Star Wars now, you have to dispel that if it's not in the movie, it doesn't count. From now on,
but-
you have to include everything with Star Wars because they have said unless
Yes, I
it's
know,
something
but-
that directly contradicts the movie, it's canon.
Right, but again, that's 1 million people versus what 600-700 million across the globe who won't do that.
It doesn't matter.
I
though.
know.
If you want the
the
whole
ex-
story,
but
if you want
that's
the whole
always-
immersion,
But that's
then you
always
have
been
to
the
do it.
excuse with Star Wars. But with any property, it's been the same way, and you can't expect people to do that.
I'd
Okay,
say
so
I'd
moving
say
on.
a lot of people are gonna just not worry about all the holes that all
They
of
don't
us are
care.
trying to
Most
figure-
mainstream
because-
people won't
yeah,
care.
Most people, no, that's true. Most
the
people
point.
won't care.
Those 600 million you're talking that won't read the book
Books.
are the ones that are going to be like, well, it was a fun movie
It was
to
a fun
watch.
movie,
I
right.
enjoyed
Those
it.
are the 6
Yeah.
million people, the 600 million people that are going, I love this movie. It was great. It was exactly what I wanted. Yeah. So, moving on, and I'm going to kind of tie it in real quick because I wanted to see who had the better comment this year. Was it either Donald Trump or George Lucas? Donald Trump saying we should not allow Muslims into the country, or George Lucas calling Disney white slavers. So, which one?
I haven't read that article. I haven't had a chance to read that article.
You've got to. You got to go back and watch it.
I watched the video, and with George Lucas, I was talking to a friend about it. I get the feeling that there was a joke in there that didn't come
Sure.
out correctly,
Yeah.
and he kind of stopped himself. And
It's kind of a
It's like
out
rep-
of context, although it's in context. Like in context in his head, it worked.
right,
it
and
wasn't
then
there.
outside of it, it's
But
like,
if you
oh, you
look
don't
at-
know how I feel
Here's the thing.
inside.
If you look at his reaction-
hold on. Throw all of this away. I don't care about any of this. What I care about is I am now fascinated, absolutely fascinated, to know what George Lucas's idea of what these three films.
I
would
said
be.
that to these guys the other night.
That's what I want to know. That's
said,
the
I just
interview
wanna
I
know-
want. I just want to know. I want Disney to let him say, what were you going to do? Because I don't think he has any original characters in any original trilogy characters in it at all.
Right.
I think he thought the same thing I did when it was first.
No,
announced.
that's not true because he asked. He wanted Hamill to come back and already had a conversation with him before the buyout or the purchase.
Maybe he had the conversation. I don't think that's the film. I don't think those are the films.
I think he had Luke come back
because
and
I
die
think he
as
was
the
going
Obi-Wan.
to do the same thing that he did with episodes 1, 2, and 3, in which he made 3 completely separate different films.
Yes.
And that's the thing. The tones that I'm getting from just reading the article starts or whatever is he basically said, why did they just make the same film?
Yeah.
Which again has been my point for the last 3 years about the prequels, of people screaming about the prequels
Uh-huh.
to not from a film basis, but like, why didn't they just make the same 3 films?
right.
And now that
This is
they
why.
did,
Because when Lucas looked at it, he's like, why would I make the same 3 films?
right?
Why would I make them
why
over
would I
again?
make them
Told that
again?
story.
I want to do something different. I
Yeah.
want to do something that's
Okay.
much more centralized on Coruscant, a political film, an emotional film, a film with Jedi who are at the top of their game. Someone one of the customers at work had said he did not like Episode 7 at all.
Yeah.
He hated it. He was like, I don't get the sword fights. I don't get the sword fights at all. Why are they not good at what they do? And I said, because none of them are swordsmen.
None of them been
Even
trained.
Kylo Ren is like, man, did you see the prequels? Those sword fights are so good because they are all at their peak of their game.
They're,
And
they're
yes,
true Jedi.
yeah, where people are just like, there's nothing in the prequels that's worthwhile. Watch the duel and tell me there's nothing worthwhile.
Right.
There are scenes in it that are good. There's choreography that's good. Whatever. So I'm fascinated to hopefully someday find out
I told Mikey
what
and
his idea would be for those 3 films.
I told
honestly
Mikey
think
and
that,
Ethan
that
last
there
night.
there wouldn't be anything recognized. He would put it far enough into the future that there would be barely anybody in it.
Yeah, my idea was that my thoughts is that it would be like 60s, It'd be more like Legacy in
Well,
the
no,
comic book
it's
series where it was
it would, I
100
have a
years
feeling it
after.
would be. I have a feeling it'd been right around because this was the time when back after Jedi, he had told Hamill
That's
that
30-something
when,
years ago.
That's when he said he wanted to do
Right.
this one,
That,
7, 8, 9. I have a feeling.
Wait, hold on. Go back to what he originally thought he wanted to do with 1, 2, and 3, and what ended up on the screen.
Yes,
It's
but
this 35 years ago doesn't count.
I think that Luke would have been the only one in it, and he would only been in it a brief time, and he would have.
I think the only time Luke would be in it is as a Force ghost,
And that's what
it
I
would have
mean.
dealt, it would have dealt with their grandchildren. It would have dealt with the Empire
Uh-huh.
being a different political body, which the EU got to after 10 years.
Yes.
This idea that the Empire is a legitimate government that exists in a non-tyrannical way, but in a much more, we're kind of tyrannical, but people still enjoy living under us because there's no crime and everyone has a job and
The
everything's
galaxy
okay.
split, yeah.
And all that type of stuff. I would love. That's all I would love to see what his outline for those 3 films would have
I
been.
told Mikey and Ethan last night. I said I would love to see Lucas take those scripts and make them into like a fan film.
I told you that.
No, I said it.
Bullshit.
I said
We
it.
both said it.
I'm-
I remember.
I'm going to go with Mikey.
The-
Here's the thing.
the
Of course
only-
you would.
Here's my favorite part. He's going to say, well, this is what my episode 7 was going to be. And immediately on the internet is going to be 8 billion nerds going, that sounds better.
Yeah.
That sounds like
Oh,
a
yeah.
better film.
Lucas should in there, but
Well,
that was one of the things that
I'm-
people said.
I'm gonna paraphrase a buddy of mine who I think the moment you mentioned like there's a lot of people who discount the prequels not based on whether or not it's a good movie, but just by sheer basis of it's not the same. And a friend of mine, I'm going to paraphrase what he said. He said, "I would rather take failed innovation than a bottom of the barrel copy." And those were his thoughts on Episode 7 after seeing them, and I agree with that to an extent because the prequels. I think that's a perfect descriptor of the prequels. They are failed innovation. He pioneered a lot of new technologies, making Episodes 1, 2, and 3.
Well, there's
and I
a
think
single film that's made today that does not use something that
right, and I think that
Look how many films are made by Lucasfilm.
But just
some,
the idea
with
of
some
what-
entity of it.
right,
you
and
do of
and
it,
I
even
feel like
dramas.
story was put into second over the innovations he was pioneering making those films. And
Watch
and-
Have you ever seen the behind the scenes for Attack of the Clones?
Yeah,
It's totally there.
yeah.
If you read between the lines, there's a lot of that because he's just like, well, we want to make the Yoda fight look good. We don't care kind of the story of it.
Right, we just
why
want-
why is he there? Why would he actually be
Right,
leading
and you-
this fight?
we just need
Why
to
don't-
show
we need
people Yoda
there so that-
fighting.
yeah, that's the sort of thing.
And,
Okay, so-
and even the technology of doing composite shots, Count Dooku, it's because I think Christopher Lee had arthritis, and he couldn't move a lot,
Yeah.
but they put his face over a younger actor's body, which again Tron Legacy,
But even
in Ant-Man.
even Lee
Well, that's
actually
all
did
the
a
way back
lot
to
more
Jurassic
stunts
Park.
than he thought he would.
Oh yeah, because Christopher Lee is the greatest human being
Right.
that's ever existed. But I mean, that's Jurassic Park when
Yeah.
the Ariana
Yeah, when she
Richards
falls
stunt double
through and there's
looks
an
up at
early
the camera,
version
and
of
they're like,
that.
well, we don't want to lose that shot, and they just pasted her face on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on. We've been going over Star Wars for the last.
Terrible segue.
Yes, it is. So the top 5 movies of 2015. I'm going to read off the ones with the top grossing right now, and then
Star Wars is 1 through 5.
I want to get everybody's their own top 5s. Star Wars is number 1. It's done domestically. It's done $740,265,583. It's sold
$3.
It's sold 88 million tickets.
And that's
Worldwide.
still pales in comparison to Gone with the Wind.
Yes.
Yeah, which is again with
That's
inflation.
there's probably 88 million tickets sold for Gone with the Wind in the United States alone because it was in theaters for 5
Yep.
years.
And we got so Star Wars has been in theaters since the 18th.
18th.
So if
So
it,
then I gotta cut my numbers down. Only 88 million people saw that movie, and only 100,000 of them will actually read any of the expanded universe materials.
Jurassic World was number 2. It had $652,198,010.
It's amazing that film will make $650 million, and when they take the total gross of Star Wars domestically, it's going to be far in second place with $652 million.
Yep.
That's insane.
That's crazy, isn't it? Number 3 was The Avengers: Age of Ultron. It did 459 million. I'm rounding
Failure.
up. Yeah.
It's like Apple
Bob
every
Iger's
year.
pissed.
Yeah, it's like Apple every year. It's like, oh, Apple's doomed. They can't do it again with
Yeah.
another iPhone. Can't do it again, and then they do it
The
again.
iPhone 7 has been sold out for 6 months.
Yeah, exactly.
Number 4 on the list, Inside Out, Pixar's movie. Over the
Interesting.
summer. $356 million. There's so when you look at it, Star Wars to number 4, you're almost
$400
double.
million.
Yeah,
There's also 3 Disney movies on there too.
that was my next thing. Number 5, Furious 7, was $351 million.
I do love the quote. the meme that's going around now as far as like people complaining that Episode 7 is a clone of Episode 4, and yet they've gone to 7 Fast and Furious movies.
I saw that. I love that. So,
So what are we gonna do in this one? Well, you see the cars, they're gonna
gonna
go
race.
fast, and then they're gonna go
And
faster.
then we're
And
gonna
then
have
they're
to
gonna
break
get
into
furious.
something, and then we're gonna have to steal something.
The Rock's gonna wear a tank top the whole time
We gotta
because
Tokyo
Get ready
drift
for
our way.
Star Trek 3.
the sad thing is Tokyo Drift's probably the most different of all of those films.
Right.
oh, it is. Yeah,
Because it's like a quasi prequel
Yeah.
and
Well, it's like it was one
no, it's
that
a,
was
it's a sequel.
in between.
It's a sequel because Vin Diesel shows up at the end of it because he's on the run still from the.
Is
Well,
it-
it was in
so it will
between
then-
the fact that
He
like
shows
they
up at the
didn't
end,
want to
says,
make
"I am
another
Groot."
one after 2, but then after that they wanted to reboot the franchise, and so it was just like that in between.
And then they went, well, wait, we
Or
got to
some-
bring back everybody.
like
here.
some
I love
random
after
people
So
do
it's
it.
like, what,
after
2.5?
after 5, my friend Doug made the joke: is Fast and Furious 8 going to be cars in space? And after 7 opened, he's like, "Well, they only got one more.
Yeah.
I guess
Cars
that's where
on
they're going.
Mars.
Cars on Mars."
So number 14 on the list was Ant-Man. So Disney
14?
put in,
Oh,
Disney put in a $2 billion profit this year from films.
well, they paid $8 billion for the 2 properties
Right.
that made them the most. But
So, but
obviously, those didn't exist.
this is
in
the
a
first
vacuum.
time. This is the first time Disney, and that's not even counting what was the other. There was Tomorrowland, there was Good Dinosaur, and all these others that they had out this year too. So just with pretty much with Star Wars and the other 2 in the top,
Well, it's going to make up for the money that Tomorrowland lost.
which Tomorrowland didn't actually. I mean, it made its money worldwide. It lost it domestically,
I think also when you put in the marketing and everything and all that distribution,
Yeah.
they'll be lucky to break even. But
which is sad
I
because
don't think
that's
it's
a,
as
that's
bad
a
as
good
John
movie.
Carter. So, but-
Okay, so let's go. Oh, but John Carter.
and
That
any
was
other
still a
studio,
good movie
any other
too.
No, I
studio,
know,
yeah,
I know.
John Carter would have bankrupted any other studio.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the amazing part is that they survived John Carter.
Yes. Okay, Shauna, give me your top 5 of movies.
All right. I only have a top 3 because I haven't
Get
been
close.
keeping up. So, all right. Oh, okay.
Yeah, get close to the mic.
Sorry.
Don't have to
3.
apologize. It's okay. You can punch Chris.
There you go. Go ahead.
All right, so I have a top 3 because I haven't I'm not up to date on anything. So for me, it would be Star Wars, Inside Out, and Ant-Man.
Hmm.
Yeah, I really liked Inside Out.
Now, this is all movies in 2015, so it doesn't matter if you went to the theater or you saw it, on Blu-ray or digital or whatever.
As
you
long as they were
pirated it from
released
China.
in 2015.
Right.
Yeah.
What did you pirate from China that you?
No, I didn't pirate anything. No, when I say I'm behind on my movies, I'm really behind on my movies.
Well, I don't
Well,
feel
that's because you
bad.
spend most of your time at Disneyland.
yeah, and
you get to live the movies at Disneyland,
Exactly.
Rich.
I do.
That's
Yes.
why it's
No,
No,
awesome.
that
you
is
live
true.
the
Well, now
movies
I
at
don't feel
Universal.
bad that I
Come
only
on.
saw 4 movies because I'm not the one that saw the least.
All right.
I felt bad for seeing
See, I have
16.
taken your place, Ethan. don't worry.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So I want what we'll do is we'll get a consensus. So and then we'll see where each movie ranks with all of us.
What about what were 2 movies that you wanted to see that you could think would be in your top 5?
Star Wars.
Alvin and Chipmunks. And what?
Road trip.
No, I really wanted to see Age of Ultron. I never got around to seeing that. I wanted to see Tomorrowland.
Mhm.
But I just never happened. And out of sheer curiosity, because I don't remember ever seeing a Fast and the Furious movie, I kind of wanted to go see Fast 7.
Yeah, once you see that,
It's
you
okay.
see
Star
all the
Trek
other-
3 is coming out. It'll basically be like seeing
Be
Fast
like-
and
So
Furious.
cars on Mars.
Cars on Mars.
Cars on Mars.
Boldly
It's Star Trek
Fast,
3.
Boldly Furious.
Okay, Chris, what's yours?
5-1. I actually have 6 because I struggled with number 4.
Well, just give one to Shauna.
Yeah. Okay. 5. I put Mad
thank
Max
you.
Fury Road as just a straightforward crazy chase movie.
Oh, I wanted to see that movie so bad. I never
It
got
was
a
also
chance.
really
Yeah.
good.
I wanted to see those.
My 4A was Spectre. 4B was The Good Dinosaur. The Good Dinosaur was the last film I saw in 2015. No, it wasn't because I saw Star Wars right after. I had trouble picking between those 2 because I just couldn't really decide. I mean, Spectre was not as great as Skyfall, but I knew it wasn't going to be. It's still a really solid film for me. Good Dinosaur was surprisingly good. It didn't feel like a Pixar film to me.
Really?
It did
I
feel-
just watched that last night or 2 nights ago, and to me, it felt of all of the Pixar movies I've seen, that felt the weakest. I enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was
liked the fact
Weaker than
that
Cars
they-
2?
yes, because to
Interesting.
me
Okay.
there was a lot of rehash. You want to talk about Star Wars rehashing? To me, there was a lot of rehashing and pulling from other Disney films.
Fair
That's,
enough.
that's kids' films. That's,
There-
the
the whole-
hold on. My movie. That movie, to me, any kids' film is going to have a lot of the same basic tropes. What I liked about this film was how simple it was.
It was very
Versus
simple.
Pixar is a very complicated. They have great writers. It's usually a complex, complicated film
Mm-hmm.
that's told simply. This is a simple story, told exceedingly simply. It is most of my reason that I loved it. It's gorgeous.
It's very.
It's
that-
easily,
I'll
it's
give you
easily
that.
probably one of the I would say, of
The
every
backgrounds
prettiest
are,
movie that
yeah,
I've seen.
I looked at it and I said, "Is this film plate? I mean,
Yeah.
did they go out and shoot this?
No,
Like,
no,
what is-
I will give you that.
the action is done very well to me. It has old school villains in the pterosaurs,
Yes,
and the fact that you actually have villains who are villains.
which the pterosaurs reminded me of the hyenas from Lion King.
Yeah, they're villains who are villains. They're not given any other sort of story of like, oh, it's sad for them or whatever. I love the design work for it.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the design work on the stuff that you said, the Tyrannosaurs look fantastic. Butch is amazing.
See, the
Love that
Tyrannosaurs, for me, as much as I like seeing them there, they were fun. They didn't really serve a purpose in the film.
Again,
It-
kids'
other
film,
than just to-
it's all
Yeah.
pieces that will fit in to further his journey. Again, it's very simple.
Yes.
It's just
Do you
they're
say
all
it's similar
archetypes.
to like the way that Wally was done? Because
No.
that was also very
No,
simple.
Wally has a
too.
very complex
Wally's very
relationship.
complex, yeah.
There's pieces in it, and there's a bigger message and all that. This is basically just I want to go home. How do I get home? How do I
Yes.
find the courage to go home? All that film is The Good Dinosaur, courage to go home. It's a journey home. It's if you replace him with a dog
It's
and
the land
a
of the
cat.
lost, almost.
Yeah,
it's that
it's just
same
that.
story.
Okay.
I ended up exceedingly enjoying that film. It was very heartfelt. The end of it is really, really tough. Really tough for me.
The
The end pushing him away.
oh yes,
Just-
yes,
just
yes. That
tough.
was and
Getting
I
back home, all this. I mean, and some of it is my emotions that are wrapped up in it.
see that was
but
a nice twist to it too.
I didn't think it was a twist. I mean, this is again everything. I'm not saying anything in this film is anything that I saw. That was coming right down the middle. It's an
Yeah.
88-mile-an-hour fastball down the middle, and I got a bat the size of Jupiter that I can knock it.
Yeah, I mean there's a sequence
But-
that's almost straight out of the Lion King.
I don't fault the movie for it. It's I'm one of those people that says it can be a film that's been done before. It can be a genre that's done before. If you do it exceedingly well, I love it.
So it's almost the same thing with Star Wars. You didn't have a problem with the Star Wars movie because even though it was a retelling or reimagining almost of
There's
the,
enough of it that was different. My problem with Star Wars is that they ran away from their story
yes,
because the story's all about Luke, and then it becomes about the Starkiller base, and it's like,
which
oh,
it
yeah, we
makes
need to
sense
find
when you read the book. And I know.
I'm not going to get off on this.
I know. Okay, so your other two.
That's right. No, I got three more because that's 4A and 4B.
Okay.
Number 3 was Sicario, which was probably the best pure film that I saw this year. I only saw 16 films. So in terms of a film that's done really well,
I forgot. I left that off my list. This is a good one.
that
though.
movie's
That's
amazing.
great.
It's acted incredibly well.
Yeah.
That's the one with
it's
with Emily Blunt,
Blunt.
not the one with.
It's one with Emily Blunt.
Yes. Okay.
It is complex without being overly complex. I never felt like I couldn't follow it, which some films will get to.
I haven't seen that one yet.
The action is fantastic. It's shot incredibly well. Even the sort of throwaway characters that are in it that you just see for a minute and they disappear and that sort of thing, all really well. The archetype characters are really good. The villain that isn't a villain but is a villain is really good. She is absolutely stunning, absolutely amazing. If you're telling me, I don't know about Captain Marvel, screw you. If she's not Captain Marvel, that movie's going to suck. Because she owns everything. We walked out of that film.
She
And-
looks like Captain Marvel. She looks
Yeah,
like she'll
we
fit
went.
Carol really
we saw
well.
that movie when we were in Vegas, and the first thing I can think of is because we saw Terminator Genesis like 2 months before, or a month
Yes.
before, and we both said Emily Clark or whatever, Amelia Clark, whoever the hell,
Yeah,
Daenerys is
yes.
worthless action heroine. Never believed her for half a second that she would survive, even a half a second,
Right.
fighting a cyborg. Emily Blunt would take the Terminator, break him in two, throw him in the trash, and then cry about it, and you'd believe the whole sequence.
Well, I think a lot of people had a problem with her in Edge of Tomorrow. And they
She's
didn't
fantastic
believe her.
in Edge of Tomorrow.
I liked her, and I thought she did a good
Because again,
job. She
Edge,
held
Edge
her
of
own.
Tomorrow, she's an archetype in it. She is the perfect
Yes.
soldier, still a pillar. Everything in the Edge of Tomorrow is all based off of Tom Cruise's character changing.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's why you didn't see that movie. So that was my number 3.
Okay.
So the first two, so my number 2 is Jurassic World. Not a great film. I totally agree with that. But one of the films I had a ton of fun with. I thought it knew what it was, and not good.
Uh-huh.
Like, look, we're not.
It didn't try to be more than what
It
it
didn't
was.
try to be more than it was. Like, we know you want to see dinosaurs fight each other. You want to see dinosaurs kill humans. You want to see Chris Pratt be kind of funny, and you want to see a chick run around in heels for no reason. It's not well put together. The dialogue can be atrocious at times, but I thought it had the right amount of nods to Jurassic Park. There are pieces in it. There are subtle pieces. The shot when the military helicopter's headed towards the island, the same exact shot from Jurassic Park.
Right.
Different helicopter, obviously. I enjoyed the hell out of that film for what it was. It's not a good film, but it's a good, fun film. My first was Star Wars, the same reason. Star Wars was,
And it's Star
especially the
Wars.
second time. Well, the ancillary stuff around it brings that film to the first. We've been waiting so long for this film. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I had a lot of fun. It felt great. The tone, to me, the character, the action, enough of it was Star Wars enough that I placed that as number 1.
It felt like you were going home.
I wouldn't go that far. It felt like I just saw a good Star Wars movie.
Okay.
That was coming home. I'm one of those people. Like, part of the reason I love the EU is because it was different.
Right.
One of my favorite stories in the EU are the non-Jedi stuff. Like, I'm tired. I get Jedi.
That's why I
get
think
Jedi
that's why
in the
Rogue
films.
Squadron or Rogue One is going to be such a good movie.
That's why I hope so.
Okay, Mikey.
All right. My number 5 is Maggie with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Abigail Breslin. Sleeper, just
Little
a
Sunshine.
really
I
slow,
forgot about that movie.
emotional
Sort of the rest of North America.
zombie movie, and both of those two play well. It's a role you don't see Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he didn't get paid for that movie. He actually wanted that part, and he did it for free. So,
Yeah, you gotta give the man the respect for that.
No, I have a jet from Terminator
I have a
2.
tank.
I went to them and they're like, how much Arnold? What do you want to play a robot? They said, give me a jet, and they did it.
number 4 is Dope. Has good comedy. The actors do their parts well.
It was when I saw that trailer the first time. I was like, I want to see this movie, but I don't know if
Yeah.
I want to see if I want it enough to see it in the theater. And the
Well-
more I kept hearing about it, more and stuff, I was
I
like,
got a bunch of idiots in my theater when I saw it. So
yeah.
You went to a
Stupid
movie
white
called
kids.
Dope, and you thought that there wouldn't be a bunch
no,
of
it was a
stoned
bunch of
kids seeing
stupid
it?
white kids. Yeah. Number
3.
number 3 is Mad Max Fury Road. Just the sound, the beginning of that movie in the theater was awesome. And it's a sort of a boring plot, but it's just
That's another
It's
movie that didn't
pretty-
try to be more than what it was.
it's
It's a stunningly visual chase film,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that's it.
That's exactly. I mean, if you talk about like when Chris has talked about a chase movie before, we've talked about this on the show, like for Boba Fett or something like that. All he's, not a lot of dialogue.
No.
The action needs to be where the action needs to be, and it needs to be a chase film. That when I sat there and I watched this movie, I went, "Fuck, this is exactly what he's talking about."
Yeah, it's basically they give you the bare. You're not when you leave that film and go, but why are the females and what are the and why do
No,
they give you just enough because you buy that world the
Yeah.
way that he builds it, and that's it.
Yeah.
I love Nick Holt.
It's also
I
a
think
movie
he's a good
that's
actor,
very
so-
much entrenched in the mythology of the other Mad Max
Yes.
movies.
Yes.
It's a movie that I enjoyed quite a bit, but it's also, I think seeing other people's reaction to it was very alien to me.
really.
I
And-
think people made more of that film than
Then I think it should have been, especially for me, because I was like, it's like, oh, yeah, Mad Max Fury was good. I've seen the 3 other Mad Max movies. It's the same movie.
But it also came out in a
Maybe
good.
it helped for me that I don't think I've seen the other 3. I think I may have
Especially
seen
because
Mad Max
everyone's
one.
like, oh,
That's it.
Furiosa this. It's like, I guess you never saw Thunderdome,
Thunderdome
with
was a little
Tina
different.
Turner. who is a badass female character in that
But
movie.
the Thunderdome wasn't as much as a chase film as
no,
the rest of them.
no,
was.
no. But for me, everyone's like, Furiosa, awesome female character. And he's like, but
That's
Tina
true.
Turner.
Tina Turner was.
was-
Well, most of the people that were calling that
badass.
out weren't alive when Thunderdome was released.
No, that's very true. So that's for me. It was one of those things like, it's like, but Mad Max, I just saw that movie like 2 weeks ago. Oh yeah, 'cause nobody
But
else.
it also
I'm the only person who keeps watching Mad Max,
Yeah.
every so often.
But it came out at a good time during the summer too.
I think so. 'Cause I think it was actually, for me, it was a fantastically fun movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Really well shot, and George. It's one of those. Seeing that movie sort of reminded me why I got so sad when George Miller lost directing Justice League from like 2008, 2009. So like,
Could you imagine what he had done with motorcycles going up crisscrossing over you?
And that's the other thing about the movie is there's so much of it was the actual visual effects.
Yeah.
right,
There's only like
right,
one or
real
two
real
practical
visual
shots.
effects.
Yeah.
There's
Practical
only
effects.
1 or 2 CG explosions in that entire
Yeah.
movie.
I
I
mean, the
think
background
the
plates and
One or
things
two
like
was
that, but
the sandstorm was obviously, and obviously there's a lot of color changes, but yeah, there was like 4
The
explosions
water
they
and
did
things
because
like
they're
that,
like, look,
yeah.
this is too dangerous. We
Yeah.
can't do this. And
But
that's
the
film.
people going back and forth on the motorcycles,
Those
on
are
the-
real, yeah.
That's really happening.
when they
So-
did the Charlize Theron's interviews about doing that film, this is the most dangerous film I've ever done.
Oh, yeah.
because they're in a country that was like not very safe.
Yes.
In addition to, where are we going? We're going out in the middle of nowhere. Nobody knows where we are. We're going to blow up to the sand. We're going to have people jumping over you with a
Motorcycles
motorcycle.
and-
All right, we're rehearsing. No, go action. What
Yeah.
the hell's going on?
They got a guy on bungee cords with
Yeah.
a flaming guitar.
Yep. Yeah.
Number one.
Number one.
No, number 2.
Number two.
Number two.
Number 2 is Ex Machina. So it has 2 Star Wars actors, Domhnall Gleeson and Oscar Isaacs. And
still
that was a good movie too.
I still
That's
haven't
a
seen
slow
that one.
It's a quiet movie. It's good tech sound to it, and Alicia Vikander is gorgeous.
That's one of those movies that every time I forget about it, and then as soon as I see like a trailer or I see something of it, I go, I've got to watch that movie, and then I forget about it because there's so much other stuff I'm doing.
It's a good ending.
Yeah.
You got to go out and see Independence.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the blockbusters are out there. They're going to be out there. And then number 1 is Sicario. So with pretty much all the same reasons that Chris put.
So you took Star Wars off your list.
Yeah.
Completely.
I knew he was going to have the most eccentric.
Well,
After the second viewing, I didn't like it as much.
Well, you had said that you had
So-
dropped it because that's what you said the other night. Was you dropped it down to at least 3? and
Yeah,
then-
I was gonna drop it from 3 down, and then I'm just like, I think I'm just putting it on there because it's Star Wars, and
Yeah.
it feels like the pressure's like, oh, you got to put it on your top 5.
Well, even listening to everybody else's list, I'm going my list, and I'm like, crap. There's so many other movies that I saw that were so good that I forgot
I went
about.
through the
Well,
list of going.
it's Adam Savage's rule of lists is that for every 5, well, you got 5 more, and then when you got 10,
Yeah.
well, I really have a top 20, and then once you get to 20, it's like, well, I think I could make
Well, when
it.
I put
Yeah.
my list together, I forgot I'd seen Mission Impossible on there, and then I forgot on the list. I was at 5 movies. I only saw 15 movies this year. My top 5 is a third of what I saw. And for me, I was just like, that's not enough. Half the movies that Mikey put on his list, I'm like, yeah, I wanted to see that.
I mean,
I
I
wanted
have
to see that too.
I have honorable mentions of like She's Funny That Way or It Follows. So
That was a bunch of-
Krampus is like in the
Krampus.
realm, in the realm of
Krampus.
Gremlins. It was a
Krampus.
fun.
I do want, yeah, everyone
It was
has,
a fun
who's seen
theater
Krampus has had a lot of fun watching it.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, Ethan, you're 2
Top
or
one.
3. One.
Top 1, no. So I do have top 4, but I do have.
That's a big year for you.
Hey,
But
he's
it is.
guaranteed to go at least to 2 or 3 movies this year. I know because I purposely gave him a Christmas present that would force him to go to movies.
The amazing thing is, he spent, let's say, $40 to go to the movies this year. That's less than half of what you spent on Guardians last year.
That's less than what I spent on Star Wars
that's
already.
less than a quarter of
That's
what
a
he spent.
half. No, remember we figured it out. We think he spent between $90 and $95 on Guardians
Oh.
just for himself,
yeah,
and
well,
140, I think,
With the
130 with
DVDs
the family.
and the Blu-rays.
No,
that's not
because-
counting. Just in
Not just
theater.
the-
That's
theaters.
just in theaters with his tickets because you saw it in IMAX twice.
Once.
But you saw something? Didn't you see it 3D or something like that?
I saw it IMAX 3D once.
Yeah, that was like a $30 ticket, though, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
God damn.
Yeah, I know, right?
Well, and not you, but just IMAX 3D being a $30 ticket is one of those things where I go like, I keep forgetting that people pay that much to go see movies not shot in IMAX, and not shot in 3D in 3D. And then everyone's like, the movie industry is so healthy. Like, it ain't healthy. people are paying $30 a movie ticket, and there's only like 100 of them in that theater.
I'm telling you what, though, with Star Wars, you would have not known it wasn't shot in 3D.
Sebastian would know.
No, I'm telling you,
So-
you would
I'm
not.
the kind of person.
I'm telling you, Sebastian would know.
I'm also the kind of person that I would go out and buy a pair of the anti 3D glasses to bring to the theaters if I was forced to go see it.
Also,
You can go buy them. They're great. They look like you can get clip-ons, or they go right over the glasses. Turns
That-
the 3D movies
no,
into regular
what
movies.
the
That is-
hell?
hold on.
I want those.
They're amazing.
that is already the Sebastian statement of
Yes.
2016 in Nerd.
But here's the question: Why,
Why
would
would
you
you go
pay
to-
so much to go see it in
I would
3D?
never.
He said if he
just
was
to wear
forced.
those.
No, if I
he
had
was
to go,
forced. If he
I
was
would-
Not
forced
only,
to
not
go.
only you're paying to go see 3D, you're also paying to get these non-3D glasses.
Exactly.
Well,
That's
They're-
why
they're-
the forced part of it is the best. That's why not only would I not, if I was forced to go see it, I would buy non-3D glasses that makes it 2D to go see the film. If I was forced, that is the most Sebastian statement we're going to hear in 2016.
Shauna, what were you gonna say?
Like, I was just gonna say that, like, in my humble opinion, I really don't think that the 3D did much for the movie.
You saw it
Like,
3D and 2D in the same day, didn't you?
Yeah, I saw
Okay.
it first in 2D.
Really? Because I mean, it may have been because it was the IMAX, but they add. It looked like when you're on the Falcon, you can see parts of the Falcon around the edge of the frame as they're talking and stuff. And they did the same thing with like some of the holographic projections that you see. You had that.
That's worth another $20.
But it was fascinating to see that stuff,
Yeah,
and not to mention to see it.
I'd rather go see it in IMAX in 2D. than see
Yeah,
it
that's
in
what I
3D.
want.
Well,
But that's also like again as a movie guy. That
But
the
also
pet,
like to
the
see
pet
it in
peeve for me
true
is like
IMAX.
they shot like one scene in 70 millimeter, which is the Falcon chase,
and that was great.
And,
It was
and
amazing.
that's it. And for me, I think we in our Twitter conversations, like I understand why Quentin Tarantino's pissed at the Cinerama Dome dumping his movie for the to throw in Star Wars for another 2 weeks, and it's like yeah, you actually shot your movie on 70 millimeter and will look amazing, and Star Wars is just
have
another
you ever
movie.
Seen, like on a true IMAX, where like a 3-foot.
Yeah, there's that
three-story screen.
that's what it is.
in
I don't think the one
in City Walk.
Is
City
City
Walk.
Walk one that
City
big?
Walk has
City
one
Walk-
real IMAX theater.
Yes, it is.
Okay, then that must have been worse. I saw the second Matrix movie in IMAX because Joe
Yeah.
wanted to go.
No, I was there too.
Yeah, you went too.
It's a 3 or 4
And it's
story screen.
Terrible film. Except that freeway chase is amazing in IMAX.
Right, because it engulfs your
Yeah,
screen,
completely,
and then,
because you're like, oh, yeah.
But that's just
You're
it.
going
You're
back
sitting
and
there,
forth.
and like.
but it's also for me. I like to watch movies. Or I like to do my best to watch films as the filmmakers sort of intended you to watch the movies. So when Quentin Tarantino's putting out a 70 millimeter film, it's like, well, the only way to actually go see it is in something like the Cinerama Dome.
Yeah.
Versus something like Star Wars is like, it wasn't shot that way. Dark Knight is another one where
But still, you can see all of the little things that
yeah, but that's resolution
little
over
details.
the way the film was actually shot.
But,
The other movie that
scale of
bothers
things
me
is
is
also incredible.
Dark
too.
Knight is another movie that bothers me because I think it's the bank scene is shot in IMAX in the Dark Knight. I think
Yes,
that's
No,
that was
there's,
the
there's
trailer,
the
wasn't
scene
it?
where he's on top of the building in
and that one
China,
too.
and that's like literally a 15-second scene. That
And
was
when you
shot
watch
in
it
IMAX.
on Blu-ray, the aspect ratio of the film
yes.
changes to
Yeah.
fit that, and for me it's like, why you shot this for the sake of having something to throw in a $30 theater,
Especially
versus-
for someone
They
who
didn't shoot-
refused to do Dark Knight Returns in 3D,
right.
despite Warner Brothers.
Right,
telling him.
exactly.
So apparently, Ethan's top 4 is us talking about 3D
Sorry,
movies.
yes, please
Okay,
go,
Ethan.
please go.
Yes, please.
It's okay. I'm used to being overlooked for stuff nowadays. So, all right. So I actually do. I have top 4 with a 5th one that was put in that I wanted to see but never got around to the theater to see it. So
So the Phantom 5
yes.
is
So that to start that off, number 5 would be Sicario. That one I was just exactly what you
You'll
guys
like it.
were saying. It was just the reason why I was so interested in going to see it, but I just never made it out to the theater to see it.
Gotta find a discount theater
I
that
know.
still possibly is holding it.
Well, I'm probably
I can't
gonna
imagine
just wait
$3
until
theaters
Dude,
throwing Sicario in.
I
Well, I
think I,
mean,
saw
like-
it in December somewhere, but
I did
like
see
an
Edge of
Ox- like an
Tomorrow
Oxnard.
in the
that's one of those ones that like when it comes out on Blu-ray, I'll pick it up.
Yeah.
Just like knowing because of who I've talked to and said so much like rave reviews about that I'm just like, well, it'd be worth it. Pay $20 and just pick it up. I know I'm gonna like it. So number 4 is The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which I thought was an incredibly fun movie.
Very fun.
I
like to
Four
say that.
films you went to. One of them was Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Yeah.
I know. It's, isn't it weird?
And I would-
Weird.
This is the thing. Like when I was looking over my top 5, my top my top 4 to say, but all the movies that I've seen in theaters were just all really fun movies to watch, and I think that was the reason why I actually went out to the movie theaters to watch these movies.
So the
'Cause-
4 movies you saw, I saw half of them with you.
There's only 4. That's not that hard.
I think you've seen all of them with me.
Did I?
Yeah.
What's number 3?
Yeah. Okay. So number 3 is Ant-Man, which again another fun heist movie that I really enjoyed. Number 2 is Avengers: Age of Ultron, and top 1 is Star Wars, for the same reason again. Like I said, I think what was last week on the podcast is episode 7 was the first time. Being a film student, you're always over analyzing movies and like figuring out, oh, how'd they do this shot? What'd they do here? What props were they doing? Star Wars was the first time in years that I just got lost in a movie and, just watched
Besides
it for.
porn.
Well, yeah. No. But,
This is shot really well.
wow, that's a great
Look
angle
at the
that they're
depth
using.
of field of this menage a trois.
But yeah, so I mean, like, it was the first time in a long time that I got lost in a movie. So it's just going back to being able to watch a film and be, engulfed in a movie story
Man, there's something
rather than just
I
like,
do
oh,
that
well,
same
how's
thing.
it-
You're like,
this-
I wish I could get rid of that sometimes.
yeah. And so that's why it's my number 1.
All right, this is what I've been waiting for. Sebastian's top 5?
Top
Top 5 movies I tolerated this year.
it's for me. It was hard to like. I don't like. It's
Top
like number
5 movies
1.
that
I just
didn't
have like
suck?
my 5 movies that I actually really really liked. Although I completely left Sicario off the list, and that was a great movie. But I threw Inside Out, Spectre, The Martian, Ex Machina, and Creed.
You may have been the only person that saw The Martian because I think that would have been on a lot of
The
other people's
Martian-
lists if we had seen
Yeah, a
it.
movie, and it's a movie
That was like, as I'm scrolling through, I'm like, I tried to see The Martian 3 separate times and failed.
Yeah.
Martian.
so mad.
The Martian was one of those movies that like not only because the book is really fun,
Yeah.
but also very entrenched in science. And The
Yes.
Martian is a movie that tried to bring a lot of that to the screen. Actually, I think was very successful at doing that.
But I was also able to move the story along.
Yes,
That's what I
yeah,
keep
and
hearing.
it's one of those. It's a Ridley Scott movie that makes you sad that Ridley Scott does not make movies like that all the time anymore.
I was listening to another podcast doing their media review today, and when they were talking about The Martian, one guy who that was like one of his top 3 or whatever, and he said in the book he got kind of tiresome of like, oh, of course this is wrong, and this is why does all this stuff keep going wrong? It's like let's get back to actually saving
Right.
him or whatever. And that's what he loved about the film was that they were able to drop enough of it that the plot moved along, but not so much of it that you felt like it was a missing piece.
Right.
So-
And then Creed is a movie that was also really good. That I think it's kind of weird to see who saw that movie and who didn't. But
It's one of those films like I after hearing all the reviews and everything, I'm like, I kind of want to see that movie.
Creed
now.
is great, and it's great in a way. And for me, it's one of those things like a lot of people are going to think I'm going to just like shit all over Star Wars because and it's not that Star Wars wasn't a fun movie, but I think when you look at the dichotomy, those two movies set out to accomplish the same end goal. But I think Creed was actually successful in revitalizing a franchise while paying respect to the original set of films, where Star Wars was just plot hole, but hey, look, we have the hologram chess set, and we've distracted you from noticing the plot hole, versus Creed is actually taking sort of the culmination of everything that Sylvester Stallone did with the Rocky character and handing it off to somebody else and doing it in a way that you go, okay, there is going to be a Creed 2, and
Electric Boogaloo.
and the character now can do everything on his own. And Sylvester Stallone's character doesn't need to appear in it anymore because he basically got to be Mick now. Like the character has come full circle, and Sylvester Stallone can continue to produce the movies, and his character can fade away and have a new generation's Rocky and have it be a successful evolution.
What are you talking about me fading away? I'm here all the time.
Well, and it's interesting that you do that because especially a lot of the jokiness that comes from Rocky is like if you watch the series, he did trying to inject a lot of like a character who got brain damage from all the years of
Yeah,
boxing.
I
and
didn't
as-
have too far to fall.
he-
You know what I'm saying?
And as he watched the movies, especially as you get later on, his character stops looking people in the eyes directly, which is something really bizarrely subtle for Sylvester Stallone, which is like, and there's a lot of people like, oh, if he ever gets like a supporting actor nod, I agree 100%. And that's one of those things where it goes like, in a million years, no one would ever go, best supporting actor, Sylvester Stallone.
You ever imagine
think-
that though? Like Sylvester
but it's-
Stallone winning an
Right,
Oscar.
but
Hold
then-
on,
but
Wait, no, he was
Copland.
nominated for a couple times.
Was
He
it,
was
no,
nominated.
wasn't he nominated for Copland?
He was,
Yes,
I
and he was
think.
nominated for
But-
Rocky.
But different
He
kind of
won
thing.
for Rocky.
He
won,
Rocky.
He got
but-
an Oscar for Rocky.
But when
That's
you
a
move to
different thing.
Creed, there is a lot more going on.
Yeah.
Him as an actor in Creed.
But this is the type of thing that Sylvester Stallone, and they proved it with Rocky.
They did.
That he excels at.
He does, and it's no, but it's also
And
one of those things like a lot
writing. Look, when you look at this, this
hold
is
on.
going back to Staying Alive. This is going back to Rocky and to all that. He's a brilliant writer when he stays within his
well, no,
own
but
neighborhood.
as an actor, he's better in Creed than he was in any other Rocky movie, and he's good in the Rocky movies.
That's
Right.
So if you go through Sylvester Stallone's career, people crap on him because some odd choices.
He
and
did
stuff.
he did
but
the
he's good in bad choices.
sure,
He's actually he's competent in everything he does.
I liked him in Oscar,
Yeah,
and that was
he's
a bad
competent
movie.
in things that are bad.
Yeah.
You look at it. You saw. We'll get to the worst films that we saw.
Yes.
And we'll get to one that you saw with Michael B. Jordan in it. I'm
Yes.
sure he's fantastic in that film.
He is, and
Because
and that's another one where I go like Michael B. Jordan. I could take or leave as an actor,
Mm-hmm.
and it's also one of those things where it's like, I want to see you do this kind of acting more often. It's when I always sort of joke. It's like I know this actor can act. I've seen him do it before, and this is Creed is the movie where it's like if you do a terrible movie after this, I'm going to know it's just your choice in movies that you do because I know
Right.
you can act and I know you can pick
Right.
good movies.
It's the whole Nick Cage.
Yeah, exactly. I know when
Just
Nick
need
Cage puts
paycheck,
his mind to
so-
it, he can act, but he doesn't.
It's Eddie.
just chooses not to
Why
because
am I
he's
not
lame.
on Reese's Pieces?
It's Eddie Redmayne.
Yeah.
Redmayne.
Redmayne. Yes.
But yeah, Creed
Everybody
good.
who's in Fantastic Four.
Yeah, Creed really a great movie that was a surprise because this is a movie that kind of went in like I've seen this movie before, but it's like I've seen this movie before.
Well, when I first saw the trailer, I'm like, oh, so they just remade Rocky V, except they made the kid black instead of his son, and that was kind of me going, this is or Rocky VI, whatever the hell it is, Adrian's Revenge,
Adrian's
Rocky V, Adrian's Revenge. That was kind of like my.
That was the joke of it.
That was the joke. When I first saw it, I'm like, oh god, they made another Rocky movie. But then immediately when people started seeing it, like this is you don't understand. This is a really good.
It's,
that's
yeah,
right.
and when you look at the lineage of Rocky, especially for the previous Rocky film, where he was destitute because his brain injuries led to him being very poor at money management. He lost his wife. He lost the love of his son because
That was the Rocky Balboa one.
yeah, and then it's him just like it's like hey,
Is that
like
5 or is it 6?
I think it's
Six.
It's 6.
God, did they make 7 Rocky movies?
No.
No, wait,
It
I think
was
that is
five.
They
5.
made 6
That-
Rocky
Balboa
movies
is
and a
5.
Creed movie.
Rocky Balboa is 5.
No,
Yeah.
it's 6. There's Rocky 5
Yeah, I think there
with,
is a Rocky
with
5.
the Tommy guy. The
That's the one
blonde-haired-
we're talking about.
No, then there's one after that, Rocky Balboa, which is
Okay, let's
technically
move
Rocky
on to
6.
Rich's list.
Yeah,
I'll look
that's
this up.
my top
That's right.
5. But
There was a Rocky Balboa after Rocky 5. Yes.
yeah, but Creed it was one of those movies that I would seeing the trailers before like didn't look bad, but that idea of like
Okay, so I'm
never
gonna
gonna go on a list.
I'm going to go 1 through 5 in order because I have a lot of movies that are like on my 5 that could have been within.
Yeah, but none of us have talked about that, so you don't do either.
We added those in. Like,
Yeah.
At
Yeah,
the
we-
end. We didn't.
We,
Right.
we know that number 5 is Guardians, and number 4 is Guardians, and number 3 is Guardians.
That was 2014.
You watched it more in 2015.
Okay, so
I went into IMDb.
So
and
there
I
was
changed
there
the
was
production date.
in my number 5 there was I forgot about Mad Max. I'd put Avengers there, Ant-Man, Inside Out. I hate to put it that low because actually I think it was a little bit better than maybe Jurassic World, but I had more fun watching Jurassic World than I did.
Do your 5. I'm not worried about your other.
So those would be in my top 5. I mean, those would be my asterisks to it.
it's
Yeah.
the
And
top
number-
it's the top 10
Right.
because you can't. It's,
So number
Your-
5
your
would be
honorable
list.
mention. Honorable mention.
Number 5 would be Inside Out. Number 4 is Kingsman. That was a really
I just saw it
really
this
good
week.
That was-
movie.
yeah, that was a fun movie.
good.
It was
It's
a
different.
That's exactly it. It was a spy movie, but it was different, and you
Action.
had fun through it.
So much.
And there were moments when it was really campy, but you still, and there were things in it that were kind of you were going, that's kind of cheesy.
It's also
but
shockingly violent.
Yes, but because of the film and you're having so much fun in it, it's one of those things where you can forgive those little flaws in it because of what you're seeing and getting the experience. I'm excited that they're making a part 2. The church scene that they did and the thing that was so violent was amazing.
Yeah.
Number 3, Jurassic World. Yeah, I mean, Chris pretty much summed that one up. It was fun. It took me back to Jurassic Park. It was exactly what I wanted.
Wholesome nostalgia.
It was what I'd always wanted with Jurassic Park, was to see the park open. And that was the one thing when Jurassic Park came out and they never got to that point with the movie or the franchise, as I wanted to see what it would have been like for people to go to the park. As somebody
My
that goes,
statement: if you make a 3.5-hour film of following a family go to Jurassic Park, I would watch it.
yeah, I mean,
Nothing bad happens. They just go to Jurassic
As
Park.
somebody that goes to Disneyland all the
It's a
time, and things
GoPro
like that.
movie of them going to Jurassic Park. It was 4 hours, Chris. Okay, but I'm still gonna watch it.
It was just it was fun. It was fun seeing the dinosaurs. It was fun. Even the campy explanations they gave for like why the dinosaurs look the way they do. It was still nice to have those little nods in there, and it was just a fun film all the way around. Number 2 is Tomorrowland. I loved this film. I thought it was an amazing film. I loved the premise of the film and the whole idea that the world that we live in now, because there's so much that we've embraced, apocalyptic type, scenarios, that it's such a great idea that somebody's pumping that into our heads to try to make us not do it. But as we are with Americans and humans, we embrace them instead of expel them. And I thought the whole thing of there is a better tomorrow. There's the exceptional people that there is a place for them. Is it's.
But how did they shoot all of it just in one tiny land in Disneyland? That's what I don't understand.
Even the
Takes a
Disneyland,
lot of work.
Yeah.
even the
A lot of
Disneyland
miniatures.
nods that they had in there, that you see tomorrow.
Dutch
You
angle.
see you see the
Do you see Star Tours?
no, you see Space Mountain in the background. The whole nod, the whole premise of that, the movie opens on
This is the World's
the
Fair.
World's Fair, and you get it's a small world ride, and then that's where it was an exciting movie that I don't think it ever got its due.
Yeah, you're never
Because it was
gonna-
actually different.
You're never going to see that film again.
Yeah. Oh no,
That type of film is dead.
I mean, even I like John Carpenter. I didn't go see that one in the
He
theater.
loved it so much that he doesn't remember the name. It's John Carter.
I said John Carpenter, didn't I?
I was like,
Say
Yeah,
John
John
Carpenter.
I don't remember the
John
John Carpenter
Carpenter's-
film.
John Carter.
John
Like,
Carpenter's
wait, John
Warlord
Carpenter's-
of Mars would be amazing.
Yes.
That's the sequel.
That's
That's
the
never
sequel.
going to happen.
And
Gee, I wonder what number 1 is.
of course, number 1 is Star Wars.
Guardians. Oh, it's Star Wars. Okay, we said enough about Star Wars. What I want to know: what's the worst film you saw?
Fantastic Four.
It's like it's seriously. It's like you hate your own time. Sebastian,
What?
what's the worst film you saw? It's like you hate your own free time. Like, oh, what am I going to do with today? I'm going to go see Fantastic Four.
Hey, I even went with Mikey to see.
Worst film of
Worst film you
this
saw
year
this
that I
year.
saw this year. I've seen it's a handful of movies.
All of them.
Star Wars.
That, I mean, like just
Just something you really thought like this is bad.
pure hate. I'm gonna be the odd man out and say Jurassic World.
Okay.
But in its defense, it's not a badly directed movie. The effects
No.
are really, really nice. But I'm also the kind of person who, like, with things that I love, I'm more than content to leave well enough alone.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's that the movie, whether or not
you weren't alone.
No, but whether or not the movie was self-conscious of the message it was sending, being very tongue-in-cheek, or if it was completely on accident, served to explain to the audience why the movie was not a necessary film, and that I think made me even more angry. It was the rare movie that, like, because again, it's not a poorly directed. I actually like the director a lot. I like the acting choices, but I sat there clutching the seat, going, "This piece of shit."
By the way, we are paying for a ticket to go see Ghostbusters, and we're putting a nightlight GoPro on your head, and I'm just going to watch
Just-
you react to that film
Oh,
the
that
whole
is-
time.
It's just a scene.
Put the body
So
cam.
doing
like,
that. The
I'd
body,
watch the
they
shit
won't let
out-
us do it, but there's got to be a way to do it because
Just-
that would be amazing.
No,
I
you're
would
also-
buy the
wait, guys,
ticket.
you're
That's what I'm saying.
would
We're,
just-
paying, we're
it would-
paying for the ticket.
It would be me rolling my eyes for 2 hours.
No,
It's
you
a
guys.
Clockwork Orange
No,
tonight.
you guys. You also have to put like the Clockwork Orange
Yep.
thing on his face so that he
Yeah,
doesn't.
Melissa McCarthy, no.
We're down to that.
Sean will be putting eye drops in.
Okay, so So you only saw 4 films. I guess the worst film would be whatever you put for number 4.
Well, no, I mean I've seen other movies this year, just not any ones that I'd put on my top 5.
What's the
That-
worst
that
movie you
came
saw
out
this year? Oh crap! You went to see Fantastic Four with him, didn't you?
No,
I didn't.
You saw Gem.
no, Ridiculous 6.
Aw.
That is the absolute.
That was
Oh,
that
worst.
Netflix
That's a
movie.
Netflix
Yeah.
movie, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it's
The Adam Sandler.
Absolutely.
Why did you watch that?
Because there's a little thing inside
Why?
me.
You
because-
didn't watch the Lego Movie.
Here's the thing.
I'm done. No, I'm done talking to you. I'm done. I'm done. Shauna, worst movie you saw this year?
Well, that came out this year.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I liked all like the 3 I watched this year. But am I allowed to hate a movie by proxy?
Yes.
All right.
I
okay.
guess.
All right, I'm gonna hate Jurassic World by proxy because okay, remember when we were in the Disney parking lot on Forest Friday and you were like, God, Jurassic World this, Jurassic World that, and I kind of got the hate. I kind of got the hate
And
for
your
that.
boyfriend saw Jurassic World, my friend Andrew,
exhausted by it.
and he texted me after he saw it, and he was just like, "Did you see this movie yet?"
Yeah,
it's like,
I
I saw this movie,
I felt the hate from him too. He's just like, oh my.
and he's like,
oh my god.
yeah, we're both like T-Rex nodding at a Velociraptor in acknowledgement of their victory.
Yeah, see-
Yeah,
Dude.
done.
See, that made me just kind
You
of
don't know how
like,
smart they are.
No, I don't know how smart they are, and I wish they would tell me why they were so smart.
yeah, like
Genetics.
hearing about that scene was enough to just kind of make me go, I'm done.
Okay, Mikey, worst film that you saw, which is probably the same as
It's
mine.
a tie between Crimson Peak and Woman in Black 2.
Oh wow, let's
Woman
do
in
it.
Black 2 was my first movie of the year, and it sucked.
Which one? What the hell was that?
That was the sequel to
the Daniel
yeah.
Radcliffe.
The first movie was really good.
Yeah, I heard that
Boy.
too. But
Huh.
this one was just
The worst film I saw in the
wasn't
theater was Terminator Genesis.
I was gonna say that. I knew that.
Absolutely.
I didn't go see Terminator
terrible.
Genesis. That just looked.
You-
I'm the kind of person like it's like I know this movie's going to be bad and I don't go see it, but I heard so much good stuff about Jurassic World that I went to go see it and
Yeah.
walked away like.
Terminator Genesis was like last year was Transformers, where we kind of knew, but we just
I didn't completely hate Genesis though.
I
had
That
the
is
more
true.
and more that I
is
walked
true,
away
'cause
from
Mikey
Genesis,
walked out
I
of that.
hated it.
Mikey came
I had no
up.
problem with
Mikey told me, he goes, you know, it was. You got to see it. It's not that bad. You know, you can see it in the theater. You know, at least if you're going to see it, you got to see
When
it.
I walked out of it, I didn't hate it as much as I hated it about
You.
a week later.
You were just
Within like a week, I knew, because there's 3 things that I hate about that film. One is Emilia Clarke. Is Emily Clark or Amelia Clark? What is it?
Amelia.
It's
Emilia
Amelia Clarke.
Clarke.
Worthless. Absolutely worthless.
well. You said she was a horrible actress after that.
She's a horrible actress. She's great as Daenerys. She's never allowed to do anything ever again. Because she is terrible. Absolutely terrible. The only thing worse than her is Michael J. Courtney is in this. Or Jai Courtney. Whoever the hell that guy is. That man is a marshmallow rock that absolutely... Your couch that you built yourself has better acting chops than that dude. That guy's terrible.
But didn't you love him in Spartacus?
No.
Was he in
God,
Spartacus?
Spartacus? No.
The TV show.
He was in... He's in that stupid Divergent series. He's the bad
He was,
guy.
I think he's in the Spartacus TV show,
Maybe,
the Star
I
Wars
don't know. I
one.
never saw it.
what character was he in?
I thought it was the friend with the kid. He gets kidnapped, or was that Rome?
No,
I
I
think
think
it's
it's Rome.
So
There
that
was
was
no
the second
friend
thing.
with
But
the
the
kids.
best part.
There were no kids in
The best part of
Spartacus.
how terrible that film is, because of Michael J. Courtney, is all of the text I was getting from Stacy about how terrible he was. It's like this is the most untalented human being on the planet. He would, pillars are better actors than he. I mean, it was just like text after text. She just hates him.
Yes, he's in Spartacus. the
And then
show.
one thing I hate about it more than anything else is all of Arnold Schwarzenegger lines are lines from other Terminator films.
Oh yes, okay.
It's
Yes.
it's pandering in the
It's
worst
yeah,
way.
yeah.
It was all pandering in
That's
the
what
worst
it looked
way.
like.
They had a chance to make a decent, fun film. I actually liked the idea in the middle of the film where they're trying to explain why these timelines don't work anymore.
They just
And
give up.
John Connor's just like, I think we just exist outside of space time. Whatever, let's fight. I mean, that's almost the exact line, and I love that. It's Jurassic World's line. Like, I never made real dinosaurs. I just
Yeah.
threw a bunch of chicken soup in there and out popped this Velociraptor that doesn't have feathers and it's way too big.
Did
Here
you like the
go.
Raptors and Good Dinosaur?
Even a cat's a monster to a
Yeah.
mouse.
The
Okay,
Raptor's
so-
a good dinosaur, because again, Good Dinosaur is despite its interesting production design choices, very much harkening back to like Gertie the Dinosaur, lots of 1920s,
Yeah, there's a
30s
lot of
cartoons.
because it's also
they still did their best to make them accurate, and Jurassic World didn't have an excuse
but
not
they
to.
also, because I have the art book and reading, it's like, how do we imagine? We got to remember the comet misses.
Yes.
This is millions of years in the future.
Well, it says that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's millions of years in the future. So they would have evolved to this sort. The idea is when the comet comes over, the dinosaurs are still just dinosaurs,
Right.
And then they become sentient beings that go through. Anyway,
No, I get
so
that.
that's Terminator Genesis, the worst film.
Okay.
Shauna.
I
Would
would
already
have.
had hers.
Yeah.
It's Jurassic World by
Oh, that's
proxy.
right. Brad
Yeah, but
Proxy.
I would. Terminator Genesis did not look good
Okay,
at
so
all.
here's our top 5. We have Star Wars as number 1, Inside Out and Mad Max is number 2, and then number 3 it gets to be number 3 gets to be Spectre.
That's everything that got 2 votes then.
Yeah, everything that got
So
2
that's a
votes.
lot- that's a lot
There's
of
a lot of
films.
them, and then everything else is
Ant-Man.
yeah.
And everything
Um,
else is my case.
And Sebastian had pretty
The
much
only
all.
one that hadn't ended up with a clear cut winner was Star Wars, and it had 4 votes.
Well, yeah, because
I feel bad not putting Mad Max on there though. That was a damn good movie.
They
they
won-
also
yeah.
had to put Sicario on there. So
Yeah.
you're in trouble, dude.
Okay, so
There's 2
Um,
great movies, especially Charlize Theron. She could act her ass off in anything. I'm surprised,
And that's some ass to act out.
yeah,
but she's another actress, or in general, that just knows what movies to pick. I mean, apart from blasting it just bad movie Prometheus.
Huntsman.
Oh yeah, she was in Huntsman, but
That
she was
movie
still
was
good
so-
in that
she
though.
was
Well,
good.
that's the thing.
That
Prometheus
movie's
is
not
something
good.
that I think fails at what it accomplished, but the attempt is not. without its merit.
The attempt is not without its merit,
The
but it's
actors are good.
definitely
Look,
yeah.
The Huntsman
Oh yeah,
too is
everybody in that
Bender,
movie. Was,
Haas, yeah.
Oh, the Huntsman was terrible.
The Huntsman
Yeah.
Part 2, they got rid of the one character.
Well, they got rid of Snow White.
Yeah,
The Huntsman was one of those films like we went to see it and about halfway through it going,
It's
I don't know. This is bad.
What is
There's
this
no,
movie?
there's no grip. There's no nothing.
okay. Here's the
All
top
well,
5.
I also feel bad putting that the Twilight actress against Charlize Theron. She just
Wow.
can't emote next to someone who can actually act.
I love the fact that Kristen Stewart was giving Daisy Ridley tips about being famous. Yeah, at this point.
Don't listen to her.
I know.
Daisy, do not listen.
Well, being famous is something she knows about. Like not wanting to be famous, but being famous. Kristen Stewart knows that as well as
Yeah.
anybody else.
Okay, so here's the top 5 video games according to IGN.
Oh God, this is gonna be quick.
Number 1, Metal Gear Solid 5. Number 2, Witcher 3.
Never heard of it.
Number 3, Bloodborne.
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 Oh God.
Would you like to
Bloodborne. Awesome
Number
game.
4, Fallout 4. Number 5, Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Interesting.
yeah,
'Cause
that-
especially
that's
it's an
interesting.
exclusive. Wait, was that by
Wait,
money or
Fallout
by
4?
reviews?
That's their pick as their top 5.
so that's their time. That's
Who's
just
pick?
whatever.
Yeah,
IGN's. That's a
Okay.
review pick.
That's
What's the
the-
Metacritic
yes.
score on that? What's Metacritic say?
You know
for
what? I
video
didn't.
games?
I didn't do the Metacritic. Shauna, played any video games this year?
The only one I played was Battlefront.
And what'd you think of it?
Well, it's
That's
fu-
it
like,
right
it's,
there.
It's,
Just,
it's, it's
well.
fun. It's fun. It's fun, but I have my problems with it. I have some problems with it.
It's fun, but it's not fun enough.
Chris, any video games?
Crossy Road, Bejeweled Blitz, a lot of word foo that's like 3 years old.
A lot of Tomb Zoom. I can't believe Eric hasn't got you playing Tomb Zoom yet.
No, God no.
What is it?
I'm not even doing that stupid
it's-
cat thing that's all over the place
yeah,
now.
I'm playing Neko Atsume. That's like my favorite
Oh
game
my
this
God!
year. Oh
It's
my
not
God.
a game.
It is
You
a
just
game.
sit there and wait for cats to show up. Francis
It's a
showed me
game.
that. Francis showed me that. Robert, is just staring at it, going, "This is the most amazing thing ever." And I'm listening to the two of them talk about it. Like, no, you just put treats out, and then cats come, and they leave you dead fish, and you can use the fish to buy treats to have more cats.
Yeah, and then you get rare cats depending on what depending on what
Stop it!
what
Just
items you
just
put out
stop
with
it.
the
I
cat.
love you. I
So
love you to the
anyway-
ends of the earth.
That's how
Huh?
I feel.
What is the thing that you said?
What?
Zoom? Whatever the.
Tomb Zoom.
Oh, I played a lot of that too. It's
What the
really
hell is
cute.
that? There you go.
It's the cutest thing. It's
It's,
the
you know,
cutest
there's
It's
a-
thing.
basically like Bejeweled,
But
but
cuter.
with the little
Disney
It would be like my
characters.
top 5 that I would want to play.
Oh,
It would be
it's
like
those
Jurassic
stupid
Jurassic
things.
Park
Yeah,
Lego.
Okay, so Ethan,
this,
any?
that.
Even though the first episode came out December of 2014, I'm going to say the Telltale's Game of Thrones.
That's good. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay, how about Sebastian?
I got my list here. So for games, Witcher 3, awesome. Metal Gear Solid 5 would be the number 1 for me. Transformers Devastation, which I played, is amazingly fun. It's made by the same team who did Bayonetta games.
That's all cell shaded, right?
Yeah, but it's the '80s designs for the
Yes.
Transformers. It's the '80s voice actors for the
It's the
Transformers.
Gen
It's
1.
all Gen 1,
Yeah,
and it's
that's cool.
really fast paced, really really fun.
Yes.
Halo 5 and Super Mario Maker.
Ooh.
Yeah, I could see you enjoying that.
Okay, so
And it's a good game because not only is it fun to make your own Mario levels, but they sort of use the template of how they originally created the first Mario games as sort of the way they teach you to make game design. I thought it was really, really cool.
I only have 3 because I only got around to playing 3 games this year. Lego Jurassic World
That's why I don't have a next gen system.
that was so much fun. I enjoy playing that. You get to go over all of the different parks. It's any of the Lego games are fun to play. Battlefront I put as number 2, just because it's one of those games where I can pick it up and just if I want to play for a half hour, 45
You
minutes.
pick it
whatever.
up to pay for stuff. You know,
What?
you can pick it up and pay for stuff. You know.
It's one of those. And then the Master Chief Collection. What's the other one?
Yeah, and for PC stuff, Stranded Deep, really fun island survival game where you're stranded on an island. You got to build your own shelter and stuff like that. And there's really no
like
end.
this.
There's no end game to it.
Yeah.
But it's really just it sort of takes the idea of like, oh, you get to just survive because you can starve to death and dehydrate and stuff. So it's kind of just like, oh, you're castaway, but
Yeah.
that's it. You can be attacked by sharks in the water.
And they're really spooky, and they got that weird ambient music.
Yeah, they
and-
play really good ambient music. And then
The bird is
I got
more
Chroma Squad for
delicious.
Christmas, which is great. Especially you, Ethan. It's basically it's an RPG, but it's like an 8-bit style RPG that's like, oh, what if you're shooting like a Power Rangers or a Super Sentai show, and you sort of make your way through the idea of like an episode or a season as just a RPG, even though like it's all actors, and so it's really really fun.
That's cool. Okay, top 5 comic books. This is here's the top 5 comic books according to Comic Book Resources. They have Saga as number 1, Miss Marvel number 2,
Okay.
March Book 2 as number 3, Star Wars number 4, and number 5, Unbeatable Squirrel Girl.
Now, again, is this sales or their
No,
own
that's,
list?
that's definitely not sales.
No, that's not sales.
The
That's
sales is Star
Star
Wars,
List.
Secret Wars, Secret Wars, Secret Wars, Secret
Wars.
Wars.
Yes,
and
that-
Walking Dead.
That is
No,
their
it's not even
that
close.
Not really for
For the same, the Walking Dead's a trade comic.
yes.
interesting.
The single issue sales on that are nothing compared.
No,
to like,
no,
what
the
Secret
trades are
Wars
always
is.
bigger, but
And
Walking
obviously
Dead's
Star
always
Wars
sort of
with
the
all the-
top,
the
and Batman's
crazy-
always
yeah.
the top too.
Okay, Shauna, comic books.
All right, so the 2 I read from last. I read 2 from last year, but there were others that I really, really, really wanted to get to. Like I really enjoyed Miss Marvel and Paper Girls, which like I,
Oh,
want, I
yeah.
wish
Flip
like,
chain.
I
I can
really,
totally see you.
Great
I
art.
really-
Paper Girls, yeah, is really
I
fun.
I really like Paper Girls.
Now, see, for me, I
It's a shame you
misunderstood
don't know
'cause
anybody who works on
Miss
comic
Marvel
books.
came out
Right.
in 2014 is when it first started, so I
Yeah.
just sort of kept my
Yeah.
list of 2015 releases.
well,
I just
well,
did what I
technically
read
more
in
came out in
2015.
That's
2015.
what-
I didn't. Because
enough.
as long as it had issues in 2015.
Yeah.
That's when okay.
That's all.
Yeah, I did like new stuff for this year. So.
Yeah.
And then like I really wanted to get around to like I actually bought these and I never got around to reading them. Dark Knight 3,
Go like
and
that.
see Captain America White, and I really wanted. Excuse me. Thank you. And I really want to get around to reading all the Star Wars comics because I collected them, but I never got around to reading them.
Right.
And they'll show you have Marvel Unlimited like I do, so they'll show up there. They've already started showing up, I think.
They should. 'cause
Yeah,
you're
they-
past 6
That's
months.
6 months
Oh,
in.
yeah.
And what I like to do is like to go to Disneyland and they have the comic books there, and I get a pass holder discount. That's where I buy all my comic books.
What about manga? Because I mean that's comics.
Oh yes. Well, the thing is, yeah, I've been reading. Yeah, I have been reading a lot of manga. Well, I've been reading Hajime no Ippo, and that's been out for like 10 years, like 20 years already.
So my favorite new hobby is to look at Shauna and her friend Lauren's Facebook posts. I don't understand a word of it because it's not in Japanese, but it might as well
Might
be
as
in
well be.
Japanese.
yeah, it's like all this shit that she tags me in.
But it's all you mentioned Hajime no Ippo, and that's a book that's been around for at least a decade.
Yeah, it's been
but
around
it's
since, like the
it's-
early 90s.
Yeah, but it's come back around. I remember reading some of it with Andrew and Ryan
like it's
like
all, no,
like
it's,
5-6 years ago, and it's finally kind of looped back in the consciousness of people.
yeah, like
That's-
it's not. Yeah, it's already like in the, like it's already like over 1,000 chapters long. It's,
So yeah, it's supposed for listeners who don't know, like manga in general is like while it tends to have the length of American comics, they tend to have like a shortened time frame because usually it's the same creator working on it, They don't give up on it, or when they do stop, that's usually it. They don't hand it off to anyone, or very rarely they do. But they put out, the equivalent of a 22-page comic that they usually will write and draw themselves, or they'll have a team, but they'll do it weekly. So when Hajime no Ippo is 1,000+ chapters, is because they've been doing 22 or 48-page stories every week
Yeah,
for a decade.
yeah, it's freaking insane.
Versus when like Superman is like, oh, it's 700 issues. It took you 75 years to get to 700 issues.
And they're going to throw that all away.
It took a guy 10 years to get to 1,000 issues of his book. Come on, guys, keep up.
What
keep
is
up.
that man's quality of life?
That is his.
I'm
life.
allowed to go outside 1 minute a day.
You read Hajime no Ippo? You read anything else for manga this year?
Oh yeah, Shokugeki no Soma.
That's a great one.
Like those are
Bless you.
that's a really oh.
Wait. Say that one again. I like it.
Shokugeki no Soma.
I love the way
How
it
have you,
says that.
have you
It's loosely
taken
trans.
any Japanese courses?
I took one semester of Japanese.
Oh, okay.
And
'Cause,
the-
you rattle that off really quickly and really
And
well.
I
Yeah.
also watch a lot of anime, and it's to the point.
And we'll come
yeah,
back
so
to
there
that
you
for
go.
TV.
Yeah, it's like the only TV I watch.
But yeah, Shokugeki's actually. I did not put that on my list, but that's really fun. It's basically. Food Wars is the American name for it,
Okay.
and it's like a school.
Wait, I can describe this. Okay.
Go.
Food orgasms. The
Yes, there are
series.
food orgasms
Literal
in the
food
book.
orgasms.
Literal food
And
orgasms
it's
in the book.
It's so lewd and
Is it like-
amazing, and I want to eat everything.
It's so nude and
Is it
amazing.
like a
Lewd,
fried
I
chicken
said
wing
lewd.
just pops out?
No,
No,
we'll show you some
we'll-
clips
no, we'll get-
afterwards.
no,
Audience,
yeah.
you go to
See,
YouTube,
this
you
is-
look it up, you go
This
have
is
some
the thing,
fun.
as I've gotten no Shona. This veneer just doesn't. It's just the inside is just so different. It's so weird and it's so crazy.
Sorry.
Oh, no, don't be sorry.
Okay, Chris,
I love it.
your top 5 comic books.
My number 5. Well, originally, I had Secret Wars, and then I threw it out for a miniseries that actually started and finished this year. Oak Kill Strike, which if you read anything in the '90s, any book in the '90s at all, this is the book to read.
It's hilarious.
Because it is
It's amazingly fun.
so hilarious, and it's poignant for people who read comics in the '90s. The very beginning of it, the premise of it, is there's a gentleman who has a copy of Oak Kill Strike #1, which is loosely based off of, well, to protect, let's say, Lob Reifeld. It's so terrible that
We should
so
say
many
your
people,
buddy.
so many people destroyed it that it's now the most sought after comic in the world because there's so few copies that are still in existence. And he has a copy and he thinks he's going to sell it for all this money. And one of the best lines in it is as he's explaining this, what the 90s was. There's all these comics and they were all terrible and we bought all of them and then we all got rid of them and his wife looks at, if you hate this so much, why do you love it? And it's perfect. It's everybody like
That's
me
your line that got
who
you hooked,
got
right?
into everybody like me who got into comics in the 90s and absolutely loved them and then had to listen to everybody in the 2000s bash how terrible the 90s were. And there's god-awful comics in the 90s. And there's good god-awful comics in the 90s as well. That line, I'm like, that's it. I hate it so much, I love it so. Or I love it so much, I hate it.
Right.
That sort of thing. And it's shockingly funny. The character the character in the book comes to life and sets this guy off on this quest to reconcile with his father. It's amazing. Number 4 was Airboy. James Robinson's incredibly honest, brutal, and just fascinating deconstruction of himself
Right.
as a creator.
That's
And
cool.
he bashes himself, he bashes DC, he bashes Marvel, he bashes the comic book industry as a whole. It's a fascinating tale of him and an artist who's the artist in the book, who all of a sudden escapes my memory. They're hired to do Airboy, which is this pulp character from like the 70s and 80s. Chuck Dixon did a long run of Airboy, who fights like super Nazis in the 1940s and 50s because the war doesn't end. Yada yada yada.
It's like a
That-
quasi-Rocketeer.
Yeah, so this character comes
Right.
to life too, much like Oak Kill Strike. The character comes to life, and they go through this crazy adventure. It's incredibly lewd. It's incredibly dirty, but it's also the most honest thing I read. And when the Eisners come, I guarantee this is going to be in all of those categories because it's basically James Robinson going, I'm an asshole. I lost my wife. I lost most of my career. Here's why, and it's all on the page, and it's brilliant.
That's good.
Yeah,
I
it's
like
it's partly autobiographical. His drug use.
It's not partly. It is him. It's him through this. I mean, the stuff that he says about I wrote Starman, and everybody loves me for Starman, and now everyone's telling me that's the only good thing I've ever written. So I believed my hype for Starman, and I just kind of went out there and went, eh. It's funny reading it. I saw Jeff Loeb at CSUN. He did a symposium there, and one of the things Jeff Loeb talked about is when he got to Hollywood, he sold Commando very quickly,
Right.
and he thought he was hot shit, and he was terrible, and he kept going, and people were like, "You suck." No, I don't. I sold Commando. So that was 4 years ago. You know, and he's very honest about it now, where he said, "I believed my own hype. I tried to shortcut everything, and what have you." This book is the same thing when James Robinson's talking about it. Number 3, I put Starfire. Starfire is everything that the Harley book should be and is not.
Okay.
It is absolutely gorgeous. Emmanuel Lupacino has done every issue so far, which is shocking. His art is beautiful in so many different ways. The coloring is gorgeous. It is a book that doesn't necessarily have that, I'm a villain. It's Starfire trying to figure out how to live in South Florida. There's a hurricane. There is an evil villain that comes. It reminds me so much of Amanda Conner's Power Girl, which is one of my favorite comics. And it's just a comic that exists as a comic, and it does really well. Starfire is my underrated. Everyone should read this book. It's probably going to get canceled, but it's amazing. Number 2, Jason Aaron's Thor / Mighty Thor. The change in, again, a book that started all the way back in Marvel Now. Ends, we have female Thor. It just started up again. Great story. It's something that people will claim to be an agenda or whatever. Jason Aaron has said, this is where I was going the whole time.
Yeah.
Thor was always going to lose the hammer, and Character X was going to pick it up. It's not totally out there, so I'm not going to spoil it for everybody, but this is it's
at
a
this
natural
point,
progression.
It's been out long enough.
Yeah, but there's people that will go back and read the trade that haven't read it.
That's true.
The art is fantastic. Russell Daterman is really, really, really good.
Except for Loki's pube chins, right?
Yeah.
According to Francis.
Chin pubes?
Jim
Yeah,
Pubes.
chin pubes.
Pubes chin. Each pube has a
whatever.
chin.
And then by number 1, I'm surprised by Comic Book Resource's pick of Star Wars, because I think Darth Vader is a far superior comic
Yeah.
to Star Wars.
Yeah,
I
I
like
was
Jason Aaron's Star Wars. The tone in Jason Aaron's Star Wars is very, very good.
It's gotten better.
It's gotten a lot better.
That because
But what-
a
look,
lot of people that first issue.
Have you read past when John Cassidy stopped?
No.
John Cassidy held that book back. Wait till you get to Stuart Immonen's art. Stuart Immonen is a fantastic Star Wars artist.
I think
his
the last one I
characters
read
look
was
more.
10.
10 is it. You've got Stuart Immonen
Okay.
in there. Trust me. Go back and read it, because I read 6 through 11 or 6 through 12 in one shot.
See,
And
most people
really
had
good.
trouble with Star Wars, and I've had a couple people come up to me now and tell me this and it was the same thing that I said, that if it happened, I was probably going to drop it, and I ended
It's
up
Travis.
not. Yeah,
It's Travis's problem that there's too many things.
Well,
Look,
no, it's the first encounter with Darth Vader and Luke
yes,
Skywalker.
it takes away a lot if you're going to put that in there. But the thing is, read it as a comic book. Don't
Right.
read it as this is the prelude to Empire. Read
but
it as
but
a
they
comic,
still they
and
did a
that's
good
it.
job. They did a good job with that encounter, not to give too much away and not to take
Go
away.
back and read the Marvel ones between those two.
Right.
Luke and Vader end up in every third issue.
Oh, yeah.
For a while. So, but for me, Darth Vader is much better because
It's a stronger
it's
comic.
very. One, Salvador LaRocha is a fantastic artist, and he did all of the issues. We've had 12 issues this year. Kieran Gillen is one of my favorite writers for these type of characters. A villain that isn't a villain, but is a villain. There's a lot of intrigue in this book. Darth Vader is trying to build a personal army under the noses of the Empire. You have 3 new characters in Afra and her 2 droids, which are
They're
brilliantly
amazing.
terrible.
Yes.
Just horrible,
The
horrible
two
people.
droids, the two
or
droids
beings,
are
or whatever you want to call them. But
amazing.
really, really well done. And leads into, well, I guess it'd be still 2015. Leads into Vader Down, a natural crossover that's done very, very well. So
But even the
my number
crossovers
one-
that they've done, because they ran parallel.
they ran parallel. They're really, I mean, there's little pieces, but in terms
Yes.
of a true crossover, it isn't until Vader Down. But as a big Star Wars fan, this is a great Star Wars comic.
Yes.
Kanan, great Star Wars comic, and Lando. If you guys did not read Lando by Charles Soule and Alex Mayleaf, oh my god! And especially if you like me absolutely love Lobot, you have to read Lando,
Oh yeah.
and you have to read the end.
Well, I'll get to that
The
with
end
my
of
list.
Lando is going to break your heart.
Yes. I'll get that to my list. Mikey.
Number 5, I have Justice League, Dark Side War, only because I read the first 6 issues of Justice League, a little bit of Trinity War, and that's pretty much it.
No,
but
you're
I
on
love
board. You're on
Darkseid.
board for the good stuff.
No, I know. I love Darkseid. I love the New Gods, that whole deal. And the Green Lantern crossover was okay, but didn't really serve too much of a purpose besides bringing them all back into play. Number 4 is Saga. Still a great story, gorgeous art. Number 3, Ms. Marvel. Again, same good story, same small town feel of a comic. She's not spreading herself too thin, and it's not part of the larger Avengers world. That's the all new, all different Avengers comic that's out now. Number 2, Deadly Class. Still a great, just anarchic book. And number 1 is Harrow County. It's the new Lock and Key for me. So good,
That's interesting.
scary.
Harrow County came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a book I hadn't heard anything about. Then all of a sudden, a bunch of people came out on a Wednesday like, "Do you have Harrow County? Do you have Harrow County?" I'm like, what the hell are
Good
you
art.
talking
Gotta
about?
go to
It's
eBay.
just creepy.
Yeah.
Huh.
Deadly Class is one of those books that I feel like I should like, but I couldn't get through the first issue.
The layouts are awesome.
It's a
And
gorgeous
just
See,
looking
my,
book.
my problem is with a lot of those books, and I was telling Ethan and Mikey this when they handed me my stack. Thank
You're
you for I need to get back into the shop.
Yes, you do, because there's a whole bunch of comics out there that you're not pulling.
Yeah, exactly. Ethan, besides Walking Dead,
Walking Dead and Walking Dead. You're not buying anything
Well,
else, are you?
they canceled my other 2 books, so yeah, pretty much Walking Dead's the only one.
all right, Sebastian.
So it's top 5 of the last 5 comics of Walking Dead.
There you go.
So I just did 2015 specific books, but
Okay.
I will echo Paper Girls, amazing.
That's a 2015 book.
Yeah, no, but it wasn't on my list. But Shauna picked up Paper Girls, and I was reading it off to the side. Really, really good. Even the main character is kind of a brat, but she's like a lovable brat, and
They all are. In that
yeah, they are, and
yeah.
they're characters you love to hate because you see so much of like, all youths are like this, and the youths,
Well, Paper Girls is one of those books that's also that
and it's just so good because
you
again,
put out there
it's
those
so well
titles
written.
that you want to get girls interested in,
Yeah,
and this is becoming one of those titles
And
that
it's a huge nostalgic.
Yeah,
too.
it's-
It gets
yeah.
the girls that are
It's also the fact that
our
it's-
age. It's our generation.
yeah, it's
Yes.
the late
It's-
'80s, early
yeah,
'90s.
but it's not a
I
book
wasn't
that's
even born yet.
over. Stop. Stop making us feel old. It's not a book that's like. It doesn't feel like it's trying to be self-important.
no,
Right.
no.
Like
That's
sometimes when I read Saga or especially something like Bitch Planet, halfway through Bitch Planet, I'm like, I don't know.
Everybody complains about Bitch Planet and how
Yeah.
Alex DeCampi's Grindhouse isn't getting the love.
Yeah, or Cluster. Cluster from Boom is amazing.
yes,
A
that is
really good
another
sci-fi
good
book. That, I mean, you want a book where the female protagonist is flawed but also super strong.
Yeah, Cluster
You know,
is
Cluster
another.
is so good.
Yeah,
And if you get a chance, pick up Venus.
I want to check out Venus.
Venus was really
Okay.
good. I was shocked.
Yeah,
by how
Cluster
good it
really
was.
good. Paper Girl's not on my list if we're gonna go for strong female characters who are flawed, but I like flawed characters,
yes.
and they're just so well written. Just like everything about those books are so good. Killstrike, awesome. But my list that I sort of like, okay, books that were like 2015 specific.
Right.
Superman, American Alien, because I like a really good Superman story. And again, as much as
Better hope Greg Pak or Mac Landis writes it.
right, Max Landis is a dick, but he's the kind of guy who's like, here's how I think Superman should be written, and this is why I think Superman should be written. Everyone's like, okay, buddy, whatever. Then he comes out with that great Superman Joker story, and everyone's like, holy shit. You know,
Not
he
only
put-
because it's a Superman story, but that's one of the best Joker stories.
It's
you
one of the
read,
best
because
Joker
it just
stories as well.
destroys
And again,
the fandom of Joker.
yeah,
That
It's
cult-
like, why
all
do
that
people
cult
like
person-
you?
Exactly. It's so pretty. He just like Greg Pak. He takes Superman and makes him into Superman.
Right.
Superman of look, he's better than everybody else. Accept it. And so he's sitting there looking at the Joker, going, "Why does anybody think you're cool?
Yeah.
You just go out and murder people. Who cares?
Right.
That's not. You know.
That's
It's,
something-
it's almost like if you read behind the dialogue, it's like, at least my villain in Lex Luthor really has a complex sort of. He's fighting against his xenophobia.
yes.
You know, he's trying to save the Earth from me because he thinks I'm going to destroy it. I can kind of I can get on Lex's level and I kind of understand where you're at. You're just running around with a big grin, killing people for no reason. Why does anybody like you? Like, you're reading, going, if you're a big Joker fan, don't read that
It's a
story because he's
super-
basically telling you you're an idiot.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's a huge meta commentary, but I think American Alien is another. It's his commentary on what they've tried to do with the Superman. It's sort of when he did his little documentary about sort of the '90s Superman film and everything that they've done through that, and his echoing his complaints about Man of Steel. And it's just another one of those like, oh, you think you can do a better Superman origin story, Max Landis? Yeah, okay, whatever. And then he's like, you know what? I will.
It's like the PG-13 version of Superman for All Seasons.
Right, it is, and he because he brings the idea that Clark and Superman, Clark is the real person, Superman is the mask, because he was raised as Clark Kent.
Right.
But he's a flawed character, but he's a character who, while he knows of his strengths, also knows of the restraints and the responsibilities that come with it. And his tempered attitude makes him Superman. The idea that I feel like the book echoes the one line, like in one of the last episodes of Justice League Unlimited, when he's fighting Darkseid, and he's like, the world around me is cardboard and tissue paper. I have to be careful with everything I do. And you get to watch a kid grow up into Superman in a way that is what a kid would have to go through to temper.
It's the struggle to do everything right.
Yes, that's exactly
is
right.
Greg Pak's. What I love about Greg Pak when he writes Superman is that idea that Superman has to be perfect at all times, because if he isn't, he's immediately the villain.
Right.
That's why I never liked Grant Morrison's Action Comics run, because I'm reading it going, he's too close to being the villain.
Right. Versus his All-Star Superman, which to me is the greatest Superman story ever written. Because he writes Superman as the idea, like, he had this great quote about, like, the idea, the sort of the formation of Superman for All Seasons. He was at a comic convention, and he was walking with Mark Waid, and he saw a Superman cosplayer, a guy who looked like Superman, built like Superman, in a great cosplay, sitting, off to the side, his arms around his legs, and the guy was just, relaxing at a convention,
Right.
just watching people, and Grant Morrison leaves the convention, and he sees the guy, and he's like, that's Superman. If nothing can hurt you, if you don't have to tense against blows, why do people always write Superman as having to be brooding or dark? You would be relaxed. You would be zen. And he sort of ascribes the idea that Superman in his adult form is very much like a Buddha, he's a guy who can see the micro universe, he can see the macro universe, he can go into space, he can survive anything. Why are people drawing him with his arms akimbo, eyes glowing? You don't need to be angry if you're Superman.
Right.
Landis's Joker Superman story.
Yes.
Same thing.
Yeah, and exactly, Joker's trying to get a rise out of Superman, and Superman's like, this isn't.
Yeah, when people
This
talk
means
about
nothing to
Superman
me.
and Batman, like, what's the difference? And now I'd say that in the case of Superman, Clark Kent's the real person, Superman's the mask.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
in Bruce Wayne, Batman is the real person, Bruce Wayne is the mask. So, yeah, I love the first two issues of American Alien, and I can't wait to read more.
It's because you get to it's a good sort of like, it's the grounded Superman everyone wants to see, but the only way you can really do Superman grounded is to watch him grow into Superman, which I think is what Smallville tried to accomplish but didn't do very well. But this book does, because you get to watch a kid who has to make the mistake of destroying a barn by sneezing on accident.
Right.
And sort of,
It's got that same idea as Superman for All Seasons, but in this case, it's more of a struggle.
Well, it's kind of like, not that they're doing an overly great job with it, but Supergirl, the TV series, is kind of doing that.
Yeah.
She
and it kind of, but it's doing it in the TV sort of way.
Exactly. I mean, they can't do the comic.
It's hard, but it's also hard on TV where there's like a formula for television, and Superman American Alien feels very. I don't want to go experimental, but I kind of feel like this is a Superman story that only comes out once every decade.
Sure.
A decade ago,
different artists for each book.
Yeah,
makes it feel very different.
Yeah, you had Superman for All Seasons, and then you had All-Star Superman, and now you've got American Alien to add to that once a
If you want to
decade.
go all the way back to the early '90s or '80s, you took Death of Superman.
Death
too,
of
because
Superman
so much
is
of it was about
the world
death
without
of that
him.
ideal. Yeah,
Right.
the death of the ideal and
Well,
what
I
you
mean,
would sacrifice.
Superman's been around so long, and it's such a iconic character that it's hard to write a new, original, compelling story. And it takes the
Again.
right artist,
But I think that's
what I love about Greg Pak. screw originality. I'm going to write a really good. That people would say I can't write a Superman story. I can't write a compelling Superman story, and DC kept hiring them to write Superman.
Right.
Like, well, you can't tell the same. We got to get away from the base. We got to do something new. Those aren't the people who write Superman. Greg Pak comes in and is like, how about we just make him Superman?
Yeah.
Why don't we make him the best? Like Grant Morrison writing Superman. You talk about Grant Morrison with All Star. My introduction to the DC universe, really as a whole, was Grant Morrison's JLA.
Mm-hmm.
The second long arc in which the Angel host comes down to Earth to destroy it because Zariel has taken refuge on Earth. There's a very poignant moment where Superman and Flash are having this conversation in the trophy room, and Superman's just like, everyone thinks I'm the greatest thing that ever. I can't. This is crazy. I can't live up to this.
Right.
This is. Later, he's wrestling Asmodel, who is the head of the Angel host, and Wally is looking at him, going, "This is the guy who thinks he couldn't live up to his reputation. He's wrestling an Angel." Right there, I'm in. Grant Morrison got Superman. The Superman in that, brilliant. Same thing he did for All Star. Just a Superman who is Superman. You take every superpowered character. There's a line in JLA later where they're talking about Martian Manhunter, and Superman kind of turns like, he's more powerful than I am. He's just as strong as I am. He has flight. He also has telepathy, and he has density control. He's more powerful than I am. Well, why isn't he better than you? Because I'm Superman. My determination is better. My will is better. Johns wasn't willing to give up the rest of his life in order to do these sort of things. So anyway,
Yes.
Yeah.
we got
Okay.
away from your list.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I like a good discussion on Superman because everyone always says it's too hard to write Superman, and Grant Morrison's like, no, Superman is easy to write because
But see,
he's a metaphor for us.
If you
he's-
write Superman as Superman, you can do it. It's like if you're trying to write Batman, but you're trying to write it as Bruce Wayne, it's not going to
right?
be.
Yeah. 'cause-
Oh no, I get worried. But it's the key to Superman is his his supporting cast. The key to his vulnerability is his supporting cast. The key to his vulnerability is humanity as a whole.
Right.
Yes.
Cause,
When the villain.
That's also
the
his
villain shouldn't be
weakness.
sitting there like. That's what I'm saying. His vulnerability is.
Yes.
he has
When Darkseid comes down and says, "I can either hit you with the Omega beams and you can shrug them off, or I'm going to blow up the moon and it's going to destroy the entire planet. Make your choice.
Right.
Just shoot me for the next 6 hours. I don't care."
right.
That's right.
Yeah, Superman is a metaphor for humanity.
Yes.
and
All right,
his
we'll
problems
do a
are
Superman
hi-
podcast.
Yeah, but his
We
his-
will. And
yeah,
we will.
We
When
will
we
talk
get-
about it
When
but
we get
yeah.
closer to Superman versus Batman versus Superman, which that was one of the trailers that was on there today, and we got even worse. But no, when we get closer to it, I want to do a whole episode of nothing but Superman and a whole episode of nothing but Batman, and
Which
kind
we'll
of
get Star Wars into somehow.
Yeah.
So okay,
Well, because that's when Batman he fought Darth Vader. I saw that YouTube video.
there was a little model of the Hummer on the Millennium Falcon bottom or whatever.
Yeah, if you saw the bat signal in the sky.
Yeah.
Of not Endor.
The Vader symbol.
So okay, I've got Sculptor, really good, but that came out as a full graphic novel. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what I did.
Klaus, Grant Morrison book, but a book that came out
Book is
like
gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous book, but it's also like a very weird take on the idea of Santa Claus. And Santa Claus has many origins, Odin being
Sure.
one of them. A lot of the Norse mythology gets thrown in there, but very, very. It's Grant Morrison doing. I guess it's basically his all-star Superman for Santa Claus, and it's
It's
really
also the only thing I've read from Grant Morrison in the last 5 years that I understood.
yeah. It's very
It is gorgeous.
It's a beautiful book. It's a
Oh.
very simple story. It's a very psychedelic story,
Yes.
but it's not psychedelic in like it's not Grant Morrison trying to go over the edge.
Not him doing Andy Warhol.
No, but it's him
Well, it's
trying to
just
be
the
like,
idea that
what
just-
would drive a guy to
Yeah,
to
and the
be
way that
a Santa Claus?
Why
Right.
does he bring toys? Because toys are outlawed in this town and stuff.
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
that,
really
so.
weird. Just like I'm gonna make my own I'm gonna make my own Santa Claus myth. That's like a American Paul Bunyan-y, very like anti-establishment in its own weird way, and it works, and it's just bizarre. But
So you got to
beautiful.
wonder if he went back and he was watching like The Year Without Santa Claus or
I'm sure he.
No,
Grant
he got
Morrison
all of his information
the
from
Chris
Fred
Kringle
Claus.
and the old
from
stop
the
motion.
magic that he
Yeah.
the magic that he deals in. Dark Knight 3,
Okay.
which huge shock. Not just a huge out of left field like just when the first covers were coming out and everyone was sort of was crapping all over Frank Miller. And his art's ugly. Yeah, we all read Dark Knight 2. We all read Holy Terror Batman. It's like, dude doesn't have long to live. And this story is clearly him buckling down with the last of whatever strength he has.
This is his last
with
hurrah.
with a great creative team behind him.
Yeah.
To put a true sequel to Dark Knight onto
Be
paper
interesting
before
to
he
see
dies.
what Dark Knight 4 that he is completely conceptualizing, because this is Dark Knight 3 is a lot of Brian Azzarello.
Yes, it
This
is.
is them together, and Brian Azzarello's like, you know, I always thought it would go here and here, and Frank Miller's like, yeah, that'd be great.
Okay,
Let's
that sounds
do it.
good. As
And
he's
then,
dying.
yeah, and he's doing 4, and he's already said that was like when he got revitalized doing this, he decided to write.
To go through and do a 4. And even the mini comics inside Dark Knight 3 are
That
top notch.
Wonder Woman is
so
awesome.
good. So yeah, out of left
I
field.
want Ezra Rizzo to do a Wonder Woman book.
I
so
want him
bad.
to
It's
too.
Gorgeous.
And I kind of wish because when Grant Morrison, he's got All-Star Wonder Woman coming out, I kind of wished after reading this, like, I wish Eduardo Rizzo was on that book.
Yeah, it's
Right.
good. Andy
And-
Kubert's Wonder Woman in issue 1 looked fantastic.
Yeah.
too.
No, but it's that book came out of left field for me. It's like, this is classic Frank Miller in true form, and I don't care if it's with the help of other people. That's the Frank Miller I think people have wanted to see since DK2.
Gotcha. Okay, so number 1.
And not number 1, just James Bond Varger. As a huge James Bond fan, if you don't want to read a regular book with words, go pick up James Bond Varger. It's the closest thing to a Bond novel you will get without having to go pick up a classic Fleming book or even one of the new ones. Solo is out, amazing. The Solo's out. Trigger Mortis just came out a couple months ago.
Chris's T-shirt.
Fantastic stuff. So if you've never read a Bond,
It's a solo, and it's
if you want to know,
Crazy.
if you want real Bond, and it's it's a Bond story that
I had to read that first issue twice, and I was like, okay, I get it better this
Yeah,
time.
it's Warren Ellis is the only person I could have ever imagined doing a Bond comic book, and I remember years ago on his website, him like, I've always wanted to do a Bond story, but I'd be too afraid because I would screw it up, and he lays out his ideas, and you could see that he's a changed person,
Yeah.
but a lot of his feelings on Bond comes through because the Bond of the movies is a flawed human being. In the movies, more so than, in the books and in the movies, they sort of carry it through. He's suave and debonair, but the broken Bond is on the internal.
Mm-hmm.
His villains have the external disabilities, and they're sort of supposed to be like the two sides of the same coin.
Right.
The book Bond is a horrible, horrible human being, and he does all the wrong things for the right reasons, versus the movie Bond, who is a broken character, but he does all the right things for the right reasons. The first few pages of Varger, the first issue that opens up, is, it's a guy running through the snow. He's clearly being chased by somebody. He's firing off shots. He's in a construction site, and he's hit right into the back with a cinder block from 3 stories up, and it's James Bond who drops it on him. And immediately it's like, that's James Bond. James Bond would cripple a man just to stop him from escaping.
Sure.
And it's the guy, legs don't work anymore. He's paraplegic now. It's him trying to crawl away with whatever semblance of strength he has left.
So he's Shadowhawk?
Well, that's what would happen anyway in a real life spy type.
It would.
There's no holds barred.
No, it is no holds
Yeah.
barred, and there's a great documentary called the Everything or Nothing about James Bond. In the first quarter of it, they talk about Ian Fleming's time in the SAS, and they also did I think Sky did a quasi documentary on Ian Fleming that was really was interesting. It was more dramatized, but the idea for me is that that's immediately the James Bond that you would never see in a movie. The only Bond I believe who ever came closest in a film would be Timothy Dalton.
Yeah.
That's because he drops Benicio del Toro in a giant wood chipper. It's the closest thing to something James Bond would do to somebody for the sake of killing him than any other Bond. You've got other things. And then once he gets the information, he shoots the guy in the head, and that's sort of the opening, if you will. That would be the gun barrel moment
Right.
of a Bond film.
Okay, so my top 5, I'm just going to go through real quick. Number 5, Spider-Gwen. Number 4, Secret Wars. Number 3, Batman. Number 2, Lando. And number 1, Darth Vader.
Lando's fun as hell.
Lando's such a good book.
And you know what? I actually sat down and I was like, is Land 1 or 2? And I couldn't think if I wanted to put it. Almost wanted to put it
I knew
at
Lando was
number
going to
1.
be good, because Charles Soule is a very underrated
He's
writer.
fun.
Lando was surprisingly good.
Because it's fun, but it's also really dark and deep at the end.
Yes.
And that's what this is something Kieran Gillen does amazing. You read Journey into Mystery and you're like, oh, Kid Loki, you know? And about 3/4 of the way through that book, with all the stuff with Leia, and all the stuff with Thor, and you're like, oh my god, you realize your heart gets ripped out of your chest.
Right.
It's the same thing with Lando, and
And
especially
the other
for
thing
like me,
about this was
being a
I
Lobot
heard Billy
fan.
D. Williams. I mean,
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, the voice comes through
The
right
voice
away.
comes through. The villain is great. The changes in it. The art from Alex Mayleave is as good as he's ever done.
Yep.
He's done some really big books. Gorgeous. But it's one of those books that when it was over and we had copies, we put it in as a set. I sold the hell out of that book.
I was
Yeah,
actually
it's so
sad
easy.
it was over. I wanted to see more.
Charles
next-
Soule is doing
Yeah,
books.
I'm sure he'll do a sequel, or someone
Yeah.
will do a sequel. The Star Wars book I'm waiting for is the miniseries for the archaeologist character that Darth Vader encounters in his Darth Vader series, the not Indiana Jones.
Right.
Indiana
Yeah,
Jones.
Yafra.
Yeah, she's amazing and hilarious, and that's a character that I
Sure,
keep
you'll
like.
see something.
Yeah,
I wanna see
Yeah,
it.
immediately I was like, this is a character who needs a
I think,
miniseries.
is Soul doing Obi-Wan and Anakin? I think.
I want to see. I'd love to see a spin-off of the droids from Darth Vader.
Yes,
I'm sure there'll
that's
be a
it.
one shot of that.
That
at
is,
some point.
those two droids
I have
are
a feeling
amazing.
once you get
They get
kind
far
of-
enough in.
yeah, you're going to get sort of this kind of winding down.
You'll get the dark horse
Get the
eventually
stuff.
of where Marvel will just have a complete Star Wars line.
Yeah.
And they will
They
eventually
already do. I mean, they have four. They have
they
four
do.
books every month.
Well, the
But I
protocol
think there'll become a divide where they'll be like, I think the one feeling that I get with the Star Wars books at Marvel is that I feel like Marvel thinks that the Star Wars books in some way are competing in the Marvel superhero space as a series of books. But I think once they sort of figure out that the Star Wars fans are going to buy Star Wars and they're going to come to you no matter what, they will eventually stop fearing.
I think they understood that right away when they saw the numbers for
Yeah.
that first issue.
Then
'Cause
I'm waiting for the change.
What-
There'll be 10 or 20 Star Wars books.
I don't know if they'll ever get to that. I think they'll get to like 6. Because what Marvel is trying to do is to have one Star Wars book show up on your shelf every week.
Right.
Because this is what IDW did for years with G.I. Joe. When they had 4 G.I. Joe titles, they tried to make sure it was 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, 4 weeks. So that
Yeah.
you would get people to keep coming back, or at the very least, they would be buying a bunch of them all in one shot. It is Charles Soule that does the new Obi-Wan Anakin.
I can't wait for that.
miniseries.
That
Okay.
looks good.
That,
Yeah,
yeah, that
last
one
week.
does look good too.
You gotta tell me when you want these things.
Yeah,
It came
I
out
know.
last week.
Oh, did-
You get previews.
Yeah.
So
you know what?
I know you never pull out
know.
anything from me either, then you get pissed off at me for not pulling the book.
Yeah,
No, I think you'll see when something like Kanan finally kind of runs its course, which again, super underrated Star Wars book. If
Yeah.
you read Rebels at all, even if you don't read Rebels, it's so incredibly well done in that aftermath of Order 66 and following not when you're following Dash Jenner in the Dark Horse series for Dark Times. This is very different, where it is Caleb running around Kanan, running around the galaxy. Like, how the hell do I keep myself hidden?
Right.
And do the right thing, but not do the right thing, and all these type of stuff. How do I make my living? How do I get from planet to planet? How do I keep one step ahead of the Now Empire and stuff like that? So, comic books. All right, let's
But
move-
yeah, you mentioned the Dark Horse with the droids in the Darth Vader remind me of remember the old
Hilarious.
the C-3PX.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what
yes. Exactly. That's exactly.
It
now
was
that you
almost,
mention that.
for me, it almost felt like they pulled that character out of the Dark Horse comics and put him in.
We gotta do a new version of this character.
Yeah,
but
and
so much worse.
Oh yeah, he's so much more
So
maniacal.
much worse.
he's like Bender from Futurama.
Bender, if he was in an R-rated film. Sort of
Yes.
thing.
And-
He's a,
yes.
read Vader down. He's horrible in that film or in that comic. It's fantastic.
Bender does kill Seymour in Futurama though, so
Like the one
kills
part
Fry's
where,
dog. So
they
so you guys get pretty horrible, but he's Bender, so it's okay.
where they track him down and they get pulled away before they get to kill anybody, and it's like they have that little conversation as they're going back to the ship. You know, it's like
Oh, the one where they're having the conversation and what they think Vader's going to do to Aphra.
yeah.
And she's, could you shut up? She's like, no, I think he's going to like pull her heart out through the force or whatever. It was fantastic.
It's kind of how what little IG-88 stuff they did do. He's kind of the IG-88 I always hoped for in the expanded universe.
It's
he
the
had to-
IG-88
with a
from the Bounty Hunter Tales.
IG-88 is much colder in that.
Yeah,
film.
he tends to have like
the
that.
A, B, C, and D in that is much colder.
That's
because
true,
the,
yes.
the plans are much bigger. He wants to destroy all life, but
Right.
he's not trying to torture people. He wants to just rule the galaxy
Well, until he
of
gets to being the
rabbinic
Death
beings.
Star.
Yeah.
That was
Soy.
okay. So TV shows, TV shows are all over the place. Let's just do our top fives, and then we'll kind of decide. I do have what Rotten Tomato has as their top five, and also their top five sci-fi shows.
What's Rotten Tomatoes top 5? I'm actually
let's
interested.
see.
Yeah. So wait, is there top?
do
So
we
you
watch
say,
them?
wait, you say sci-fi top 5 versus their regular? Are the sci-fi titles just completely excluded? I'm intrigued. by this.
Here's what they have as their top five TV shows. They have number 1, Better Call Saul. Number 2, Fargo season 2. Number 3, American season 3. Number 4, Catastrophe series Catastrophe series 1, and Dutchland. Was it Dutchland 83 or whatever it is? The season 1. That's what they have as the top 5.
I like 3 out of 5 of those I've never heard
I
of.
don't watch any TV.
The top
What the
5.
hell?
The top 5 sci-fi.
You're
They list as sci-fi. They have Game of Thrones number 1. Ash
That's
versus
sci-fi. That's fantasy.
Yeah.
well, yeah.
I know. It's
Ash versus the Evil Dead is number 2.
that's a good show.
I wish
Yes,
I could
that
see
is.
show.
If you liked the original or even the campiness of Army of Darkness, you'll
You're gonna
love this
love.
show.
You're gonna love.
They have
Ash
Hannibal
versus
as
the Evil
number 3, Supergirl is number 4, and Jessica Jones is number 5.
Interesting.
8 was Walking
That sounds
Dead.
very. The interesting thing about that list is that sounds like stuff from this past.
Yes.
The only last couple months, so that's what stuck in their head, and they put that on the
Well,
list.
that's a lot of
8
stuff.
they have Walking Dead, and 10 they have Fear the Walking Dead.
Interesting.
So I thought that was kind of interesting
Yeah.
the way they put everything.
What was the? So you went to 5. What was 6, 7, and?
I don't even remember now.
No, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but so those were what Rotten Tomato had up there.
There's 2.5 Men.
Big
Um,
Bang Theory.
Family Guy.
Theory.
So
Cleveland Show.
Shauna, your top 5.
Okay, so I
This is
only-
your time to shine because you got anime.
Yeah.
And for the
here we go.
anime listeners,
Japanese now.
All right. So I only have like one Western television show that I did watch last year, which was The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, which is
Okay.
I want to see that.
That's hilarious.
I love that show so much. It was just hilarious, and like very few it had me laughing out loud. I was in tears in some scenes. And as for the anime, like in no particular order, we got Shokugeki no Soma, which is the AKA Food
Food.
Wars, which is like the food gasms. It's just so gratuitous, and like it's gratuitous and it's amazing, and I'm always hungry.
it's like Iron Chef turned to 11.
Yes, it's Iron Chef on crack basically, and it takes place in like a high school full of kids who want to be like they want to be chefs, but it's like really cutthroat, and only like a handful of them survive to the end of their high school career. And it's just overall really fun, and I'm getting hungry thinking about all the things they make on that show. Yeah, eating all the cookies.
Is that your foodgasm?
Yeah, that's his food. No. We have to show you.
We'll show
clips on the
that
show.
first.
We'll see
Yeah,
it.
we have to show you later. And then One Punch Man. It's so good. It's just like basically it's very self-aware, and it's cheesy. It's just like it's violent, it's ultra violent, and it's hilarious. And it's just an all-around, fun, over-the-top show.
I looked through the manga a little bit, and I was like, it looks okay, but it seems like something that I would rather watch over
Yeah.
reading.
Yeah, it's just so well animated. Everything fits. Everything is great. And then we have Akatsuki no Yona, or Yona the Dawn in English, which is basically like the girl power anime of last year, and it's about a princess whose father was assassinated, and now she's on the run and has to reclaim her throne by enlisting the help of. There's so many cookies, and she has to enlist the help of like the reincarnations of mystical dragons, and it's like I can't even begin to describe how cool this show is. And the animation is gorgeous. The soundtrack is amazing, and it's something that it was something I would definitely recommend. And then we got this would bring me up to number 5 now. which is Oremonogatari, which is a very unconventional like shoujo anime in a sense that like it's about an unlucky in love dude named oh god, I had to remember his name now. It's been a while since I've seen it. His name is Takeo, and he's kind of like, and he's just like, he's not like normally in shoujo the shoujo genre, like the leading males are very like, you know, they're very like, you know, conventionally attractive and, you know, very clean cut, like this, you know what you guys know what I'm talking about, right? It's like
Metro?
like very, yeah, there we go. There we go. Thank you, Mikey. But this guy just like this hulking, very weird looking dude. He's like twice as big as everybody around him, and he just looks kind of weird. And it's about his love story with a girl that he with the girl that he meets on a train one day. And it's just, to me, it was just a very, very heartfelt show. You don't really get, it's very like, it's very rare when you get a romance series that just kind of like, you know, strikes in the right places. And I watched it with my boyfriend, and he loved that show.
That's cool.
Like, it was just a really nice, heartwarming show, and I really liked it.
Something different from action and all that.
Yeah, like it was just really nice, and it kind of reminded us of us, you know, in a way. And yeah, sorry, I'm talking your ear off about anime.
So Chris,
It's on TV. It counts.
it counts. Yes, it's anime. We need to do an episode of just anime because, of course, I'll be completely lost with that one. But
yes,
Talk about anime from the
freaking-
90s. That's what
I freaking love anime.
Well, Dragon Ball Z just had a movie this year.
Oh, it was so good.
It was really good.
I haven't.
Oh wait, I saw
haven't-
17 films. I forgot about Dragon Ball Z. Yeah.
I haven't seen it. It's
Oh my
good.
god, it's so
It
was so much
back
better
to,
than
it's
the
back
last
to
one.
form for Dragon Ball Z.
good. No, I was
Thank
so
God.
disappointed in the last. Not so
Battle-
disappointed.
Battle of the Gods was
Battle of the Gods was
not the greatest.
really
but
long, and I didn't really follow it. But this was.
There wasn't bad versus good.
Yeah, it
Evil
was just.
versus good.
This was fantastic. I loved it.
okay, Chris.
My TV top 5. Number 5 was Justified. Not my favorite season, but still better than a lot of what I saw on TV. Mostly because the last third of it is fantastic. And
Yes.
if you follow all the seasons, and you follow all those characters, I liked where all those characters ended.
It's been
up.
such a long year. I forgot that
Justified
Justified
was early
still-
in the year.
Was it the last season for Justified?
It
The
was.
last season
Okay.
of Justified. Yes.
It was a good ending.
It was a good ending. I
different
love the
ending.
last line.
It wasn't the ending that I thought was going to happen, but it was a good.
You
ending.
kept pushing that, and it never happened.
It never happened.
I
thought-
didn't think any. I thought all of them would kind of get out of it because like it just seems like the ending that's going to happen. They're all
Yeah.
going to go their separate ways or what have you.
it's a fitting ending.
Number 4 was South Park. This season of South Park is one of my favorites.
Best in years.
It's
Last few
pretty
seasons,
close,
I've had like
yeah.
1 or 2 episodes that I really liked, but I could.
I
kind of
really like the
leave.
change that they've done in the last at least 2 seasons, or if not 3 seasons, where
They tie everything.
the storyline continues
Yeah.
from episode
Yeah.
to episode.
Oh, and South Park was my honorable mention. I
Yeah,
really
so
have been
the,
liking
the
it.
satire in this one, especially as you get towards the end, the first couple of minutes of that second to last episode with Jimmy, when PC Principal is trying to shut down the paper, and Jimmy's just like, "I don't care,"
Yeah.
and it's like, "Okay,
It's not going to stop me from doing my job.
I fell in love with Jimmy all over again.
Yes.
You know, I fell in love with Jimmy when he wouldn't when he wanted Timmy to wear the hat, and then I really fell in love with Jimmy when they go to Lake
Mimsy.
Titicaca because it's one of the best episodes in the history.
Mimsy.
And then you get to hear and different pieces from other seasons,
There's a war coming,
and it
Jim.
yeah exactly. There's a war coming, Jim.
That
you
was
have to
so
be
good.
sure you're on the right side of it.
They're
There's
back
so
to the
many pieces in
commentary.
it. The satire in it is so fantastic. The episode about the whole thing in gentrification, the fact that they built an entire season over something that people in America are really having a problem with.
Yes.
We want new, we want gorgeous, we want to get rid of the old. Okay, we got rid of it. Now you can't afford it.
Yes.
Right.
Stan's Randy's speech to his wife was, "We can't afford to live here anymore. A bowl of shitty beef costs $10, and the only place we get groceries is stupid Whole Foods." And
Which
it's
he's
his fault.
which is great because he's the one who was pushing.
Right.
it.
That everything of that season is right there.
Yes.
Because this is what we wanted. We got it, and we hate it.
Yes.
It's also
But-
very politically poignant, not just with gentrification, but with PC
Everything
Principal.
with it. Safe space.
Yes.
Terms that I didn't even recognize. Really, I'm like, what is this? And I started listening to people around me, and they're talking
Uh-huh.
about that sort of things, especially people at work who are going to college.
Yes.
This idea of safe space, this ideas of microaggressions, okay? The idea that the PC culture has become dude culture. That's the in thing now, is to be super sensitive and all that other crap.
the
I
hipster
loved
shit.
it,
White
but it
man's
also
burden.
has one of the best jokes ever, in which when Principal Victoria is showing all of the different gentrification towns throughout the world, and they get to Poland. 10 miles north of Poland is Nomo Ouchie. I nearly fell off my bed, and I don't think anybody else got it. There was very few people I knew that didn't understand. Like, they're saying they bulldozed Auschwitz and made it into some upscale neighborhood of shops, and it killed me. And that was that sort of thing. They had these little subtle pieces in, and they had these big, these big overarching
In
pieces.
historic
I love.
Kennestown.
Exactly. Shitapa Town.
Shitipa.
Shitipa Town. The way Bishop Victoria says that, like, who brought up the idea of Shitipa Town when the Caitlyn Jenner piece?
Yes.
Where she runs over somebody.
Buckle up, buckaroos.
Buckle up, buckaroos.
Which was interesting. I remember. I think Sean and I were discussing it when we were watching that episode, because you had brought it up that earlier last year, Caitlyn Jenner had a huge car accident and hurt a bunch of
No.
people.
Oh yeah,
No,
it was in
that
Malibu.
was-
She just like
Bruce
Bruce Jenner
did
did it.
Wait, I thought that was you who brought it up.
No,
Uh,
you mentioned
I
it
don't remember.
earlier.
That's
Earlier.
all
I
this
remember.
is coming to is this idea. Bruce Jenner was probably at fault in killing somebody
Right.
Yes.
on PCH.
And people
Once-
were upset about him. It was another case of
And then it
somebody getting
immediately
away.
turned into he was still under investigation. Then this thing blows up of I'm turning into a woman. I'm going through the transgender process. That became the story. She became a hero. She became a national
And
story.
it got out.
And very,
National treasure.
very
subtly.
subtly and quietly, a few
Media
months later,
just-
he was exonerated.
Yep.
And there's a number of people in law enforcement like, there's no reason he should have been exonerated.
And you know
it's
what?
his fault. Is it murder? No, but it's his
It
fault.
was involuntary manslaughter. I mean,
Yes.
and
But
he was
then there was
exonerated.
nothing for
She was exonerated completely versus someone like even, people forget. Oh my God.
Brandy?
No, his name escapes me entirely now.
Brandy killed the dude.
He was in the remake of The Producers.
Matthew Broderick.
Matthew Broderick, thank you. For some reason, right on the tip of my tongue. And then Matthew Broderick had an accident in Ireland and killed someone. But at least he had to pay out money for the involuntary manslaughter charges.
Well, Mark Wahlberg also killed somebody, and he's
Yeah, Mark
it's a whole other
Wahlberg
thing.
blinded somebody. When
Yeah,
he was
so
when he was a
But
street
to have
tough.
that be this little piece that is incredibly funny, but also brings every single episode, they're reminding you, by the way, Bruce Jenner killed somebody,
And they
nobody
always
cares.
put her behind
And
the
that's what's
car
fantastic.
every
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
Number 3 is The Flash.
Okay.
I love that show. I think that show does what it does so incredibly well. I love those characters. I'm emotionally invested in it. I like the colors, the set designs, the characters in it are fantastic. Grant Gustin is wonderful.
Yes.
He's the best part of that show. Him and the guy from Law and Order, Mark Epps.
It's not Mark Epps.
It's
Not Mark Epps.
It always escapes me because
He was great.
there's a very fantastic episode of X-Files in which they go. It's like a flashback. He finds this person, and basically he's the actor is playing him. He was a Negro League baseball player.
Jesse Martin.
Jesse Martin.
That's his name, Jesse Martin.
This is the first thing I ever saw Jesse Martin in, and this whole it's Mulder is interviewing him, and he's talking about playing barnstorming in the Negro Leagues, and the reason that he was in the Negro Leagues and he was barnstorming is he had to go from town to town so people wouldn't notice he's not aging
Right.
because he's an alien. The whole episode has nothing to do with him being an alien. It has to do with how amazing baseball is. Beautiful episode, and he's perfect in it. And yes, he was fantastic in
Law and Order.
He
He was
is
on that.
great
Yeah.
in his.
He's great in
and the
everything.
emotional turmoil that he went through in season 2 with all of these changes and all these things that are coming. We're only half a season in. He is fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
You buy him as someone who loves Brett Barry as his child.
Yes.
Who supports him in every way, shape, or form. The things that he goes through, what happens with him and his daughter, and the fact that they didn't just pull that out for episodes and episodes where she tells him she basically lied to him or she kept something from him, and he's like, I totally understand.
And the season finale.
Until the
was-
season finale. Yeah, it was crazy. Number 2, I put Daredevil. just because it's Daredevil. I mean, it was such a even the phenomenon around it of everyone talking about it for a week,
So
and then it went
groundbreaking.
away. Which is why I think that model is that sort of thing. But yeah, it was incredible. He's fantastic. Foggy's fantastic. Wilson Fisk.
Everybody in
obviously.
that show.
Sebastian loves. Why can't I remember his name?
Vincent D'Onofrio.
D'Onofrio. And my number one actually is Star Wars Rebels. I have a lot of Star Wars on this. Rebels is the one show.
As I said, the year of Star Wars.
But Rebels is the one show that I make sure I don't watch any scripted television live anymore. That show records at what, like 6:30 out here?
yes.
7:15. I'm watching it.
Then I have to say, because when I
The
by the
only
time
one
I
that
get
I
home,
appointment watch it as soon as it's over because I want to see it.
by the time I get home, which is usually like 7:15, Chris is already sending me a text about something
Yeah,
on
did
it.
you watch this yet?
And because the first thing I
Which
do
is
when
the
I
total
walk in,
flip side of what you were doing for Walking Dead for so many years. Like, have you watched Walking Dead? I haven't watched Walking Dead from 3 weeks ago.
yeah.
You
But
know.
the first thing I do when I walk in the house is, Beth usually on Wednesday nights has dinner ready for me. So the first thing we do is we come in, we sit down, we watch Rebels. Most of the time, I'm watching about the same time as you are, because I know one or the two of us, whoever watches it first, is going to make a comment on it.
I almost ruined that Ahsoka moment for you,
Yes.
too. Because I almost sent it to you. But no, that show feels so Star Wars. Again, I love all those characters.
Uh-huh.
Design work is great. The villains are fantastic. I love the Empire in this. More than anything else, why it's number one, that's special. The season 2 opener, the special,
the
whatever you
in-between.
wanted to call it, the in-between,
Yeah.
Vader. Oh, my God.
The
They learned
the
from all their
trial
mistakes
of
in Clone
Ri-
Wars.
yes.
The idea where they're basically just like, this is our chance to show Vader as the villain. As the badass villain who can't be stopped.
Was it Exit of
I don't even know what it was.
whatever it was.
Whatever it was, I don't care what it was. That is so great. Ahsoka's
That-
reaction, everything in it, the mythology that's in it, where we're going, where we've come from, the characters that we're seeing,
The battle,
the Jedi stuff in
lightsaber
it
battle,
is really good. The only thing that bugs me is the lightsabers.
the thinness.
So yeah, the thing is, the number one part, why I made it number one, because of the special. Number two is that moment when the hangar doors open in the mid-season finale and Ahsoka walks out, and I get goosebumps right now just thinking. It is such a hero shot, but it's exactly what films and TV and stuff like this that's built like this does. It's so perfect,
Yeah.
and you know what's coming, and and as soon as it does, like, oh yeah, and the way that
And you even
the
knew,
way
I
that
mean,
they
you
do-
know it's yeah.
not whether I'm the biggest Ahsoka fan or isn't, knowing that kind of cult, that the Ahsoka Lives cult that's there. She walks out and takes on 2 Inquisitors and schools them. Like, at any point, you kind of go, if she really wanted to, I think she could kill both of them.
She's turned into a character.
She's-
when
they
if
flipped her.
if you take that character
She's
that
the
when
master.
you first see her, in the Star Wars Clone Wars movie, and the Sky Guy and R2 and all that, if you take that and you see her complete arc, it actually makes sense.
Well, because also the organic cult of her and
Yes.
what she became to the fans in that really second female character that everybody seemed to love.
Mm-hmm.
You had Leia. You skipped over anybody in the prequels.
Padme
because
was-
Padme
yeah.
just doesn't really.
she doesn't do much.
Episode 2 maybe because her where she is in the arena.
Yeah,
but she
which
does
is
a lot
fine,
more in
right.
episode 1. Episode 3 she's just pregnant. Ahsoka is the one that, as it keeps going, exactly everyone followed her through these pieces to her end in 5.
Mm-hmm. She was
of
the
walking
the
away.
character for the little girls.
Yeah, but it wasn't. She was the character for girls.
Yes.
It wasn't little girls. It wasn't anything. You can be a fan, and to see it sort of when we went to Celebration and I went to the Clone Wars panel, and the 3 young ladies who were next to me are all cosplaying as Ahsoka
Yeah.
in her flight suit, in her rebel suit, or whatever. And as they show these scenes of unproduced pieces which ended up being in Dark Disciple,
Yes.
and then they showed a shot of Ahsoka, and they're all, oh, she's on the screen. I mean, it was amazing, and to see her, to see why that happens, to see her live up to the cult that exists. There's so many characters we look at like, why does everybody love this character?
And the
You
way
know why
that
they love this
Ashley
character.
has embraced this character too has really made it more organic and brought that character to life more.
Because she's a Jedi, and she's what everybody pictures the Jedi being.
Yeah.
Well, in a sense now,
In the
she's
classical
not. Yeah,
sense.
but
She's
in
not a
sense now,
Jedi.
she's not a Jedi.
Not anymore.
That's what I mean. No, I mean
she never went through the trial.
No, that's
no.
that's
What
very
I'm
true.
saying is philosophically, I think she's not a Jedi now either. She's something different. She's a hybrid because and I think that's why she has the silver sabers to a certain degree.
Yes.
She is
Yeah.
she's a Jedi in what the Jedi were supposed to be. She's actively helping to run the resistance, the rebellion, the alliance, whatever you want. Something the Jedi weren't meant to do.
Right.
To actually fight against the actual government. and
Well, it's
stuff
like when you remember you didn't have you had the Dark Jedi, which weren't Sith. They were something else, in the expanded universe. She's kind of become that other for the light side, like
It's a
like
character
almost like
that
a Jedi outlaw.
even if
if they were going to
or
bring
something.
anybody back from Clone Wars, and they brought Rex back, and it was cool. And if they bring anybody back from Clone Wars, you would think that my reaction to a lot of it would be, ugh. Even bringing us when we find out Ahsoka is the Fulcrum,
Yes.
and we're just like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
And now I'm invested again in her story,
Uh-huh.
and I love the fact that she's a part of this.
Well,
So that was my number
in
one.
her way, she also plays sort of the role that Obi-Wan Kenobi was expected to play in A New Hope, because they're looking for General Kenobi. They're
Right.
looking for somebody to lead the rebellion like he led in the Clone Wars. And
too old for this. Also, I'm Alec Guinness, and I don't give
yeah, and
the science
right. But she fills
George, here's
she
what
fills
happens.
that
She
role.
she does fill that role.
She
yes.
fills the role of being the Jedi that the Rebel Alliance needs. And of course, and then as the idea of the story progresses, then it's like, well, I assume Ahsoka's going to eventually become, be wiped out, and then the last of the Jedi will be Ben and Yoda. And then the idea is, Leia is an adult, and then goes, we need the person who helped fight in the Clone
Yes.
Wars. The only person left that I know is alive, and is
I know.
is Kenobi.
The Trial of Ahsoka is one of my favorite Clone Wars.
It's a really good
arcs.
episode.
Yeah. Okay, Mikey, your top 5.
Number 5, Arrow. Number 4, Grimm. 3, The Americans. 2, Flash, and Fargo season 2.
Nice. Yeah, Fargo's one of the ones.
But that's it's
It's an anthology,
it's
so-
an anthology.
No, I know.
So-
I wish I got into Fargo with season 2. I wish I'd started watching season 2.
Yeah.
Because I've heard nothing but good. Americans is one of those things too. I'm like, God, I wish I could.
Yeah, everybody talks about the Americans, but I
Americans
I've
I
not
got
watched
into,
it.
and it's one of those things that I got into, but I got out of it because my DVR wasn't set up right for the recording. So it passed up the 5 episodes that were, and it got me behind. So
End of season 3 is good, and it leads into a good battle, I guess.
Yeah.
Into season 4. So
Ethan, one show. You have 2 shows, right? You have Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead.
What's the second show?
Fear the Walking Dead.
Well, I have an honorable mention of Orange is the New Black. That's still, even though it's kind of falling off, I think, in the 3rd season, but it's still rated high up there with me. I have a tie for 4 and 5, just because I couldn't decide which one would go where. So it's between Supergirl and Jessica Jones, for the same reason, that it started off really slow, but it's now starting to pick up, and so now I'm more interested in Supergirl, and it's the same with Jessica Jones. Started off really slow, but then in the middle of it, I started to pick up, and so
Supergirl has gotten a lot better. I'd like to change with the Cat Grant character.
I haven't watched that show.
So
I think
that's
I
why
have 5 episodes.
that's
that
why I
are
put
whatever.
them 2 together. It's basically the same reason. So number 3, I would put Daredevil. Number 2, I put Game of Thrones, and number 1, I put The Walking Dead.
Of course you did.
It's interesting you mentioned the Cat Grant, because Cat Grant is a weird character. In TV, she's always portrayed as like this very snooty, stuck-up character. But when you read the original Cat Grant stuff, she's supposed to be like the bizarro Lois Lane.
Right.
In that
She gets to that point when you
she's
get,
the person who loves Clark Kent and not Superman because she understands how
Yeah.
good of a person
Yes.
Clark Kent is.
when you get to I think it was the last episode I watched was was it Synergy or whatever, the Shocker character that they used in the animated series a lot.
Synergy is from Jim.
Yeah.
Are you thinking? Oh, Livewire.
Livewire, yeah.
That episode, Kat spends a lot of time with Supergirl,
Uh-huh.
and that's the first episode I didn't hate her.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I kind of understand this a little bit more.
And
She's
her
basically-
arc-
so much of what she does is a defensive mechanism, and she believes in her
Mm-hmm.
own genius because she deserves to because of what she did to get to where she is, and she
Right.
can't do what she wanted to do. She's trying to write these stories and going, I don't write anymore. So when I write, it's something special. because I don't write anymore because I'm too busy running all the rest of this and all this stuff.
Oh,
That
when
was-
you get to the later, the closer to the mid-season
Yeah,
finale, they get
get to that
so
some
much
point.
better. She and her dynamic with Supergirl, and even with Kara, it's just so much better. Yeah, but I mean, I think the only problem with that show was that the East Coast gave away the big reveal for
The Martian Manhunter.
Martian Manhunter. Yeah.
I think that was in the.
I don't even know if that was a big reveal for the East Coast. I remember seeing
think that
that
was
stuff
on
on Facebook, but
Well,
I
no,
remember,
'cause
Well,
it's
no,
but
showed
I
up-
even remember
it was
reading
Part
it.
of the problem with it also is they had to show those episodes out of order.
Right, but I also
Because
remember
of the
reading an
correspondence.
article, I think from Jeff was talking about because it was even before that I had heard there was Martian Man. It was an article from Jeff talking about it's like, well, the character has a huge secret, and then at some point somebody's like, he would make an awesome Martian Manhunter, and then they were like, why can't his secret be that he's Martian Manhunter? And I thought that was really, really interesting because they're like, it was going to be like a deep, dark, evil secret,
See, and that's what it. When
and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
the reveal of that, and it was really good. And I wish I hadn't, because it was the Facebook immediately when it happened on the East Coast. It was popped up on Facebook and on, I think the Supergirl Facebook page immediately popped it up too.
No, it was like comic book resources or something.
Oh no, it was
Yeah.
Newsarama. That's who it
Newsarama,
was. It
yeah.
was Newsarama, and because I even made a comment on
I'm
there.
still
Well,
sad
this
it's not Philip Morris from Smallville,
yeah.
who was great as the Martian Manhunter.
Oh yeah. No, but it's like this is why people are stopping, starting to unlike Newsaramas because they put up spoilers right away.
They do it, but people love it. As much as they say they hate it, they love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because of Rich commenting on that, it ruined it for me. Because it popped
Oh,
up
they
on
didn't
my
pop on.
feed.
Oh, it's like, oh, Rich commented on
Rich
this
commented
article.
on this, and I was like, what? Oh my God, Rich. Thanks.
Oops. Okay, Sebastian.
Okay, let's see. My favorite shows this year. So, Daredevil, Mad Men in its final season, finishing out. Rebels, really liked a lot. Kimmy Schmidt, because I love 30 Rock, and it feels like a show. It's still Tina Fey, but it feels...
It's a fun show.
It's
I mean,
a fun show, but it feels like it takes place in the same 30 Rock universe. Like you jump over to another part of the country in the 30 Rock world.
Exactly.
And you have Mrs. Voorhees and
Oh,
Kimmy
God.
and
Like
just
Titus and
just-
freaking Lillian.
yeah, it's one of those shows where like I like a good comedy, and it's one of those things like oh, I'm so happy that came out.
Yeah.
That would be sad if there was, again, like, a lot of the basic, again, I love 30 Rock so much, it was such a bizarrely meta show, and then to have it go away, like, there's no really good comedies that I watch. I kind of like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but 30 Rock. And Man in the High Castle.
I was wondering if somebody was going to have put Man in
Man in
the
the High Castle.
We all knew Sebastian would put high.
Well,
high
Yeah.
castle.
I only saw
I
the
think out
first
of
episode.
all of us, it's just you and Sebastian who have Amazon Prime. Is that right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So you guys
Yeah.
are the only ones who could watch it anyway.
I don't fault any, because it's not it's I mean, they have rebroadcast rights for other
Yes.
countries that don't have Amazon Prime, but no, it's not a show I expect anybody to watch, but it's definitely the show that it came out like a couple days difference from Jessica Jones,
Yeah.
and it was the show that eventually is like, all right,
Good,
sorry,
good.
Jessica Jones, I got to watch Man in the High Castle. This is just better. This is easily the best show I've
I'm
seen
house
this year.
sitting at the end of the week and he has Amazon Prime. I was like,
Yeah, it's just
I
one
might
of those things
have to
like
do that.
it's like
Yeah.
this is just the best show I've seen this year, and that's really weird to have like a best like this is really good, really, and somebody who likes not only World War II, but then like all the alternate history and like the idea of like, well, what if? And the show tries to do a good job of portraying that. Spookiest scene is he tired, his truck gets a flat as he's trying to go to the neutral zone, and he cops like, hey, you want a hand? And they talk. It's like, oh yeah, my dad was in the war. It's like, yeah, I don't even remember life. It's like, come to think of it, I don't even remember life. Before the war, we have it so good, and then it starts to snow. It's not snow, it's ash, and it's like, oh, and he's like, what is that? It's like, oh, it's from the hospital. Yeah, today's the day they're burning the disabled and the mentally ill, and it's just him eating a sandwich as he's becoming dusted
Yeah.
with human bodies. Just like, all right,
No, for-
gonna have to continue this,
That's pretty cool.
and it's that spooky like.
The big question is, how do you get a flat tire in space as you're headed to the neutral zone between
Oh yeah.
Federation and Romulus?
Well,
knew
it's
you were going to say
it has
that.
you gotta watch out for the space mines and You know, you got the space caltrops that
Like-
the Romulans drop everywhere.
I think my favorite spooky moment from that show was at the very beginning, and that's what really sold me on it. Remember when he's in the theater, and then it got like that.
He's watching the newsreel.
He's watching the newsreel, and then like the American flag unfurls, and instead of the stars and stripes, it's got like the
It's the Iron Eagle.
the
Or
Iron
is it a
Eagle-
swastika?
It's a swastika, and then it says Sig Heil. Like, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm sold. That's it.
Yeah, there's another great moment in the show where it's basically like Liberation Day, which is like the 4th of July, when essentially they treat it like the Nazis liberated the United States from the tyranny of the old government. And it's just him, you know, he's going to like the Liberation Day, you know, the barbecue, and it's just it's perfect Americana. But on the mailboxes are the Iron Eagles, and it's the kids, you know, wearing the red armbands and just playing in the streets, and it's that creepiness of like, it's like the world they live in is
It's the same, but
it is but it's it is like that bizarrely 50s sort of like TV picture-esque
Yeah.
ideal, but then you think about the cost, and having read the book, and you know, it's like, well, this is East Coast when all the blacks and the Jews and the minorities and the disabled, they're all dead.
Yeah.
They have all been but eliminated, and just that really weird moment of like just that eerie, like atmospheric, like
That
everything.
realization of-
Yeah, that's like
Like that could have happened.
right.
You know?
And then you have like all the West Coast stuff is the Japanese Empire, which is also good because the main character from that front, she takes judo, and her parents are, you know, still very sort of like, you know, they remember the time before the war, but she was a little kid, but she's raised on tea, and she, you know, goes to school with Japanese students, and she takes the judo, and her mom's like, I can't drink, you know, tea is, you know, dirt water or whatever, and she loves her coffee, but the Japanese don't drink coffee, so she can't readily get it. And just like, oh, they watch the sumo matches instead of Western sports. So you have like sort of that where you have like the East Coast is like, well, the East Coast is sort of like, this is sort of the Nazi, the Reich has won, but in Japan you sort of have, in the West Coast you still have the people who are like, I don't like living under Japanese rule, and we have an emperor, and they do a really good job of having that divide.
I've still got to start that one. I haven't started it yet. Okay, so my top 5. I watch so much television that it's really, really hard to.
You watch a lot of bad television.
Yeah.
Well, that
So
was
Big
easy.
Bang Theory,
That was
yeah.
easy to weed out. But it's like even like my top, 5 of them, narrowing it down was just really hard. So in my top 5, I put like Better Call Saul, Walking Dead. I even put Arrow down there because Arrow this season has been good, but not as good as it has been. The crossover event was really cool because I actually felt that the Flash was more of the hero and more of the good guy, which I mean that's obviously the dynamic, but they had changed roles. There's more of the teacher students, the teacher or the student becoming the teacher. But yeah, so
He's dealt with the metahumans more so than Ollie has. So.
exactly. So number 4 was Flash. Number 3, I put Rebels as 3. I almost wanted to separate, cartoons from, and
Stevie.
yes, but so, and it is, it's on, it's on at, prime time.
Yeah.
So that's number 3. Number 2 is Jessica Jones. Number 1's Daredevil. I actually, when I'm going back thinking about Jessica Jones and Daredevil, they're both. It's so easy to put them as 1 and 2 because they're such short shows. They don't have time to develop the fluff or those little arcs that you're going.
That's the best with cable shows. Though,
Yes.
so.
So and part of me almost wants to put Jessica Jones above Daredevil because I liked some of the dynamic between Jessica Jones. I love the dynamic between her and Luke Cage. Excuse me, and her and Patsy.
Patsy Walker, Hellcat.
Yes, yes, and I loved how they hinted to those things.
Yeah.
And as I was telling Mikey and Ethan the other night, she felt like even though she accepted her world, there was still part of her that wanted to be that Avengers type superhero. Whereas Daredevil, he knew what he wanted. He knew, he knew what his limitations were, and that was it. That's all he needed to do. She kind of struggled with only staying mediocre, if you will.
Right.
She wanted to there were those moments where she wanted to be that superhero.
but then she resigns herself to just sort of being a slob.
Right.
And, like my favorite moment
But that's
when,
how- that's
when
like-
she quits her job, and it's like she's a private investigator, but she's like has a, just a crappy office job, and then she just sort of like. It's like, no, you're gonna let me do nothing at my job because I have blackmail on
Yeah.
you, and then she just decides to quit anyway and just knocks over all the file cabinets.
But it's the way real life is. There's a lot of times most people aspire to be something greater than what they are, but life just keeps them where they
and
are.
she's kind of happy being like in her mediocrity
Yeah.
because it's all she knows at this point.
Yes.
And then characters like Luke Cage and Patsy Walker are like, no, there's better. There's a better life out there for you than doing what you're doing now.
Yeah. And Doctor Who I could not put in this. The season it got better, but to me the only shining moment of Doctor Who this year was the Christmas special.
It was a really good Christmas special.
That was to me.
Very good.
It felt back to form.
It
At
did.
least for me.
It did. It really did. It was, and I get that says a lot to Alex Kingsley coming in there, and she brings that character in. She's so dynamic in that role, and the whole time when she's not realizing that it's the Doctor and everything.
I love the looks on his face, like what? Oh, all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I'm at the
Really
beginning.
don't know
Oops.
what the hell.
It's like, how do you not know? Like, I'm a doctor. Okay, you're a doctor. It's
Yeah,
like, wait.
I'm at the beginning
Yeah.
of her timeline.
And that's what was so perfect about that.
Yeah, they did really well, and they sort of made it a really good bookend.
Mm-hmm.
And if they ever wanted to bring the character back, because I think the moment they're saving for her is the day he sends her to die,
Yeah.
which is something they still haven't done, and I've been waiting for.
Well, because the way that they kind of alluded to it was that okay, the night there is 24 years long, so they
Yes.
have plenty of time where they can do other things.
Right.
But the next moment when she leaves the Doctor that time, the next time she sees the Doctor is the 10th Doctor in the library,
Right.
and I think that's great.
It's the inference, but I'm still waiting for that, because that's something like whenever you give Alex Kingston her last appearance on the show, that's the moment where it's like, okay, you bring her arc full circle, because her arc is a circle,
Yes.
quite literally, and that's when it becomes the like, all right, it's time to go, and you don't know it yet.
And handing her the screwdriver this time, and she even says in the library one, the last time I saw him, we were standing at the Singing Towers, and
Yeah.
he was crying. So that way that's if they never bring her back,
Right,
they gave her a full
you
circle.
have that moment.
Yes.
But if you were to bring her back for one more time, you get that. You can do the "I'm going to send you on your way."
And they've talked about maybe bringing her on as a companion for either half or full season.
I wouldn't mind that because again, it's the I think the character is almost up, and
Yes.
I don't. I liked it better when I like it better having like, okay, here's one episode instead of like, oh, we're gonna throw around every season.
Mm-hmm.
It's like no, you're taking away the mystery.
Now, I know you don't like the character, but I would love to see at least one episode with River, Missy, and the Doctor.
I wouldn't mind that, but I feel like those are
Because those are three strong. The two females are extremely talented actresses.
no, they're great actresses.
and I think that they would play extremely well off each other. And the dynamic and seeing the Doctor in the middle of that would be really entertaining.
It would be interesting, but I don't know if that would be too much of that like what a fan wants versus what's good for the story.
That's true.
And for me, it's like that seems like a cool moment reserved for like a kooky one-off comic.
Yes.
But in the show, it's one of those things like those characters, like that sounds cool. But then I go, it's like I don't know if I ever want to see that. One, because that seems like something really important that would have been mentioned earlier that you're just sort of throwing at me. And two, it's like I don't know that feels like just two completely different parts of somebody's life is his wife and his
Mistress.
and his mistress,
Yeah,
quite
pretty much.
literally, is a perfect way to sort of frame that. It's like I don't know if I want to see that because that just becomes like it's Doctor Who. There's no crazy action. There's no real fisticuffs, and what you'd want to see is basically Alex Kingston beating the crap out of Missy, just like what have you done to him?
The ultimate cat fight.
And it just no, not even. I just mean like face smashing. Like you are a horrible human, and I am finishing you. And it's like no, I can't. It's like that's separate. That's separate worlds. I
Yeah.
don't know if I need to see collide.
And all I know is
Pass
the
best Bechdel test.
Yeah, it would just be, but for me, it would just be like, I just would want to see River just beat the crap out of her, and just like it's like, no, you're a monster. It's like, I'm gonna do what it's that moment of like, I'm gonna do what you won't do, Doctor, and it's like if they were like, we're never bringing the Master back, and here's why, then I would go, okay, I would want to see River kill the Master, the Mistress,
Yes.
but it's like,
And all I have to say is the Diagon Alley set from Harry Potter has gotten used a lot this year.
yes, well,
Episode
low budget,
with Clara.
low budget.
Yeah, because they did it with Clara, and then they brought it back for the Christmas special.
And now that Top Gear probably will come back and not do well, they got money to spend around.
Oh, yeah.
They got money to spread around all the other shows.
So, anybody else want to wrap up 2015 with one thing? Let's do this. Here. Everybody give me one word about 2015. Shauna,
Wait, one word?
one word.
to describe 2015,
I guess.
I
Oh, but I don't know in terms of like
spell
entertainment.
that for me.
Like I don't know. Like in terms of like entertainment or just in general. Because in entertainment is pretty freaking awesome. I mean, Star Wars kind of brought it up for me.
Yeah.
So, awesome.
Would anyone disagree that it was the year of Star Wars?
I don't know. I didn't feel like the first half of the year was
Disney?
really Star Warsy. It's the year of Disney for sure. They conquered the markets of. They got the.
Once Disney buys Fox and Warner Brothers, then really, I mean, there's just something.
There has
Well,
been.
that's
There
been-
was rumor that they were in negotiation
Well, it's
to buy
that the whole
Warner
thing for
Brothers.
Disney was that they've had the girls' market cornered for decades with the Princess line, and Frozen is the juggernaut that still is cranking out money like Toy Story before it. And then they're like, we gotta shore up the boys' half, and they bought Marvel, and then like, why don't we buy Star Wars too? And I just feel like it's like, yeah, we can afford
I
it.
just imagine them sitting at a
Yeah.
table like,
Hey,
hey, yo,
why don't we buy
why
Lucasfilm?
don't we buy Star Wars? Yeah.
Hey
Okay.
guys.
We already do more with Star Wars
Hey
than he
Bob.
does.
Hey Bob, come here. Come here.
Can you get Lucas
Hey.
on the phone?
Mr. Iger, we're gonna buy Star Wars.
Okay.
Yeah, four
No, wait,
billion? Four? Okay.
We're gonna buy all of Lucasfilm, but we only really want Star Wars.
Give
Is
him-
that okay?
Give
That's-
him
that's
$4
fine,
billion.
right?
Give them $4 billion.
But it's also that thing. It's like they did more with
You
Star
get
Wars, with Clone
forward.
Wars, and with Rebels and stuff than George ever did. And he did oversee them, and I don't want to diminish his
Well,
work on those
Clone
shows.
Wars wasn't them. Clone Wars had nothing.
It was
to do with
Cartoon
it.
Network, but it's
Right.
still. But even with bringing with Rebels and him having the input on shows like Clone Wars and Rebels, and you could still see like the kernels of
Yeah.
whatever he's doing there to sort of like, oh, well, here's a good story idea, or I kind of like this and whatnot. Because somebody I do know worked on Clone Wars and said like, no, he had a hand in the production of that show a lot more than people think that he did.
You will get me a Coke Zero.
And
You
it's
will get me a
the
Coke Zero.
and for me, it's just like no. Even
You will
with
give me a
Rebels,
Coke
they
Zero.
like Disney kind of busted their butts for Star Wars. And
Do you think that conversation went like so? What
Despite-
did we spend on Marvel? $4 billion? Yeah. Okay.
Star Wars is worth that, right?
We'll do that. You know, I think Lucasfilm.
I mean, and he still
Bob,
owns
this-
he still
look,
owns
Do we got
49%
another
of
$4 billion in the bank?
Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
At this
Yeah?
this
Okay.
point, if you look at $4 billion for Marvel and its various properties, $4 billion for Lucasfilm, $4 billion for Marvel is a bargain.
Yes.
Yeah.
For everything they got from Marvel, and remember, they're getting now. Disney is getting money from Fox because Fox still owes licensing fees to
Yes.
what's now Disney. So Fox is paying Disney for the right to make X-Men films and
Right.
terrible Fantastic Four films and stuff like that. So that's when you look back on it now, like the guys at Marvel are going, dude, we should have got like 6 or 7, man, because they bought $4 billion. And they don't even care about Indiana Jones. Which why are you talking about the fact that they're talking about?
I was
Indiana
They
gonna
are.
say
They are.
that the
They're
next-
working. Well, and I think that's also. Well, they had to wait for the rights at Paramount to expire.
It's a bunch of other stuff, but we'll talk.
Well,
about
that already expired.
They did. No, they did expire. But no, that's what I think. That's
But
what they were waiting
I was going to
for.
say. I was going to say that for next week.
Yeah,
or-
I would say Year of Disney
That's a
more
story for
specifically,
another
because
time.
Disney is always sort of that perpetual success story. Even with
first
their,
time we ever had 2 Pixar movies in one year.
I think so. I think this is the first time
I
they've
don't think
done
a lot
that.
of people even recognize Good Dinosaur as a Pixar film
Yeah,
because it's so unlike a Pixar film.
that's true.
I mean, Inside Out is
It
a
is
lot of
traditional
hallmarks of
Pixar.
that of really old school Pixar films.
Mm-hmm.
Toy Story and Bugs Life and those type of very complicated feeling movies that are as much relationship driven as plot driven.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so instead of one word, give me one thing you're looking forward for 2016.
What happened to 2015? We were going.
Well, we're going to skip that.
Okay.
My word is over. Let's move on.
Shauna? What's one thing you're looking for for 2016?
Playing catch up and actually being up to date on everything.
She's looking forward to the 2016 Roundup show a year from now,
Yes.
where
Chris?
she's able to go, oh, I watched it. Batman versus Superman. No, probably Rogue One.
Yeah,
I mean, it's an intriguing film to me on so many different levels.
yeah.
As a big Star Wars fan, as a big Rogue Squadron fan, as a big fan of something like Republic Commando, which are.
So I'm really
war
excited for this too.
It's just
Rogue One is definitely like Star
Rogue
Wars.
One's also-
Episode 7 was going to be Episode 7 no matter what.
Right.
But for me, it was that like they're trying something different. Hopefully,
is
this will be good.
Much like what we talked about when we first started talking about Guardians before it came out, where I said Guardians is the most important Marvel film because if it tanks, you're never going to get a film that isn't starring an Avenger ever
Right.
again. We're not doing any of. We're not doing. They would have canceled Ant-Man immediately if Guardians of the Galaxy had somehow absolutely tanked.
Bombed, yeah.
We're talking
for
like
Rogue-
Fantastic Four
yeah,
tanked.
For Rogue One is a super important film because this is the first attempt of doing a film that isn't an animated release of a TV
I was
show.
gonna say.
As a standalone picture that has no direct sequel planned, that has nothing to do with Jedi.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the Star Wars.
It's nothing to do with
excuse me,
Force.
has nothing to do with a Skywalker.
What else? It has nothing to do with the Jedi. It has nothing to do with the
Mm-hmm.
Force, really, or any of that. If she turns out to be a Force user, I'm going to be so disappointed in that film.
Yeah.
It's like, oh. So that would be
Rogue
if
One?
there's one thing, would be Rogue
In the
One.
media.
Yeah.
In the Nerdables world, we'll say.
Well, Rogue One is definitely up there for me, mostly because it's different and it's okay. Somebody's trying something a little different. They're going to play with the
It's-
formula for Star Wars. They're
It's
going to
something
try
I'm
and throw in
excited
another
about,
genre.
but I'm also intrigued about. Like Episode
Yes.
7, I think we were all kind of trepidated, like anxious, and you had some trepidation over it and that sort of thing. This is something like I'm really intrigued by this story. It's
Yes.
Right.
When,
Well,
when
and
we
even-
talk about stuff in sports and stuff like going into this season of hockey, like what's the Capitals intrigue me because it's the second year of like there's stories to follow in
Right.
a sports season. It's the same thing here. There's stories to follow here. You want to talk about stuff that's going to be what Batman versus Superman does is really intriguing to me because if that movie bombs,
where
then
does
do
that
you
leave
go?
DC? Yeah.
Right.
You're stuck in a corner.
You got Suicide Squad to try and make up for it.
That's again as an intriguing story.
Right.
As we get to the end of the year, the big piece may be Suicide Squad, which makes a hell of a lot more money than they think it's going to.
But that
make a
has
hell of a lot more
no
money than Batman Superman.
bearing on the rest of the DC slate.
But that's
too.
that's the thing. If
Right.
that does really well, maybe DC pulls this back and says we're just going to do a whole bunch of kind of one-off films that feature characters that we love.
Right.
Well,
That story's
if they
intriguing.
did the one-off films that had a slight tie-in together,
Marvel's whole thing is intriguing. We get one film this year.
too.
What's the second one? I keep forgetting.
You got
what it
Doc
is.
Strange.
Doctor Strange.
Is Doc Strange? Doc Strange
Yeah.
is this year.
It's the November
Again,
film.
you've got an intriguing piece. What does Civil War do? You know,
It is
Avengers
it's in
2.
November, right? Or is it?
I think it's end of summer. I think it's like an Ant-Man.
Oh, no, it's August. It is.
it'll be
It's the same
August.
time frame as when Guardians
Yeah.
was.
But no, that's the thing. Rogue One, like Episode 7 was going to be Episode 7, and we knew there would be 8 and 9. They were going to finish it no matter what. There was no way that movie was that they would just go, oh well, this didn't do well. Well, we're not going to make the other two. It was going to be a trilogy no matter what.
Right.
And it's a movie that is one of those things like there was nothing anybody could do to stop. Like it's gonna have the Jedi. It's gonna have lightsabers. This is again. I
Do you think it'll have Darth Vader at some point?
no, I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so. But it's that weird thing where
I
again,
still say they're saving Vader for the first anthology film that's after the trilogy.
yeah.
Which now they're saying Boba Fett is the third one.
We'll see. My money's still on Vader until they say otherwise.
Mikey,
Right.
I have really nothing to look forward to
Yes.
in terms of entertainment.
Yeah, entertainment.
And Doctor Strange releases November 4th.
Iron
Okay.
Fist. I want Iron Fist.
Ethan.
Walking Dead season 6.
Well, yeah,
Negan.
I want Iron Fist.
because it's essentially going to be starting the whole story with Negan, so which is a great story arc in the comic. So I'm just excited for that. So whether it's going to be in the mid-season premiere, like in this second half of season.
So not
6.
reading the comics, let me guess. They show up somewhere where they think they're safe, and then they're not safe, and then bad humans show up and something bad happens.
It's a formula.
Oh, so there's something different than all of the other Walking Dead stories? Rick is the worst leader in history. Are we safe here, Rick? Yes, we are. Oh, shoot. Zombies and people who want to kill us. Oh, well, I didn't see this coming.
Sebastian.
Rogue One is pretty high up there, but again, I think that's because it's going to be vastly different. And again, I try to Nerdables, and I mentioned it earlier. It's like you said
Ghostbusters.
$88 million people or tickets sold for Star Wars.
Uh-huh.
But I also have to go. It's like, well, the tiny fraction of people who are going to pay attention to any expanded universe stuff, again, is that big divide, and I think that's where Rogue One has to make or break itself.
Yes.
Because again, you mentioned like, oh, you got to
What
read
matters more?
the visual.
What's in front
right.
of Star Wars? Is it Star Wars or what's after Star Wars?
Exactly.
Kind of the title.
Exactly.
Right.
Same thing with Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. That's the SNL parody. It's so great because it's true. We're Marvel. You'll watch fucking anything we put up. That was it.
That's why Marvel's the first thing in every one of
Right.
these.
And that
Marvel's Daredevil, Marvel's Jessica Jones,
Right.
Marvel's Agents of Shield,
and
Marvel.
that's what this is going to be. Because again, we've said in the show, and me and Chris have sort of eye rolled. Like, it's like, yeah, Visual Dictionary is great. It's got a lot of cool stuff in there. It's got a lot of stuff from the screenplay, and it's really cool for the people who like to dig deep. But of the 88 million tickets sold, a percent, 1%,
I
a
said
percent of a percent is going to actually care
it's
about
a
that.
fun piece if you enjoy. What started this from all the way back when the role playing games did these
Yes.
simple stories that told, hey, remember General Veers who was in the movie for half a second? Here's a really cool story as how he became a general when he was a colonel and he saved the Imperial dignitaries from natives on this planet because he looked at the AT-AT and said, let's go crush people with its legs. Not necessary to the story.
Like guys?
Hold on. My problem with saying you need to read the book, the Visual Dictionary, or what have you. There are important plot points that are not explained in the film that are explained in
I
other
agree.
pieces. That's wrong. And
I
that's where I
agree.
say it's great, it's fun, it's cool. I love the hell out of the Visual Dictionary. I thought there was a lot of cool little nuggets and pieces explaining the pirate gangs, the
Yes.
Kanja Club and the other dude, the Irish dude. You don't need to know anything in the film about those two gangs except they're two pirate gangs and Han Solo owes them money.
Yes.
It's all explained to you in the exchange in the hallway.
I agree.
And that's, for me, my big worry about Rogue One. Here's what my big worry about it's going to be a great movie that Star Wars is secondary to because they're selling it as a hard war film.
Well, they've entitled it Rogue One, a Star Wars
right,
story.
And it's going to be really, really good, and it'll do well, but it's not going to do Episode 7 money,
Oh,
and
no.
that's going to hurt the anthology series in future because it'll be like, well, it made the $250, $300 million, but it wasn't Episode 7 money.
The thing with that is, I think they understand. 'Cause this is the same thing with Avengers and other Marvel
Guardians
films.
and everything else, yeah.
They put out Avengers, and they're disappointed in its box office because
Right, which is still-
But they never expected Ant-Man to do what Avengers did.
Right.
You have and the Avengers movie should be different than the others. The trilogy films should be different than the anthology films
Yes.
to me, and that's why I think this is interesting. If it does even half of it, then you're saying it's successful.
Yes.
And it deserves the budget it gets because you don't have to do sort of. It'll be a stronger story because you don't need to know where it is after. It takes place in a much more simpler environment.
Yes.
And the idea we know who the Empire is, we know who the rebels are,
Yep.
we know what the Death Star is.
Yep. It's
And
gonna
it'll
take
all
place
be
right
explained in
before
the thing,
Episode
and it's just,
4.
hey, what's this? That's a Death Star. We need the plans. Where is it? Plans are over here. Go get it.
Yep.
Go. And that's it. I love the idea. I can't wait to see it. I'm
Yeah. Especially
really
because
hoping
Star
it's
Wars
good.
is first and foremost a franchise for children, and as much as there's a lot of people who go, no, not at all. It's like
'cause
no,
we're all children at
it's
heart.
what it is, and again, that's also the bigger divide. It's that it's that really dumb, it's 1980. Timothy Dalton's got a Bond movie coming out, and people are sending him letters. I can't take my children to go see a Bond movie anymore because you dropped Benicio del Toro in a wood chipper, and that's sort of that level of it's like. I can't take my kids to go see the Star Wars movies. There was people getting blown up left and right.
Well, that's why Lucas made the bad guys droids and
Well,
the
no, originally
good
that's why
guys
he made the bad guys in
clones.
armor because you didn't see where the
With-
blaster
with-
bolts went. He also, if you watch the original trilogy, he never uses the word kill.
right.
It's all destroy. Incredibles got a PG rating because in the cave, she says to Dash, "They'll kill you,"
Yes.
instead of "they'll destroy you."
They'll
or
capture
whatever.
you. They'll kidnap you.
Vader tells him, "Don't make me destroy you." He doesn't say, "Don't make me kill you."
Right.
I'm gonna
And
chop off your hand, but
That's my also big thing because again, the image that we have as nerds is very different from a regular parent who took their kid to go see Episode 7, and it was fun lasers, and there was the goofy guy, and there was the weird alien with the glasses, and there was that cute orange thing that had the thing for the thing with the hologram. And then the kid goes, buy me a lightsaber. Done. That is the extent of Star Wars in the family house.
Buy me the Riot Trooper.
Yes. Great. The bizarre love for his character is...
I love this.
I don't get it.
That's so awesome.
Because there's a story there that we're not being told.
No, I'll tell you what the story is, because it was the meme.
Oh,
where Finn's like, you understand, she's my friend. And then they go to TR-8R, he goes, so was I.
Yeah,
right.
And that was great.
They have the touching the picture, the Wolverine picture.
Do you get the TR-8?
What
That's what I love.
What if he is the guy with the blood hand on Finn's mask who lives and then sees your buddy who, it's like, you think you're going to die, like, my friend, I'm here with you. And then he goes to run off with a bunch of terrorists. You're going to be upset and you're going to want revenge because you were going to die for him. And then he lets you go.
The touching the picture and the two of them are together, FN2187 and TR-8R, and just that way, like, you don't understand, she's my friend. So was I.
TR-8R?
Yeah.
He's Bloodhand guy. That's my own fan theory.
The fact that he's named by fans,
yeah,
too.
just like, he's the guy's like, my friend, Bloodhand on mask. Oh, I lived. I thought we were friends. We fought together.
It would fit into the idea.
Fuck you.
It fits into the idea that
I
these
took a blazer
stormtroopers are
blast for
different.
you.
The way that the Empire treats the stormtroopers is different. The stormtroopers are very elite now, even more so than they were before. They're trained. They're worth keeping. They used the medical facility. They didn't just leave the stormtroopers dying on the battlefield. They took them in. They nursed them back to hell. He becomes a riot trooper, and he comes in and he just
they provide mental health facilities for
has
them.
No business being on this battlefield.
No, he doesn't.
Drops his shield and his weapon.
It's because it's Because it's J.J. Abrams and it needs to look cool. Which is, yes, I know. I did the same thing.
It looks cool, and that's the. Sometimes there's nothing wrong with looking.
But the moment
he talk about going no every
but
time
the moment
I see
he goes
this,
traitor.
Like,
oh no, I love that
God.
because it's so cool. It's so. I mean, and it is. Yes, it's a total. It's fine. It'll be my Star-Lord dance moment. I love that idea. It was just look. There's a more of a personal. He wants to just really, and it can be explained. Hold on, it can be explained away in the idea that they don't want to kill him. They want to bring him back.
Yeah, but if you do the fan film thing that Sebastian came up with, I accept it. I totally accept
it. That's Sebastian's one-shot Star Wars comment as TR-8R Bloodhand guy.
With my personal writing of it is that Phasma says that Finn needs to come back alive.
It's your idea. It's literally your idea with Star-Lord. If he was dancing to and it was done, motivated a different way.
Yeah, but this looks a lot cooler.
Yeah,
it also doesn't. You don't know who that character is. So it doesn't betray the character arc you've already given that trooper.
It's also that in that bizarre, like, the
Star-Lord thing
Stormtroopers know each other's faces. Because, I mean, come on, if they were just faceless people in white suits, you wouldn't care who that guy is. Like, who's that?
The way that they explain how the Stormtroopers are, that they're taken at birth, they're trained together, they would recognize one another. They would have time with their helmets off. That sort of thing. So it's a lot of backstory that as a fan you have to provide. At the end of it, yes, it's just a movie in which a guy sees a dude that he doesn't like, and he's like, I'm taking you out the best way possible.
I'm doing this. Let's go. Leroy Jenkins.
If you really want to do it, it's like he's fought a guy with a lightsaber before, and he knows that ostensibly he's able to block the shots.
That's the other absurdness of this is that now stormtroopers are being.
They have a magic weapon that can fight stormtroopers,
they're being
or they can fight lightsabers
to fight lightsabers now.
He's not fighting a lightsaber.
Well, you would think
he is.
But he's not fighting a Jedi.
He's fighting a normal dude.
He's fighting a guy.
That's the thing is they have
training.
They have to have the weapons because they know that the Jedi have these weapons. So they have to have a weapon.
It has nothing to do with the weapons of the Jedi.
They don't know that there aren't any Jedi. All they know is Luke's got his own planet somewhere, and he could be training Jedi.
He's on Ireland.
Look, there are little Jedis running around on some monkey bars,
with the energy that comes
jumping
off
through
of
little tires and their brown cloaks.
It's very much like the Manga Guard staffs.
Yes.
The energy. It's been shown that other energy weapons can stop a lightsaber.
Yes.
So he has an energy weapon. He sees a guy with a lightsaber. He takes the energy weapon and fights him with the saber.
But he wouldn't have any. There wouldn't be any previous knowledge of that.
I can't believe. Look,
Yes.
look.
all
For a
in
guy
the
who thought Star Wars was
archives, I'm
okay,
sure.
I can't believe I have to be the
No.
devil's advocate
It's
for
not
a
in the
character
archives.
that
How?
means nothing
How?
to the
Because-
overall
how?
story.
Because when the Empire took over, Jedi became a myth, a legend.
They don't know that. Look, Commander Hux has probably got a video of little Jedis running through tires like Al Qaeda doing monkey bars.
Okay, so anyways,
Well, hold on. Also, the fact that the leader of Phasma's forces are with him. Kylo Ren has a lightsaber.
yes.
So they would know what a lightsaber is, and they would know that it is a possible weapon that they would run
So
into.
what you're saying is,
And the
Hex,
lightsaber's
They've
not the
also
only- hold on,
they've also
hold on,
seen
hold
this
on.
guy stop
The
laser
lightsaber's
bolts
not
with
also
magic.
the only energy weapon that they have.
so what you're saying is Hex and Phasma realized that maybe they need to protect themselves against Kylo Ren, so they started training some of the special forces.
But
I'm sorry,
you're
Riot.
losing what a riot trooper is. The riot trooper is a non-lethal trooper. He has an energy stun weapon. As an energy force over those two prongs, it would be able to stop a lightsaber.
Okay, so he is a non-lethal stormtrooper, yet he
I can't
has
believe
a-
that's the line for
Yeah.
you in a movie.
Yeah.
In that entire movie, that's the line. It's like the
I
stormtrooper.
can live with Chewie not hugging the woman that he's known for 40
No, I
years after his
don't
best
like
friend
that.
dies. But the problem I can't have is why is there a guy on a battlefield who is using using his regular weapon who has a stun baton on the side of him?
He's also the only stormtrooper in history with a shield,
Riot Shield.
and he drops the shield.
because he wants
He
to
doesn't
kill
need the
the
shield.
man he.
The shield won't stop the saber.
Okay, guys.
The baton
Okay,
will.
okay, because
so
this
anyways-
podcast has gone on for almost 3.5 hours now, so I say
So, anyways,
we wrap it up.
the one thing I'm the thing
Especially
I'm
'cause I gotta
looking
go
forward
home.
Yeah, so do I.
the thing I'm looking forward in 2016
It's
is
more traitor.
More TR-8R.
Deadpool.
Deadpool.
I'm intrigued by Deadpool
I'm
a
intrigued.
lot.
The more
Every
I've seen,
every trailer I see makes me more and more happy to see Deadpool, but I don't know if that's gonna work.
the more I
and
see
more
it,
I see of it, it's actually the reverse.
Really?
I think that movie's going to be so far over the top, it's not going to be compelling in any way, shape,
I
or
think
form.
Interesting.
is
It's a movie that could definitely go either way for me. Like that movie could end up being really good,
and that's one reason why
or
I'm so
really
intrigued
bad.
by it. That's why
Yeah.
No, I'm intrigued by it. My personal feeling now, as I keep seeing it, I'm going. I think I'm going to get really tired of Deadpool about 30 minutes in.
But of all the movies that are coming out, even Cap and everything like that, this is the one that intrigues me the most. Especially the way Ryan Reynolds has embraced this character, and the way that the whole promotion around this thing has become so big and so Deadpool. I mean, it is. It's like they pulled the character right off the comic book pages. I'm just wondering if that's going to translate in the movie the way it has so far.
There's
Right.
a reason why Deadpool got canceled over and over again. Because after a few years, people got sick of the way Deadpool
Sure.
was. Now, this Deadpool's the way Deadpool is now is so breaking the fourth wall that it just kind of throws away. Again, my fear seeing that is one, you have a character that if they go with the current state of Deadpool, he's Wolverine. You can't do anything to him.
True.
And I hate that. I mean, if you're just going to sit there and we're just going to pump bullets into him until he doesn't fall over because we can't kill him, there's no. The whole thing becomes, well, it's a comedy to see how many people he can cut heads off of.
Right.
What's that they haven't told you, and I'm glad they haven't told you, is what's the story? Mm-hmm. Who knows? If you do something like the Good, Bad, and the Ugly story that Jerry Duggan and Brian Posehn wrote, in which you're like, oh, it's kind of funny. Oh my God.
Well, they've kind of
It's
given
a
you
horror.
hints.
It's
Yeah.
kind of him that's kind of a revenge story for what
Yes.
they did to
Yeah,
him.
but
and-
it's something where
And then
I don't
the dude
really know.
the dude that turns him into it kind of goes after the girl.
yeah, some weird. That
Yeah,
I'm in.
I know
yeah.
there's little pieces, but I don't know it. I don't want
Yeah,
to know it.
Yeah.
But the more that I see of I was like, if it's 2.5 hours of this 30 seconds, I'm not going to enjoy this film.
I think
Because
that this
it's
could
too
be
much
the
over the
runaway. This could be the surprise hit.
That's going to make a ton of money first weekend, but again, it's going to depend on. It's also the fact that Deadpool does not have any name outside of comic book circles.
fandom.
That's true.
Neither did Ant-Man, but Ant-Man is also a Marvel film.
But also, look at how many Deadpools we see at every con we go to.
But again,
Look,
that's
how many
the,
Deadpools you see at every con doesn't translate into a movie that's going to make $400 million when it opens the second week of fucking February.
Right.
You can take every Deadpool cosplayer and fill one movie theater versus You know,
Oh God.
that you have to, but
I'll tell you that. I'm not going opening night.
versus the regular audience you have to attract to a movie like that.
It's a reverse Where's Waldo. It's all Deadpools, but one person.
Where's the
sitting
one
there.
person? Oh, I'm sure there's
It's the one person that's going to go as Deathstroke.
A lot of people are complaining that it's a movie it's a rated R movie, and it's aiming its marketing towards kids,
Yep.
though, too.
Yes.
And they're not
Well,
gonna be able to
I
go
loved.
see it
I
unless
loved
you're
even at the
a
Green
parent that
Band
takes your kids
trailer.
to-
That the very end of it, Deadpool pops up and he's
Yeah.
telling everybody to go over and watch. If you really want to see what this looks like,
Yeah, but you
Yeah,
can't
well,
take your
it's a
kids
nod
there.
to the fact, kids are going to sneak into art
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see what that does. You're going to
it's
see a
the
lot of people.
anti-film.
You're going to see you're going to see that audience that you're looking for
Yes,
can't go see that film legally
right.
without a guardian.
that's true.
But hey,
And how many parents are going to go, oh, let's go see the movie about the guy who's going to be swearing the whole time and cutting people's heads off?
The dads will want to take their kids.
Here's
you
the
think-
thing. Here's the thing about that, though. I had like a mini Facebook rant, not a rant, but I was sort of like throwing it out there. It's like
never ran.
no, but it was one of those things. Like it's like there are a lot of rated R movies that have kids marketing to it that
yeah.
everyone just sort of bypasses in their head, and everyone's like, oh, they're marketing this to kids. It's like, yeah, but RoboCop had cartoon shows.
Uh-huh.
Starship Troopers had action figures.
Rambo had a
the original
cartoon.
Alien.
And,
The original
to me,
Alien.
though, the change with that is a lot of those came after the film came out.
yes,
RoboCop,
but
RoboCop
the
as a
toys
cartoon
came
was-
out at the same time, though.
RoboCop didn't. Starship Troopers did. RoboCop didn't. Rambo didn't. That was all post.
That was all post, but
Yeah.
it's the same idea. It's like they're
Oh, yeah.
marketing a rated R movie to it. Even
And that's what
Alien,
Tales
Toys
of
R
the
Us
Crypt had a cartoon.
where you look at
Yeah.
like the 1976 commercial for the Kenner Alien toys. It's just two kids
You mean
like
the reaction toys that came out now?
Yeah, no, it's like it's the it's like we gotta close the airlock. The aliens coming to get us. Like you're kids. You're like 7. You're watching Alien with Ridley Scott's Alien. This is
Different time back
amazing.
then.
All right, so we're gonna
Yeah,
we're gonna
apparently
wrap
kids
things
could
up.
handle it back then, but
Yeah.
they can't handle Deadpool.
We're gonna wrap things up. Well, Deadpool, we're going to get into more, obviously, because it gets closer. But the one thing I'm going to leave it on, and no one even really has to answer it yet, is I'm beginning to wonder if this is Fox's answer to the failed Fantastic Fours, the bad X-Men movies, and everything.
No.
As look, this you want your cartoon character to be, or your comic book character to be like he is in the comic book. Here's your fucking movie. Enjoy it.
I think you've read way too much into that.
You think so?
Yeah. I think
No, that's what
they're making
happened.
A movie.
That's what happened with Spider-Man 3, because Sam Raimi
Yeah.
for years was like, I hate Venom as a character, I don't like him, and then they forced him to do Venom, and then he went, I'll give you a Venom movie, and then out of spite made a horrible film, and I don't know
And
if
it made the most money of any Spider-Man film.
it did, but I also don't know if Deadpool is a movie made out of spite, more so than just like we're gonna try something different.
Do you think Ryan Reynolds is making him out of spite out of how bad
No,
Green Lantern is?
no.
it has nothing to do.
I
With
think
Ryan
he wanted
Reynolds
to
is
do a
making
good
because
movie.
He played it before. He wants to play that character. I'm not saying he doesn't like that character, but he also doesn't have the. Ryan Reynolds isn't paying for this film.
Right.
It's not a Ryan Reynolds film. It's a Fox film.
I don't believe
So-
movies are made bad on purpose for the most part.
No.
Not
And this
when
is-
there's hundreds of millions of dollars at stake.
Fox went to this because they said there's 6 Deadpool books every month.
Yeah.
There's 2 regular books and a mini series
People have
and
been
a one
screaming
shot
for Deadpool.
and this
and
sort
Marvel
of thing.
won't pull it off the shelf.
Yeah, so it's just like there's a comic in Spanish that's completely in Spanish.
Yeah.
Somehow I didn't get any returned. It was weird.
I'm sure you'll see Gwenpool, just some little cameo, just
Oh,
in
no.
the background.
You can't.
I don't think so.
Spider-Man
yes.
character.
Spider-Man character
Oh.
because of the Gwen factor.
Okay, so this wraps up our extended edition of 2015.
2016,
That just won't
Star
end.
Wars.
Next week we'll go back to our regular
Star
hour
Wars.
shows.
A regular
You don't
Star
wanna do
Wars,
a
Star
24-hour
Wars.
podcast.
Yeah, we're gonna do a 24-hour. So yeah, for Ethan who already bailed, Chris, Sebastian,
He's
Mikey,
gonna go home. He's far
Shauna,
away.
I'm already
I
saying
know
we'll
too.
see you next time, and you know where to find us.